Welcome to another edition of Racing Post Live, run in conjunction with the Betfair Exchange. Myself, Dave Orton, absolutely delighted, thrilled to be with you here in the studio at Racing Post Towers. Why? Because it's day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival. Can we match day 1? We were delighted with all your comments and the response we got from the inaugural running of the show yesterday. Facebook Live page, of course. Check it out on our YouTube channel. However you're watching, let us know you're out there. If you're at the track watching, send us some pictures. We'll get it all out, shout outs, all the sorts. We had some massive winning tips for you as well. And it's fair to say some big reactions, drama aplenty. Great headline here on the Racing Post today. What would you do without us out there? Champion and the Wonder Horse. My goodness gracious me, what a big news we've had this morning. No Chacun pour soi. We'll get to that in a little while. First, let me introduce you to the guests that we have with us today. Delighted to say Racing Post columnist, comedian, and general mad in running punter, Ross Brierley is here with us.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. That's me, Dave.
Well, we will get to that, absolutely. Betting editor, Keith Melrose is with us. Really happy you're here, Keith. Not least because you've been all over every single print we've done. I mean, I've done the Racing Post guide. I've done a few little bits in the paper. And it's usually a little snippet underneath your mass. Are you tired out yet, or are you raring to go?
Oh, yeah, I'm running on fumes by Wednesday, which is not a good look, really, to start the week. But yeah, that's. I did look at the paper yesterday. I was the only person whose face was in the first 10 pages 3 times.
Which he's loving, let me tell you. We're going to get to know Keith a bit better today, and it's going to be good fun. And joining us back from Betfair, Neil Hubbard himself, the deserter we called you yesterday, Neil, because you kept changing your mind with your bets, and every time you did, the one you jumped off went and collected, didn't it?
Yeah, the conditional was a particularly painful one, but we go again, live and learn.
We go again. We had the team gamble on Imperial Aura that got us out of a bit of trouble. We'll be placing all sorts of bets. You're going to learn lots about the exchange today as well. I'm delighted that the 3 guys with me know a lot more about it than I do. So if you want to know anything, do let us know. Get your questions in thick and fast. We're not that far away from the opener, the Ballymore. But before we talk about it, Envoi Allen race, shall we agree, chaps, that today is the make or break day for both punters and bookmakers? Keith, I'm going to come to you first on this.
For me, it tends not to be. I tend to look at chases and not cross-country chases. So I've only got 2 races today that I'm sitting there thinking I know absolutely all these horses back to front. It is a race, if you're behind after day 2, what you're looking at tomorrow, the Pertemps final, the Kim Muir, the Plate. So it's hard to make up ground, as the cliche goes, if you get to this stage when you're behind. But so it could be, you need to make sure you're not too far off after today.
What was the vibe on the sportsbook, for example, yesterday? Was it? We thought it was going to be a bookies' day, didn't we? After race 3, and then roaring back, Epatants, even Honeysuckle, very gettable. One of the each-way thieveries of the week comes in, sinking Benny de Jure, and Imperial Aura, massive gamble.
Yeah, I think that was the word that we used yesterday, which was gettable, because I think we were halfway through and we were looking at the winners, and like Shiskin, I know he drifted, but he was sort of like the talking horse sort of in the lead up to the race. Okay, Put the Kettle On was a bit of an outsider, but then even the conditional was quite well fancied. Epatant was well fancied. Imperial Aura was well fancied. And then Elliot wins the National Hunt Race, with Ravenhill, so that wouldn't have been unsupported either.
I heard that Lord of O'Neill was a bad result for the books. Was that correct?
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, he was around 7-8 to 1 sort of anti-post sort of.
You fancied him, Neil, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. I actually put him up, and I thought he ran a cracker. Really, he just got tired
race.
quite late on. But
you must have been thrilled that he was taken on throughout.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong considering the majority of his form had come on flat tracks, and no complaints with him, really.
I mean, Springfield Fox was always going to do that, wasn't he? I mean, Noel Jordan wasn't going to be able to hold them together, was he, through that race?
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing when you backed a horse and you're like, I hope this doesn't happen, and then it happens,
it does,
and you can't do anything about it. Yeah. But you were right about the today is. You could easily be sitting there at home having an anti-post multiple with Shiskin in it, with Epatant in it, with Honeysuckle in it, going on to Envoi Allen. And if you've had Altior or Chacun pour soi, you've got a non-runner in it as well, so it's all going, the bookies are sitting.
Or if you've got Defi in it, then you're even.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's no hiding places.
The chase, of course, in due course. Bombshells all over. First Altior, now Chacun. What price will he go off? Defi Du Seuil. Talking of what prices they will go off, shall we get to the Ballymore, chaps, or the Envoi Allen pageant? No matter how you look at it. Keith, from a form perspective, betting editor. his form just is, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? I remember in Frankel's 3-year-old season, everything that he ran against was coming out in races on other tracks and just winning. That Eclipse was the hottest of all time. Not quite to that level, that would be over-egging the pie, not that I do that, of course. But if you even look at his point form, we were talking about that just a minute ago. Who did he beat in his point?
Yeah, it was Appreciate. It was third. What was in the middle? I can't remember what was second.
It was probably something that's won about 10 races.
Yeah.
It was a Neil King, he's chasing with Neil King that's rated 120 now.
There you go.
Still.
So it's hot stuff, isn't it? So,
Point form that could be worth 120 on the track. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, so listen, yeah, quite right. So we were talking about a horse that was around about even money yesterday. He's around about 4 to 6 nil. What is he, just quickly on the exchanges?
Yeah, 1.68, so around the 4 to 6 mark. Interestingly, though, like at the 48-hour stage when the market went live, he was 6 to 4. And now he's 4 to 6, and there hasn't been any non-runners in it, has there, of any note? It's been absolutely smashed up.
It's all down to Abacadabras yesterday, isn't it? That difference, 6 to 4 to 4 to 6. It's getting to the point now where you're trying. Come on, you've had your fun now. 4 to 6 in a race like this, because it is the thing with it. I think with Envoi Allen is that it's so much about potential with all the horses that are against him. The big breakaway, the big getaway, the two big topping horses.
Yeah,
the real unknowns. They've shown 145-ish form in everyday novices.
Yeah.
So you are taking a bit of a punt on what those horses are potentially worth. Whereas Envoi Allen, obviously his form he's won 2 Grade 1s, and his form yesterday got a bit of a franking. So I can see why it's happening, but I think
Darva Star in the Champions. Well, let's have a look at the market then. Let's see what we've got going on, see if we can get that up on the screen. As if by magic, Rob and Dan, our producers, who will be in my ear throughout. Happy days. There we are, Envoi Allen, around about the 4 to 6 mark. And Neil, take us through it.
Yeah, Sporting John, 7.2, the big breakaway, 11.5, the big getaway, 18, Easy Work, 17, Longhouse Poet, 24s, and then a couple of outsiders there. Actually, Mossy Fen at 70 there. I mean, he won a Grade 2 at Warwick last time, which was the same race that the new one won for the same yard before he came and won this race.
Oh, there we go, the first stat of the day. Neil Hubbard, ring the bell. Happy days. Talk about stats. Let's go to Ross. Can you remember the last champion bumper Ballymore double? Keith will probably know it. He's annoying like that.
Absolutely not.
Monsignor in
wasn't it?
2000, would you believe
Yeah.
it? So look, we've gone 20 years without it. You said to me, as we were just off air, when everyone jumps on these trends, you like to swim against the tide, don't you?
Well, yeah, absolutely, because that's how it should be. If everyone is piling onto one horse, inevitably the market is going to react. Therefore, you're not getting any value anymore. So you should be looking elsewhere. However, you do have the option of, if you, especially betting on Betfair, is you can be creative with it. You're not having to just back against something. So, looking at a place bet perhaps against it is interesting, because taking Envoi Allen on is still pretty difficult, like you said, with the rock solid form. The speed figures are very good. The stats are all for him, so it is tough to take him on despite the price.
Well, before we go on, chaps, we've got a message from Sean Hunter, I think, from YouTube. Yeah, okay, great show, lads. Watching here in Australia. Happy days down under, Sean. Been waiting all year for this week. Banker today, Envoi, Tiger Roll double, and Manello Indo in the RSA. Well, I'm pretty happy to hear that. I've got to say, we'll get into it. Keith, quick word on that.
it must be late for Sean, but
Never late for the Cheltenham Festival, isn't it? You'd stay up all the time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously those. Is it a treble or is it a double with a
I think
single?
it was a double with maybe the option of a treble.
Yeah, well, obviously Envoi Allen has a favourites chance. I wouldn't be backing him at the prices, but he's clearly the likeliest winner, as is Tiger Roll.
Let's get selections then going down. I've gone for the big breakaway. It's annoying, isn't it, having the big getaway in this race as well, isn't it?
Very inconsiderate.
It's absolutely. If ever you've been on, anything, you're bound to get that wrong through your previews and everything. Very considerate, quite right. Listen, he's the horse that I know that is just the one unknown factor, I think, more than the big getaway for Envoi. I'm slightly worried about Fiddler's performance in the Supreme yesterday. There's always 1 yard, isn't there, that you just get a little bit. It's too early for that, we should say, Team Tizard.
Is that not a bit of the Sandown factor there? The horses that look really good in really dead ground at Sandown then come to Cheltenham and have a completely different experience.
There's no worse ground in the country now than Sandown or Heavy, is there? It's horrendous.
So you can look at an absolute world beater in heavy ground at Sandown.
Esprit de l'Arche sort of did the same as well to an extent in
the Arkle.
Yeah.
Ross, so I've given mine the big breakaway. I'm still keeping the faith. I think that I know what they think of him and his form's strong.
I'd play the race a couple of ways. First off, we were talking about the form working out really well for Envoi Allen, But everything Sporting John has beaten has come out and won next time out as well. The Ascot speed figure was fantastic. And again, there's a slight concern sometimes that if you can get rolling at Ascot or Kempton, you can be flattered perhaps. But Pipe Smoker has good form through Chantry House. So the form is all there for Sporting John. And yes, he does. You could easily see him running the race of his life and getting beaten into second by Envoi Allen. But I mean, if he's out of the places, I don't know what. Well, I probably should look at myself. But what is he a backable place price
on Sporting John? He's 1.85.
See, but
we'll get to that.
I just think those two are classy.
So big breakaway. Sporting John.
Sporting John in each
No
way.
Envoi Allen yet?
No, there isn't an Envoi Allen yet. I've done something absolutely outrageous, actually. I've looked 4 places on the exchange because I thought I need it. We talked about Mossy Fen. The horse he just beat half a length, it's shaped better for more of a speed test, I thought, was Decor Irlande, who's got a lot of good form at a low level, that if he'd done it, and his form's probably on a par with the big breakaway or the big
ridiculous win at Catterick, wasn't it?
He was giving Mercy and Prince £10 and beat him on hard held.
Having looked like he was going to tail off,
he's been really easy. But he was almost now I'm not saying he was, but he was almost ridden like a non-trier at Catterick and still won hard held.
They were thinking Potence at that point.
I don't know what they were thinking. But they've ended up in this race. You could back him this morning at 270 to win, so I had to have the minimum £2 on that in case. But I mostly backed him 4 places in this. So you've got about 9, 10 at the time. I don't know what.
Yeah, 7.4. So actually some money for him now in that 40.
Yeah, he's shorter now than he was this morning on the machine. So yeah, he's not. I'm not saying he should be 10s, but he's not a 250 chance.
So 3 against Envoi Allen. Neil, I know what you're going for. So make the case for the Great White Hope, if you like.
It's everything that we've already said about. Now, we were talking off air about it. Now, there's almost 2 questions for this race. Is who do you think will win the race? I think Envoi Allen. But who's the best bet in the race is not necessarily Envoi Allen because of the price that he's got to now, as Keith was sort of saying. When betting opened on this and you're talking odds against, I think that's a perfectly fair price. Obviously, now with everything that's gone about, do I want to be backing him at 4 to 6? He's not really a price that I want to be backing him. But I do think he's the most likely winner of the race. But just another quick point on that Sporting John. In terms of the novice hurdles at the festival, when Monora won for Philip Hobbs, he actually ran on the same card at Ascot that Sporting John did as well. So he's treading a similar path to what Monora did, albeit in the Supreme, and this is the Ballymore. But in terms of how they're spaced out the races or the way that he's got here, has been a very similar programme.
In my head, Hobbs runs his good ones at Ascot all the time, I think.
Yeah.
But it's just a nice sort of way that it's mirrored the pattern.
I'm going to back that up with some memories that I've got. I can actually pull from the Orton mind.
Well,
but let's talk about the in-running aspects, boys. We've got loads of exchange players out there watching. What could he? How big could he go? Ross will be throughout the show, by the way. We'll be watching Ross. He's going to be showing some emotions. So yesterday we were leaning on you, Neil, for the exchange, but Ross is going to be alongside you all the way. Yeah,
share the burden.
Carry the load.
I mean, the thing about Envoi Allen is he does come off the bridle. He's not
He did in the bumper, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
and Abacadabras was
So, and Abacadabras also got him off the bridle when he beat him over hurdles a couple of starts ago. So he isn't. He's a horse who finds and finds and finds, but there is. If there's 2 or 3 on his tail, there is a potential for in-running punters to panic. However, the problem is that he's so well known now that people know that trait. So I don't think he's going to go overly big, but that's the only thing you've got on your side for Envoi Allen is you might think, oh, hang on a minute, he's beat, and then he's going to pull out more. So you might be able to get a bigger price.
I think the thing is as well, in terms of how he's ridden, he's normally ridden quite forward, or we have seen him like that as well. So it's not like he's going to be held up, or you wouldn't think.
Well, Paul Keeley has been saying throughout the build-up to this, slightly worried about the hill and the ground. If you remember, if you saw any of the Betfair preview last Thursday, when we were having dinner, prior to that, Gordon started teasing us a little bit with the fact he might, and then he started becoming quite serious about it. He was on the phone about 10 times during that meal, let me tell you. And he was quite, he had us all thinking that if it was going to be the doomsday that we expected, Monday into Tuesday, it wasn't quite the 11 mils we were all worried about. But it's still proper heavy ground on times, isn't it, Keith? And
it was yesterday, although there was a headwind yesterday, which really made the difference. In the Arco, they finished like it was at Toaster.
Yeah.
But that was a headwind more than anything else. Talking about the unrunning angle, I like Sporting John, but I think he's a stayer. Will he not go bigger in running?
You would imagine so, yeah. And I mean, there's again, trying to predict in-running angles before it's actually happening is often quite difficult. But you've got the Sporting John angle might get a bit bigger, and then you've got horses who are going to put it up to Envoi Allen, who we were talking about genuine graded form coming into this. You were saying that the horse you fancy is an unknown quantity, but you've got Easy Work and Longhouse Poet, who have both placed in Grade 1 events. Easy Work went through terrible ground at Gorham Park and at Limerick, and he stays 2.5. Longhouse Poet stays even further. So the more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking, is this a cakewalk for Envoi Allen or not? I'm kind of...
And he's being back now. He's almost touching into 4 to 7 now. On the
They are down at the start, guys. We should say that. So, if you've not watched the show before, welcome to Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange. Myself, Dave Orton, Ross Brierley, Keith Melrose and Neil Hubbard from Betfair itself. We're talking you through the races. You're going to watch us watching the races. The reactions yesterday were off the charts. We all put our money where our mouth is. That's the first thing to say. And it looks like Envoi Allen, I don't know, I wouldn't say he's late, but to me, lads, I think he's an even money shot in this, so I'm obviously not playing. I'm on the big breakaway, and I was tempted with Sporting John, but I just thought it looked a little bit too obvious for the place. So,
but the Ballymore is that weird middle ground between your proper 2 miler for Supreme, your stayers go for the Albert Bartlett, so it does often come up as quite a weak race.
JP McManus's last winner of the Ballymore?
Oh, hold on. Has it got into Huddle since Istabrack?
Istabrack, Keith Melrose, the betting editor for a good reason. As what I was saying to the guys that were in yesterday, Andrew Tinkler and Graham Rodway, they hate it when people in racing ask a question already knowing the answer. I'm that guy. All right, so listen, we're right down at the start now. Neil Hubbard, a late market update, please.
Yeah, Envoi Allen has sort of drifted out a little bit more now, but he's only back to the 4 to 6 where he was a minute ago. Sporting John still around the 7 to 1 mark. The big breakaway 12.5. The big getaway 12. And then it's 24s all bigger the rest, really. So it looks like, well, it's a 1-horse race in the market, but there's probably only 4.
They're lining up, lads. They are lining up. The big getaway's right up there. They're off! It's the roar from the studio. We don't get the sound in here, so we're doing our own roar. And they are off. And immediately up front, Shake 'em Up Harry has gone to the front with the big getaway. Easy Work out there as well. Looking for Envoi over the first 5. Not so much Sporting John, potentially. The big breakaway was also a little bit slovenly there in midfield. Longhouse Poet has got a nice box seat sort of sit. Mossy Fen is up there as well. Keith Melrose, come to you. Initial thoughts?
Well, first thought was the big getaway is going to be a great chaser. Look at the size of him.
He's a right old beast,
yeah,
isn't
he's
he?
a right old big horse. I'm looking forward to him next year when I get to see him over a fence.
What price is he, Neil? Because he's chivying along already. This is Fiddler on the Roof halfway. This guy's only jumped 2. My bet is not looking good.
Yeah, the big breakaway is out to 18s already. So I think he went off around 11 or 12, so the market's not keen on him. Envoi Allen is pretty much the same price. I maybe thought he might be a little bit more bit more forward than that, but you know, he's fine. 1.61, so still the same price as he was when we kicked off, really.
I think the key thing here about Envoi Allen as well is similar to the, you're looking at a similar thing to the mares, that big debate yesterday about track position and where you're going to get the gaps. If you are going to track round on the inside rail, you're praying for a gap at the right time. In theory, over this trip and with the horses he's facing, they should start to fall away and he should have enough room to manoeuvre, but it is always a bit of a concern.
We're into the home straight now, guys. They're just
going
taking
that
the
quick, are
second.
they? No. They're not going that. I mean, Shake 'em Up Harry's in front and is taking the classical dream route with his head carriage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nose touching the turf, whereas and Decor Irlandais out the back and is pulling a little bit as well. I don't think they're going that quick.
Shamblu also at the back. Well, it's interesting here because Paul Townhead has made a definite move to make sure they're going a little bit quicker. He's taking the big getaway to the front. You're talking about big horses, Keith. My God.
That's what I said. Did I not say the big getaway? That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, no, it is.
I said the big getaway first time, Dave.
He is aptly named.
Yeah, he's massive.
See, there you go. There's our first big break and big getaway mix-up. It's always going to happen. Wretched names.
A lot of these getaways are quite big, aren't they? It's just, and a lot of them tend to be. They're all chasers eventually.
Call the winner now, chaps. I'll go down the line. I'd be pretty happy with Paul Townend's run at the moment. I think Envoi's probably. Has he gone out to even money yet, Neil?
No,
absolutely
he's
shorter.
gone shorter.
You think he'd be shorter?
He's absolutely
He
shorter.
is shorter. Nearly 2's on.
The main thing, Sporting John is not enjoying this. He's I don't know if he wants a stronger pace or if it's
he's
he's
getting slapped down the shoulder, isn't
It's
he?
a bit like Chantry House yesterday. He was chivied along it. Maybe inexperienced, not sure. He hit 100 to 1 at Exeter when he won that time, didn't he?
Yeah, Sporting John's out to 20s already.
So don't give up the Sporting John just yet. If you're tearing up that ticket, he can hit big prices.
Townend steadied it right down.
This is a freebie out in front, isn't it? Easy Work has now gone up into second. If you're on your Decor Irlandais, are you happy with this pace or not at all?
Not really. I mean, he's been pulling half the way rounds, but So I'm not. I'm much happier if I'm on one of these horses near the front. Easy Work started to started to pull a little bit
I
as
think
well.
this is nice from Townend at the top, isn't it?
Well,
He's
yeah.
into 7-1 on
He
the
couldn't have
exchange
got an
here.
easier freebie, could he? Let's concentrate on some of the other main players. Longhouse Poets, Ross, you mentioned him.
Yeah, he's got a nice position, but the key thing here is trying to work out what jockeys are going to do, because when they're not going that quickly, you do occasionally get jockeys panic and go and use all the energy up at the wrong point in the race and absolutely scupper their chances of winning. So you've just got to end up watching that. And it was, I know you said there was a headwind yesterday, but it was hard to make up ground.
Another
Yeah,
error
well,
there
that's-
from the
yeah.
big breakaway. He's not really jumping.
Who's going to be first to commit off this pace?
It's got to be
Yeah.
Townend, surely, isn't it? Off the front. He's going to try and steal this, isn't he? He has had an absolute freebie. If you back the big getaway, what price is he in running now, Neil?
The big getaway is into 8.6, so
Around about his
50
pre-race
to
odds,
2,
isn't it?
yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So listen, we're
A little bit
we are-
shorter, I think
We
the
are
market
now
likes
starting
it.
to hot up a little bit. Townend, with as they
Yeah,
go
he's-
onto the far side,
He's let him go a little bit, hasn't he?
he's just stolen just that little
nice.
bit. I think the big breakaway is having an absolute shocker here. Team Tizard will be having their heads in their hands
I don't think Noel McParland realised what's going on.
on Decor. Well,
Yeah.
this is what he did at Catterick, potentially. He just rides him cold, doesn't it? You think they'd be happy for a place, maybe that's the way they're
Well,
riding.
get
See, now
get
he's gonna
fourth,
wind it
Noel.
up.
Get fourth.
Yeah.
We're coming to
The thing is, this has
three
worked.
out now, guys.
This has worked in novice events. You know, I think of Brindisi Breeze with the Albert Bartlett.
Yes,
that
yes.
certainly worked.
Envoy's been pulled out now off the inside, guys. Davy Russell's getting
he's
them
not
in
got
their
that
sights. The big breakaway is starting to rally, but at the moment it looks like this is going to be. I mean, Easy Work, has he been a bit too keen? He's just one length off.
He does
what
stay.
will
He does
Envoy
stay.
find here, guys?
Well,
We've got the big break. This is 3 out. This is 2 out. We're coming
What
to
have we
now.
got? Click.
Big jump from the big getaway. Easy Work over
he's
it.
4
fine.
lengths down. He's not going to
Envoi Allen maybe hitting this flat spot now, Ross.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. but
Even
you
money,
know
Envoi Allen.
Even money, Envoy.
But he comes up the hill. You know he comes up the hill. But are they going to stop in front? That's the
3 horse
question.
race now, guys. Townend has kicked into the home straight with the big getaway.
he wins this,
Envoi
doesn't
Allen's
he?
got about 5 lengths to make up. Easy work.
5,
Talked up by Joseph O'Brien. Gam is now challenging, coming to us. Here comes Envoy. The turbo is kicking in.
Oh, nice.
And we come to
Yeah.
the last. We've got 3
won the
horses
season,
there. The
yeah.
big getaway looking vulnerable. Envoy leads at the last. He's over the last. The favourite. The bookies are going to be absolutely in tears over this one. And the favourite has obliged. The foremost, the banker of the meeting, the Irish banker. Aye, if you're on, Ellen. He is absolutely hosed up. What a funny race to watch that. Easy Work in second. The big getaway had the dream run in third. The big breakaway in fourth. Never looked happy. Gats and Mosfen in fifth. Sporting John, big disappointment as well.
He was never going a yard, was he?
He hated it from the word go. He didn't jump the first couple of hurdles particularly well. He lost his position. Again, he is a bit inexperienced, but that's way below par. But I mean, the true class act. The races he was winning last year, in bumpers, they were going a good gallop, and he was coming off the bridle and finding for pressure. He's had to do something a little bit different there, and he's done it well.
He's miles the best horse in that race.
Yeah, yeah.
Miles.
And that what we love about these horses is that they hit that flat spot, don't they? And then they, a bit like Altior to a certain extent, once the turbo drive is in. Neil Hubbard, fair play. We can see scenes of Gordon Elliott at the track. He looks pretty relaxed actually for Gordon at this time. Of course, Gordon had the winner of the last yesterday. He's kicked off with the first. That's a double now. The top trainer, all these things, the narratives are starting to fall into play. More pressure on Team Mullins, although perhaps they'll be happy with the third from the big getaway. You took the faith, Neil Hubbard. You said he would just totally outclass them. Hats off, you've got your first winner.
Yeah, very pleased. And as Keith says, I think that was just a really classy performance. He looks like everything that they've been talking about him being. He actually hit 4.7 in running.
Dear me.
Davy Russell giving it the big, doing in his usual, isn't he? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was a typical Davy ride. Keith, inside all the way, pull out, 3 out, and then
I mean,
just
he
get
was,
them.
he was the only one of the first 3 that didn't get a great ride. I thought the first 2 were always in the right place, whereas Russell wasn't. He had the inside, but he wasn't always as well placed in terms of pace as the first 2, and he's still hosed up.
I think because there's a point in running where you thought he's not going to get there, but that camera angle where it switches to the head on is so deceptive.
Well, it was 2 out they jumped, and he
He
jumped
looked
at
a
4
bit
lengths
troubled.
down.
Yeah.
You try to count in your head how
Yeah.
far behind they are when they jump
Yeah.
that second last, and I thought he's got 4 lengths to make up here.
But if again, when you think back to the bumper last year, And you think, for example, Abracadabras and him were kind of neck and neck at the bottom of the hill, and then completely different when they reached the line.
We're watching the replay now, chaps, and turning in. Paul Townend's thinking, listen, I must have nearly stolen this. Grand larceny off the front end. Easy works when a blinder. But like you say, there were the two there. Does that mean we're marking up Envoi, Keith? I mean,
probably. I mean, what you could say has potentially happened here is that the first two, having pulled, have got a bit tired. I thought the big getaway was actually walking up the run in there.
Yeah,
he was really tired, even though he hadn't gone much of a pace. So he might have taken a little bit out of himself with that. With that
cut amongst the pigeons. I'm going to come back to you on that. Neil Hubbard, let's talk about the story of the race exchange-wise. You shouted out during the race, he hit even money. When exactly was that? About 3 outs?
Yeah, but he actually hit 4.7.
Was that when they jumped 2 out?
I think it would have been at that point. Yeah.
The exchange telling the story of the race, the real market, real time as it happened. We were, visually, us analysts here were thinking he's hit the flat spot. Market tells us he definitely did.
Yeah, and at the same time, the big getaway was 1.5, so he hit 2's on in running pretty much. Easy Work never actually got that short, 4.3. I like talking about the big getaway. I agree with what Keith was saying. He looks really tired there coming up the running. But then at the same time, I still think Townend gave that a pretty decent ride. He gave him every chance.
Absolutely.
They tried something different to get Envoi Allen beat, which is what you've got to do. And he was just beaten by a better horse. But I think that was a really nice ride from Townend.
I say cats amongst the pigeons, Keith Melrose, because was this a bit Asterion Phalange-like then?
He didn't
having the peach of the race, but he didn't see it out. I know Asterion was caused carnage, didn't he?
Very much that horse's fault in Asterion Phalange's case, wasn't it? Whereas this, it probably was. It was more the horse's fault than Townend, because Townend did everything right. He didn't get tired because he went too fast.
No,
he got tired
the
because of
bombshell I'm saying that you're suggesting is, of course, there's still a big team that remain on the sideline score sheet wise, isn't there? So should he have actually lasted a little bit longer? Will Team Mullins be thinking?
You're not starting this.
I don't know. What am I starting?
You're not starting the Mullins bug theory, are you?
If we remember a couple of years ago at half-time, everyone was saying Mullins, they've got a bug and all that sort of thing. He ends up nearly champion trainer. It's nonsense, of course.
Paul Nicholls hasn't had a winner yet either. What's that? He's not but Gordon Elliott did
I think he's got a hangover. I don't know about a winner. He's definitely got a hangover.
That was a lovely piece. I quite enjoyed that, actually.
What, being in the pub?
I'm going to the pub. What are you going to do, Paul? I'm going to the pub.
No runners in the pub. We'll get to Paul Nicholls. He's going to try and come back strongly later on. So how much was matched at even money? How much was matched at 4 point whatever the hell it was?
Yeah, there was a few £100 matched at 4.7, really. But the story of the race, actually, just in terms of how much money was on Envoi, or how much of the race revolved around him. There was nearly 6.5 million matched on the race, and 4.5 of it was on Envoi Allen.
Did you get any of that, Ross?
I didn't. I'm absolutely maggoted Easy Work to place in just as they were turning in. There was a chunk there. Just maggoted. That's the official term.
Sheffield? Is that a Sheffieldism?
It's the official in-running term for taking a bet you're slightly ashamed of, but you're still going to take the money anyway.
We're having in-running talk.
In-running lingo.
Yeah.
Wormed sounds slightly kinder.
Wormed
it, yeah.
Maybe.
I wormed a bit of. What did you get for the place when it turns out?
It was about even. It was a
even money
big chunk of even money. Well, because nobody's looking at him, are they?
Yeah.
Everyone else is looking at the
results up, chaps. Let's have the result up on the screen, guys. Can we get that? Let's see if we can see it confirmed on the screen. 8-15.
Yeah.
Woo! The big hitters came in just before
what was his Betfair SP?
Yeah, we're just waiting for it to come through.
We're waiting for the Betfair SP to come in.
It would have been
Easy
a
Work,
bit bigger
16-1 in second. A lot of people talking that up in the preview. Some shrewdies, they've got the each way there. The big getaway. He had definitely the run of the race, didn't he? He's back in third. And the big breakaway, I didn't have 4 places for sure.
His BSP was 1.6, so about 4 to 6.
Right.
His BSP was.
You've got to give a bit of credit to Rachel Blackmore there, because she's moved up Easy Work to get a bit of the action that Paul Townend was enjoying on the front. So another shrewd ride from Rachel Blackmore.
Let's talk about the has-beens in it. Sporting John, where do we go with him now? Do we rough him off for the season and think he's going to be a chaser? Sefton.
But they've already got the Sefton favourite, probably, haven't they?
In
Time Hill.
Time Hill.
Well, we'll see how that goes.
So
on
that,
Friday,
I think, to be honest, Sporting John might have run in the Spa, I think, had Time Hill not been around.
Other disappointments?
He just marked me as a stayer all the way through.
The other disappointment was Longhouse Poet, who seemed to have everything go to plan. He was in the perfect position. The yard won it last year, so you're looking out thinking, have they got a similar type this season? And he dropped out. I think he
did have stamina to prove, didn't he, Longhouse? I think so.
He was
quite got home.
He was third over what, 2-6 last time out?
Was it
so-
2-6?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm not sure it was
that
the
the one-
spotlight right, and then it was Emily.
Was that the one that
Rowland,
didn't? Did he not, there was a horse that ran over 2-6 that didn't stay the last time that I watched.
Yeah,
It might have-
admittedly, he did. Yeah, he did, but he didn't say over 2-6. But it wasn't as if
Yeah,
it was. You're on the fence whether he.
Sure.
The other thing that we're going to be giving you throughout the whole Racing Live experience is, of course, the real-time analysis. The times we'll get a word about the ground and what we're thinking about that. We'll give you the quotes as soon as they're coming into the Racing Post from all the jocks. You won't miss any of that whatsoever. It's a tricky one, this, Keith, isn't it? Because the race times, when they do go that sort of uneven pace, and I think we can agree it was, wasn't it? You know,
Certainly looked it, yeah.
if you remember, Shake 'em Up Harry, second to Shishkin last time out. I think he got a very easy one. Darryl Jacob pulled down and said, no, not having that. The first two were in the van throughout, first cliche of the day. And it's usually over fences, isn't it, that we associate prominent races, especially in the handicaps, for not coming back. No words about carefully selected ride yesterday. A lot of people not happy with that.
Well, rightly so.
And I mean, actually, fine on that point. Let's go there. Patrick carefully selected the hot pot, Mullins hot pot, another one been sunk.
Racking them up.
Here comes the conspiracies. It's Cheltenham. I think that's. Was it a case of Patrick sitting way too far back on that? And you can tell when Jamie Codd is nearly upsides at the third last, he knows all about potential track biases, doesn't he? Because we are talking about the Codfather coming as late as possible, and usually.
And yeah, I think Mullins, to maybe give him a little bit of credit, has probably thought they've gone hard here. I'm going to wait as long as I can, but you know, it doesn't often work out like that. You know, he's probably felt they've gone too hard, but he's given that horse far too much to do, and he didn't really get it jumping either, did he?
Well, in every other race on the card as well, if you'd watched every other race, you'd have said, I don't want to be very far back here, especially over fences.
It's always the way at Cheltenham.
always, yeah.
The prominent races in the Ultima, and you know, we'll see whether that bears out tomorrow. Of course, in the plate
and just about everything
Kimmy.
I've written.
Yeah.
You want to be on the front in chases at Cheltenham, especially, but in just any given chase, more so than over hurdles. You want to be prominent because there is that much more of a stop-start element to jumping a fence that naturally creates unevenly run races, which do favour horses that race prominently.
There was someone tweeted the other day about very clear stats where they'd analysed chases where they'd gone a quote-unquote hard pace and a quote-unquote slow pace, and prominent runners still came out significantly on top regardless of the early pace. So
Can we talk about the
absolutely.
big breakaway in that? Just because my anti-post bet has nearly... Oh, that's a proper crossbar anti-post one, but...
fourth like every good each way.
Look, I had a great day yesterday. As you may have seen on social media, we got a little bit excited towards the end, but it didn't start well. Shishkin was one of my lays at the festival, albeit when he's starting to look around about the 94 point. 10.5 on the Betfair.
I don't know what happened there.
One of the great mysteries of the festival, that would be. You said there was a rumour about...
Oh, I'd heard second-hand rumours he hadn't eaten up or something, but that could just be, you know what happens at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
There's always rumours that go round, but
I've heard
something.
William Mullins has got a bug, so...
I'm just going to jump in here, chaps. Hot off the press, it was 5 minutes, 18 seconds, Rob, was it? How much above standard is that? It's not slower than standard, above standard, remember? 13 seconds above. 30 seconds above, 3-0.
Well, not surprised.
Okay, so...
5:18 was it?
Again, listen, the reason why this is going to be fascinating...
I was going to say that's exactly the same as Sam Crow 2 years ago, and that was pretty soft/heavy ground as well.
Not just a terrible comedian. You have your analytical hat on as well, Ross Brierley.
I didn't even pick up on that then.
Well,
you managed to sneak in an insult with a
Coming
compliment
from me.
there. That was wonderful.
Coming from me, I'm going to make you look like a top comedian here, don't worry about it.
It's interesting how they've gone so slow and still so many finished tired. We saw the head-on, didn't we?
So, look, we had Andrew Tinkler in the studio yesterday. Great from Tinks' perspective, because we all analyse and we can say that they need a rain shower to help them get through this sort of ground. But with the drying wind, and we are in the spring, you know, this is not January heavy ground where Sandown, where it's going to, even with a drying day, you're going to get kind of through it a bit better. This has got to be like pudding now, hasn't it? I think it's got to be like something like that, a little bit like Somme-like. So the times are going to be slightly misleading, or?
Well, are they?
At
Well,
times
that's
ever
a
misleading.
stop-start pace, wasn't it?
Well, it was.
So-
That's why I'm saying you can't take that as an evenly run race. It wasn't an
Yeah.
evenly run race.
So
if
do
it had been, we'd had got a good idea of what the ground was like. But Christ, they would have been finishing. I can't believe what they'd have been finishing.
Yeah.
If they'd gone
It'd have
hard
been
at it in that race.
half of it would have pulled
Or
up.
it'd have been like the end of Platoon or something.
So
you
are
know?
we thinking the Coral Cup on the hurdles track is going to give us a real steer? Third race, of course, 250.
Tell you what, yeah, there is. But what what often happens actually in these festival handicaps, especially the hurdles that I've noticed, is that you assume 25 runner handicap hurdle is going to be hell for leather. So often they just get steadied up that hill and then they sort of freewheel down to 2 out and then it really picks up.
Was it Super Sunday's Cold Cup was very much like that, where you're watching it thinking they're absolutely crawling here.
So many handicaps end up like that when you don't expect that there is an assumption made that every big field handicap is well run, but it doesn't come out like that.
I mean, we were saying a bit along similar lines to do with the Arkle yesterday. We were looking at the pace of the Arkle and we were like, there's pace all over this, there's pace all over this. And as it turned out, put the kettle on, got a nice easy lead and just, it was a really nice performance from her. But in terms of, if you sat down and tried to look at all the pace angles in the Arkle, you'd have only ended up with about 2 horses that weren't pace horses. But that's not at all how the race actually panned out.
You can get that, what was that Simpsons episode, the Mr. Burns theory, where he had too many illnesses to get through the door. But jockeys know they're all on.
For Simpsons reference, ring the bell.
The jockeys all know they're on pace horses, don't they? And they can talk. They've got mouths. There will be things decided, and I look at races more everyday ones than the Cheltenham ones, and go, "Oh, that's how that's going to lead in," or Paddy Brennan's going to fancy making this one. And these things are decided in the weighing room, aren't they? A lot of the time,
it's not often borne out. They read the spotlights as well, of course, every day in the Racing Post. You remember last year's Champion Chase nearly got out to your beat, didn't it? The stoppy-starty pace.
Very much so.
And so, listen, we're still a little bit. We'll wait to see. We'll get it to you about what we think about the ground. Paul Keeley, check Twitter out. Our colleague Paul Keeley, he's usually got a word or two to say after the first race on that. So we shall see what the jockeys are saying. Let's just before we move on to the RSA, cannot wait for this. Before we move on, let's talk about Envoi Allen, a serious achievement by all connections, by the horse itself, and just in a succinct fashion. What do we do with Envoi Allen? Ross Brierley. As succinct as his column, I think that's going to be.
I've got 1,200 words to fill. I'm filling.
You've not on this show. You've done.
Too many options, haven't they? Too many choices. That's the problem.
Pointer, of course. We mentioned that at the top of the show. Point form sizzling.
If you've got a horse that, like him, that's that good, everybody is going to try and make him into a champion hurdle horse or a Gold Cup horse.
Yeah.
And he's too slow for the champion hurdle, probably. Yeah. So I think he'll probably try and win the Marsh next year, maybe the RSA, and then try Gold Cup in a couple of years. Would be my guess.
A great quote there from our betting editor at the Racing Post. Too slow for the champion hurdle. We shall be playing that back in 12 months' time, and we shall see. Neil Hubbard, what would you do with him?
I'd go chasing with him. I know there was talk about him being champion hurdle. I don't know, maybe they'll wait until obviously the end of the festival. They'll see how the land lies. We know that there isn't really many decent 2-mile hurdlers around.
Abracadabras, could they split them up a bit?
So maybe it's just a case of assessing the sort of landscape. But you would think from a pointing background and the way that Elliot would tend to train his horses that he'd probably go down the chasing route would be odds on, I would imagine.
You can guarantee if he was wearing Abracadabras' colours, he'd be Gold Cup horse in the long term, because that's how Jigginstown work. But it's a little bit different with it being Cheveley Park.
I mean, he could waltz a Marsh and a Ryanair, but then who wants... Like you said, people are going to be like, a Ryanair, but
that's what
I'd take a Grade 1 with it.
It's what they were going to do with Vautour. You would never have stayed a Gold Cup, but they had to take because Vautour had so much pace as a young horse, they had to take their time in how they built up to that.
We have seen proper horses go to the Marsh.
I guess it's the same thing with Sam Crow, if you rewind back when he won this. The talk was, he'll go to the Marsh or the RSA, one of the two, and then he'll go on to become a Gold Cup. I know he's Gigginstown, but same trainer and same sort of potential, shall we say, at this stage.
So what you're saying is the wheels are going to come off?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
You're saying Envoi's got a hole in him?
Do you know what? There's a few conspiracy theories. Wednesday, the conspiracy
He's
theory.
too slow for a champion hurdle, and he's got a hole in him.
Maybe. Who knows what's going on there?
Queen Alexandra.
Right at Racing Post headquarters now in the press room. The keyboards will be going left, right and centre down at Cheltenham. Check out on the website, of course, all the stories. You'll see what Gordon Elliott thinks in the aftermath. Chris Richardson, of course, Cheveley Supremo, used to talking about Sun Chariots and things like that. He's now got to try and map out a campaign next year for Envoi Allen. An absolutely sizzling start to day 2. The Ballymore goes to Envoi Allen. The Irish banker wins. Let's move on to the RSA chase. Before we get what the panel think, let's have a quick look at the market. And we'll give you a shot of all the players as if by magic. You will now see it on your screens. And yes, okay, Irish horses dominating the market. Manila Indo and Allaho, not a lot between them. Champ as well. Going to move on to Champ very shortly. And I suppose Copperhead solidifying.
This is really interesting market though, because when I had a snapshot of the prices yesterday, yesterday evening, and it was Champ and Manila Endo were favourites, around 7-2, joint favourites. There wasn't anything between them. And Copperhead and Allaho were both 5-1. There was nothing between them. But in both cases there, they've moved in different directions. So Manila Endo has stayed where it is. Champ has drifted. So Champ's a little bit bigger than he was. Copperhead's gone for a walk in the market, but the money has all been for Allaho here.
We've got a YouTube question for Keith.
For me?
For Keith. Can we have personalised questions on this? Sean Hunter, or Ozzy coming back in.
There it is.
Can we ask Keith what he thinks of Champ? Personally, think he's a place lay. Must be a huge doubt about him getting round here. Keith.
Has Sean been listening before we went on here?
Well, he was, just before we come to your answer, I think everyone's been looking to get Champ.
We have, and I think that because, and Sean's absolutely right, the doubt about Champ isn't that he's a good horse, because he probably is the most able horse in here. I thought they should run him in the Champion Hurdle just about, and if Epitant hadn't come through, he possibly would have gone to the Champion Hurdle like Bouverdaire did. But he's in this race now, and in a race where they're going to really test stamina, he's got a right engine. The way they finished at Newbury, they finished at something like 112%, and he still nearly ran out and didn't get his momentum checked. This horse has got loads and loads of speed.
On that point, I said earlier in the week that, and I reminded myself earlier in the week, Cheltenham is the 1 week of the year. We had a little chat about this, didn't we, off air? But it's the 1 week of the year where you've got to take a stand. You've got to be down on horses that you love. For me, at the start of the season, just as the flat was ending, I did all my 10 to follow. Champ went into it. I said maybe he's not an RSA horse. He's an 8-year-old, not totally sure how he would jump. And does he really stay? Because in the Ballymore, Keith, last year, City Island outstayed him. Of course, he went to Aintree and then won over 3 miles. But Aintree 3 miles in a slowly run race is not a hard-run Ballymore,
He
is it?
settled at Aintree, and that was something I didn't think he'd do. He crawled a bit. The emphasis wasn't on stamina over 3 miles, and he didn't pull, which I thought he would. I opposed him at Aintree as well, having backed him for the Ballymore. I don't think he's a stayer to that extent, and that's why, look at how they finished in the Ballymore there.
So
It's going to be a real emphasis on
to
stamina.
answer Sean quickly, place lay.
Well, I think we're going to end up doing that with Champ, aren't we? I just think if he's going to get beat, he's as likely to fall or get pulled up as to finish second or third.
Are we feeling a team bet? Are we feeling a team bet?
We might be.
I mean, from what Keith just said, you backed him in the Ballymore and he got beat. You opposed him at Aintree and he won.
Yeah.
You think he's a place late today, so he's a place back.
I'm glad
maybe?
you're in it today, because it's not just me making high-pitched noises. That was a scary one.
I'll give you as many vowels as you like, though.
Right, okay, save them for the race. But that's it. And actually, through the race, lads, let's start.
It really
we can
does
warm
hurt.
up a bit here.
It really does hurt to get a horse that you like wrong so often, actually.
Yeah.
Let's go for selections then. One of my naps of the festival, the entire festival, was Manila Indo. I know he was a bit workmanlike at Naas last time, but we're talking about the Albert Bartlett winner here. He's done what he didn't do coming into the Albert Bartlett last year, and that's win a race. And the more I watched that back, the more I heard that Allaho was going here, the more I got just stronger and stronger on him. I'll come to that, but that would be my selection. Very happy with him. Ross Brierley?
I'm probably going to... It's a weird RSA in the sense that everything that has a positive has just as big a negative up against it. So I'm probably going to go with Copperhead, even though I'm slightly concerned that the Ascot race did fall apart.
Did you put that up to the boys at the start as Copperhead? You did?
Yes, yeah.
Because Robin Mayer was saying I think everyone's on Copperhead. So.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I am, but there is a slight concern in the back of my mind that Ascot race did fall apart.
Rather, sort of gave the game away there, didn't I?
Well, you have.
What are you going for, Keith?
Well,
You're a Copperhead fan.
I have. I've been a Copperhead fan for a long time. When Tom Siegel put it up in anti-post price-wise, I said, well, it was 33 to 1, and I said, well, you're a little bit braver than me. I love that horse. And he's gone on, and I've only just backed him this morning at 9 to 2. Finally, and you'll get.
Was it a Wincanton win, wasn't it?
He beat
that worked out really
Finger
well,
on the
didn't
Switch
it?
was second. I've backed that for each way for the Kim
Has
Muir,
finished
actually.
second in a Grimthorpe.
And then the next time he won a race at Newbury that didn't pan out as well as it looked like it might. It was a really strong race on paper. And then he's gone in and won that Reynoldstown. I think the race did fall apart a little bit. But
That's my worry.
I've heard the time was very good, considering the way the ground was. And I'm also, this is a really muggy thing, but I am a massive fan of Danny Whizbang. So if anybody does that to Danny Whizbang, I'm instantly on your side.
You become a stranger cat the more we meet. Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, Copperhead for me too. Just interestingly on Champ, obviously he fell in the Dipper, I think it was on his last run. He hit 1.04 in running that day. So it sort of comes back to, I know he was well in control that day, but the way he was, his engine and everything lends himself to travelling well.
It's awfully short to be with 2 fences still.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Chaps, before we place our team bet, love these team bets, let's go to the diary room for the first time today. If you're not sure what that is, check out Paul Keeley's selection.
The Mercurial Champ has been favourite for the RSA chase for a long while, but it's suddenly been superseded by Minella Indo. He was a 50 to 1 chance of winning the Albert Bartlett last season, but he won't be anywhere near that price now. My problem with him is that he looked a little bit slow to me when getting off the mark last time, and although the second one next time, I'm not convinced the form is that good. Champ probably has better form. Well, he certainly does have better form, but you have to worry about his jumping. He belted the second last really hard at Cheltenham last time, over 2.5 mile, and hit the deck. He hasn't run since, and I don't particularly like backing horses who fell last time out. And although he's a classy operator who's obviously been named after A.P. McCoy, I think we need to take the two at the head of the market on. For my money, Copperhead is the horse with the best form in a race. He won a Reynolds Chase last time by 17 lengths, and he really did travel and jump well. For me, he's got everything you need in an RSA horse, and while a lot of horses had a hard time on bad ground at Ascot last time, it looked like he won it easy. A couple of his market rivals that day did underperform, but the second Two for Gold is a good horse in his own right, and he was beaten pointless.
OK, another Copperhead. There is another Copperhead amongst us. I'm sure they would have said that with the Roundheads, would they, or something like that? There's another Roundhead amongst us.
Isn't a Copperhead a snake?
It is. Have you been reading my column?
No, I haven't. I'm just terrified of snakes.
He's a
So
column stalker.
you have to know your enemy.
He's a column stalker.
There's a lot of nonsense in there. It is a snake. It is a snake. Yeah. Not snakes don't have a particularly good record at Cheltenham.
Well,
Can't jump very well for a start, can they?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Some jockeys might disagree with you there, but OK, let's have a look away from the top three in the market before we place our bet. A quick word on Allaho, Keith.
I don't think he'll stay.
I don't think he'll stay either, so I'm going to do that. Ross.
On Allaho,
Allaho?
I think he's a travelling boat. So he's going to travel. He's going to catch the eye. He's a big horse, but I think he'll get outstayed.
Is that more in running jargon?
Yeah, big travelling boat.
Travelling boat cannot get home. Neil, Allaho?
I really like him, but not necessarily for this race. So
Yes.
no, I can't have
and
him.
that's the question, the story with Allaho, isn't it? Would he have gone Marsh with Faugheen?
The fact he was declared for this maybe was a clue that Faugheen was getting declared.
So,
I don't know.
So there we are. Is there? You had a question for us off air while Keeley was waxing lyrical.
Yeah, we were just talking between the Tizard two runners, Copperhead and Slate House. Is it interesting that Robbie Power is not on Copperhead and
Keith?
is on Slate House?
I think we decided amongst us that it was probably because Copperhead's competence ride and Slate House is Powers, but it does. Slate House and Pym and Battle Over Diane all come back to a point that I think I made in the paper. I don't think I made it. I did make it in the paper.
You're a ghostwriter.
That Champ has got this reputation that has withstood what he did last time at Cheltenham, whereas, Battle Over Diane fell, Pym pulled up, Slate House pulled up. Their reputations couldn't sustain that sort of hit, whereas Champ's really has. Slate House is a Grade 1 winner. He was really impressive in the Calder Star, really. It wasn't the strongest Grade 1 you'll ever see.
Beating Black Op,
Yeah, he was, but it's, he's a Grade 1 winner. Battle Over Diane won a Grade 1 a day or two after
he
that.
did fall here in the Paddy Power or the Bet Victor, whatever it is now, the
he did
handicap.
that.
So he's got that sort
sure.
of-
And Pym was, again, he humped Imperial Aura.
And he was favourite to beat Copperhead. So now if we're concentrating on Champ to bring us, come on then, Neil. This is the time, team bet. Come on, let's get it on the screen.
Yeah.
So people can see exactly what we're doing here. Talk us through it, Neil. We're place lay Champ, please.
Yeah, we'll go to the to-be placed market, and although Ross won't like this, I think the other three of us are broadly in agreement. So he's around
He's
even,
part of the team.
I've been dragged along.
So he's around even money here to lay in the three to-be placed market. So we'll just choose that pink box there of 1.98. We'll put in our stake of, say, £5 into here, and we'll place the bet. So what this means is, if Champ gets placed, then the red figure of minus £4.90 is what we're going to have to pay out. But the £5 is the figure that will win. So if he finishes anywhere outside the top three, then we'll be on to a winner.
Just keep that on screen if we can. Can we get that back, chaps? Thank you, Ross and Dan, out in our gallery. Is there any surprises there, Keith, in the place markets? I'm looking at Battle Over Doyen specifically. Gordon Elliott told me if he'd have had his way, bombshell time, he didn't say this on the previous, he would have kept Battle Over Doyen at home. So he's been overruled on that.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Well, don't be taking any of that 3.55 then.
Should we be
He
jumping
does,
ship?
he does want 3 miles, this horse, doesn't he? And I think that was part of what got him beat last time I thought he might beat Faugheen, but
out of his comfort zone.
I think that's what it was. He's an enormous horse as well, isn't he? He's a really, really
Yeah,
big
I'd
horse.
have
He
him
flopped
down
at the
as-
festival last year, didn't he?
Yeah,
Which
he
is,
did flop at the festival last year. But in terms of like we were talking about it yesterday, I think Graham Rodway was saying about Asteria Falange and how in some races at the festival, it's not necessarily about the form book all the time. It's about the types of horse that you think are suited to the race.
Yeah,
And a
absolutely.
horse like Copperhead, a horse like Manila Endo, and a horse like Battle Over Doyen just look like RSA type horses, and that's a really hard thing to try and articulate. But they just seem like RSA horses.
The RSA really does tend to produce plodders.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Well,
Let's
like Black
not- let's
Lion
not-
is a really obvious one when he won it, and
Don
he was up
Coley.
against and they just look like those sorts of
But it did.
grinders.
Those were the years where I did quite well in the RSA,
Yeah.
and then last year you had a 1-2 that weren't plodders. You had top
Yeah.
of the game with Santini, and
Yeah.
suddenly and with Delta Work, it was arguably
Yeah.
the
couple of
Well,
quotes
it's the
coming
one
in
that
from the
travels,
jobs guys,
yeah.
quicker than yesterday. Not surprisingly, drying ground and the wind, but still testing underfoot.
Do we know if the wind's into up the straight?
That's a great shout with the wind. I shall.
They'll start in front of the stands here, so we'll be able to tell by
I'm
the
going to
start
text someone in the
That's how
analysis
it is.
department to find that out. They have to do the wind these days.
They can go outside and
It's
lick
not
their
a job
thumb.
anyone wants, but let me see if I can
We'll
find
get-
out.
we'll
who's
see
on
if-
that.
Alaho's joint favourite 3-1.
So loads of money for Alaho now.
Is
Willie
it-
Mullins, come on. What sort of pressure is the team feeling here now?
He's won, what, 100, he's won a million Cheltenham Festival races.
So you're suggesting he's not bothered? I mean, come on,
Patrick
Keith,
Mullins
that's
can
ridiculous.
just take Kenboy on in the Gold Cup just because he fancies riding it. It's just, this isn't a yard that feels this sort of pressure. They just know that the results go that way, and
Plus, then they had to Punchestown and win all the races anyway. So
it's not. This
For
isn't a
everyone
big
that
deal.
was saying that like they're running below par, I mean, like Sharjah finished second in the champion hurdle on ground that you wouldn't have liked. So, so what are you going to do? Like massively upgrade that? You can't have it both ways, can you?
Absolutely. That one again. Was that the best ride?
was it the best ride?
Sharjah?
I
was
disagree.
No, I'm not. I don't think it was. I was asking the question.
I see, right, okay.
Rhetorically, yeah, I was leading you
Right.
into it. I'm not. I didn't want to say.
Was
trying-
that the best ride? Yes, it was. It was amazing.
I was trying to get you to slag off Mullins, and not instead of me.
I thought it was. I thought it was overconfident, or possibly underconfident in the sense of like, I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to get out of trouble and I'm
Yeah.
going to come late. But by that point, Everton.
And it wasn't really the most well run. A lot of them finished quite close up. I didn't think it was the most hard run champion you'll ever see. And to ride like that through it was a bit.
If he'd have started, if they'd have kicked from the bottom of the hill at the same point, it would have been very interesting.
Yes,
They're
absolutely.
going down, lads. We're nearing the start. So we're 4 minutes away at the moment of the 210, the RSA, the first race on the chase course on the second day. And I'm just the reason why I was kind of pausing there a little bit. I'm considering. Is it a thing, Keith? I'll come to you on this. That a Newbury, for example, or Sandown, the different tracks, one's quicker than the other, aren't they? Are we just assuming that that's same sort of groundy at Cheltenham, or?
Well, in terms of
Do you find yourself
the old
writing-
in terms of the old and new, or
No. On each course, the chase and the hurdle. Sometimes at Sandown, the hurdle it's heavy.
Oh
and
yeah, there's some.
Leicester, for example,
Well,
is
Leicester's
good to
a-
firm on the.
Sandown is definitely one where that applies. I don't tend to do it at Cheltenham. To be honest, I'm not an enormous ground punter. Generally, I will as often as not use ground as a function of stamina. That's the main reason I look at ground a lot of the time.
Racing
And
Post betting editor, you heard it.
And that's
there.
what I think about this race is that the way that ground looks, it's going to put that emphasis on stamina in a way that is probably going to bring out, Manila Indo. It's going to bring out. It's not going to suit Alaho so much, and Copperhead will benefit from it. They're the two that I think are going to really suit conditions.
Neil Hubbard, give us a market update, please.
Yeah, Manila Endo just nudging ahead in terms of at the top of the market. So 4.3, Alaho 4.4.
Copperhead's looking solid there, guys.
Well, he's
isn't he?
in the machine. He's hardly come in at all.
Yeah.
He's still 7 on Betfair, but he's gone from 6 to 5 on the track now.
For a horse that wasn't carrying too much confidence and
Interesting
connections,
with
Battle Over
Copperhead.
Doyen's pretty solid, isn't he?
Yeah, it's weird though on Copperhead, as Keith says. Like on track, he's gone from 6 into 5s, but on the exchange over the last 12 hours, he's gone from 6 out to 7. Yeah. So he's gone the other way almost on the exchange.
It's really, I'm assuming I'm on him best odds guaranteed, which is quite disappointing. I wish he'd stayed at 6.
So
Back to
it's
the
a
92
3 to
this
1 the
morning.
field race with the SPs. Is it that open? Obviously, why don't you like Manila Indo? Is it inexperience?
No, I do like him. I think he's.
Okay.
I think he's probably my second choice. If Copperhead wasn't running, I would go for Manila Indo because he will jump really well and he's a plodder. So he's the sort of horse that will suit this race. I think he's got a right chance, yeah.
Yeah, 3 miles at Naas for him last time, one of the stiffest tracks in Ireland, perhaps even a bit stiffer than Cheltenham, looked sharp enough, didn't
To
it?
talk about his inexperience, he's only had 2 runs over fences.
Yeah.
The 1 yard with which I would not regard that as an issue is Henry de Bromhead. All of his horses...
He's not jinxed that.
But they
all of his
weren't.
horses jump well.
Bizarrely, this is the thing for the Alaho and Manila Indo is, when was the last time you saw joint favourites in the RSA that had never run in a graded chase? That seems a strange
Yeah,
experience.
there's probably another stat there. I think having 2 runs in the RSA, when you're looking through Kevin Morley's excellent column, don't forget to read that in the paper every day. I'm not sure who Kevin went for in this actually, but I'm assuming it wasn't Manila Endo or Alaho because of the lack of experience. I'm assuming it's not Champ because he's an 8-year-old. Last 8-year-old to win. Here we go once again. Questions that I know the answers to. Might bite. That was a bit too easy. That was, wasn't it?
Excellent.
Might bite.
Excellent.
The last 8-year-old. Before that, I think it was Rule Supreme.
That's an interesting point, though. The age of horses. I mean, there's a reason 7-year-olds tend to dominate these kind of novice chasers because you're literally a year ahead of the 6-year-olds. That experience, that physical peak of a chaser. Is
7-year-olds tend to be the winners, don't they? Let's have a look at these social questions. Then we've got another one coming in. Hume Peak. Are we paying attention to the jockey factor today? So Paul Townend, do you think he's getting a little bit nervous? Bit of criticism for him yesterday. Robbie Power, also a bit of criticism for him yesterday. 2 Tizard horses that have gone down.
No, Power definitely is too experienced to let things like that bother him. I can see the angle for Townend feeling it a bit. You know, it's his first festival that Walsh hasn't been there. He's now Ruby's
Very
number
interesting.
1. So we'll have to look at we're watching the ground on the TV, and dear me, that looks testing.
Puddingy, doesn't it?
It
It
does.
still looks moist there at Cheltenham, that's the thing to say. Last down the old course. Right, they're lining up, chaps. Let's have a little look at who's jockeying for position, as we should say. Looks like Champ's going to be ridden cold. That's the one thing we should pick up.
Alaho's gone strong favourite on the exchange now, 3.8.
Well, he'll probably lead, won't he? That's why.
Copperhead's
why,
gone the other way. Copperhead's as big as
Flag
8
is
on the
up, and it
exchange,
looks like there's still a
9.2.
headwind, Keith Melrose, to your question.
it does,
there.
yeah, it does.
I did ask the guys in the
9.4.
analysis department,
I'm
they're too
not-
busy to reply.
I'm not terribly surprised by that, given how they finished in the Ballymore, having gone not that strong.
Battle over Doyen's halved in price as well.
That's fascinating, isn't it? He's up
Yeah.
there as well.
Elliot putting us away, is he?
They're off and they're running in the RSA. Let's get them to the first fence then, guys. Bit of a pace duel up front. Old rivals, Alaho and Manila Endo. 2-0 to Manila Endo at this stage. Copperhead pulling a little bit over the first. They go. All okay. Castlebourne West potentially a little bit sticky out the back. The one thing I think we can agree on here, chaps, is they're not hanging around.
Well, they often don't for the first 3 fences. Ask me that again as they're going up to the ditch. You know, a lot of races will be fast for the first couple of fences and then slow it right down. So we'll see how this Alaho versus Manila Endo thing pans out, because I would imagine Rachel Blackmore would be quite happy to let Alaho lead, but Manila Endo's pulling.
Well, this is what happened at Punchestown last year. If you remember when he made it 2-0 when they met, Ruby Walsh reversed the tactics and Alaho didn't get home. So maybe, listen, that's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Just in behind there, Right, big runner for Harriet Graham and Callum Bewley. He's in the side.
Talk about that horse. You know, I think he's 200 odd in the machine. If he was trained by Colin Tizard, he'd have been 33s, I think. He'd have
Just Castlebourne West at the moment looks like he's feeling it a little bit hot already. Easy game, interesting form with Forheen, Keith. He's not really been talked about for this. Will he get home?
He hasn't. I mean, I thought he didn't shape to me like an RSA winner when he ran against Forheen last time. So while I'm not as across the Irish form as the British, I saw enough there, I think.
Let's concentrate on Champ. Neil Hubbard, how's our place? What sort of mark? I mean, he's pulling a bit, isn't he? Let's face it. He's got now up into midfield, Garrity.
Yeah, he's out to 9-2 in running at the minute. But to be fair, the market is pretty, as you would expect, not a lot really happening here at the minute with regards.
He was a bit stuttery there, was Champ.
Slate House made a bad error there. Team Tizard.
Yeah, he's out to 55s on the exchange now.
Okay.
Quite a few jockeys seem to be making sure they stay off the inside there as well.
That's interesting. Battle
Wide,
over
aren't
Doyen,
they?
widest of all. Pim, Nico de Boinville, Copperhead.
Yeah.
The only
Harry
person
Compton.
going up the inside is Callum Bewley, who probably won't ride as much around Cheltenham as some others.
Yeah, he's saying, "What's all this space for, lads? I'll go in here."
Right, we're coming into the home straight for the first time. How are we feeling? Copperhead backers, how are we feeling?
Well, you've got to
Okay.
be happy with the emphasis on stamina, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's looking like this is going to take a lot of getting.
He just looks very relaxed.
Is this a
He's in a nice
case
position.
of what we saw in the Ballymore on the big getaway with Paul Townend now that Rachel Blackmore has allowed it? In fact, it's a carbon copy of what we saw, isn't it?
Yeah, Blackmore joined in a little bit more the first time, but this time she's letting Townend do it. And Manila Endo still isn't as settled as you'd maybe like to see for a horse that's still got a circuit and a half to go.
He did this in the Albert Bartlett last year, didn't he? Pulled for his head all the way.
Champ's not looking terribly comfortable here.
He is keen. He's lit up, and Barry Geraghty has now come widest of all, having sat right in the middle of the pack.
He probably wants to give him a look at the fences. Because he's not that good a jumper.
He also seems quite keen to. You can almost feel that he's thinking we want to stay on the heels of all the rivals here, because so far everyone else has got first running.
Neil Hubbard, give us an in-running update. Where are we? What about the first two? They were the first two in the market. They're the first two in the in-running play.
And they're still the first two in the market, but Allaho is much the stronger of the two on the machine at the minute.
Yeah, he hit that one.
First in the home straight, Copperhead not convincing. Neither was Champ, neither was Easy Game.
Cobden nudged him into it. He might not have seen a stride.
Allaho is jumping very well. Of course, when Allaho won over 2 mile 5 at Gowrie, he did go from the front, so obviously likes it there. Harry Cobden just shaking Copperhead there a little bit.
He did it on the turn. He did it to turn in as well. He might not have seen a stride, and he didn't jump either of the two in the straight particularly well. So it might just be that this horse is.
Yeah, it wasn't missed by the market because he's out to 10, 11 to 1 in running.
Battle over Doyen's just observing, isn't he, in 4th place, just out the widest of all, David Russell, which
Champ's
is
still
interesting.
Not jumping.
Because he usually hugs the inside. Do you see what he did on Galvin yesterday? Do you remember in the novice handicap? Some thought that cost him a length or two going on the inside.
He's actually the one in the market that's probably been the biggest mover in here, into 6 to 1 in running. Battle over Doyen.
Yes.
Well, it's Russell travel. I mean, I'm not happy with how Copperhead's going.
Let's have a look. So we're on the far side. There was
terrible.
Allaho took a chance there. Wright was a little bit put off. Pim now feeling the strain. He got that Imperial Aura form.
Champ stuttered into another one.
Champ stuttered into another one.
The only thing with Champ is
that
he doesn't conform to any rules.
No, that's
another one. Poor jump, and Barry Geraghty now getting after Champ, who went out to 4 to 1.
I think it's just his engine that's bringing him back
into
it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like what you were saying
if there was no fences in the way, he'd be 4s on, wouldn't he?
Guys, we've got about 5 fences to go. 5 fences to go. Quick word down the line. Call it, Ross Brierley.
Probably Manila Indo from where he is.
Keith?
Yeah, I think Manila Indo, although I fear how much he pulled a little bit.
Neil?
Yeah, but I'm not giving up on. Well, yeah, I was going to say I'm not giving up on Copperhead, and then they just
They've steadied it right up. Slate House is travelling now.
Yeah.
He's only made that one mistake, hasn't he? I've only seen the one.
That's why Robbie Power's on.
Here comes Manila Indo putting it up now, Rachel Blackmore.
Yeah.
We're starting to get serious, lads. Who's going to fill the pinch? About 5. Oh, a little bit guessy there, Manila Indo. He's okay.
I rates hit that one as well.
That's that inexperience. Here comes Champ. This is where Barry Geraghty's saying, right, come on, we need to have a little think about this. He's gone wide.
It's how much energy he uses up and getting him in prominent now, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're really hotting up now, guys. We're coming to around about 4 out.
The question is Allaho's stamina, isn't it? Is it going to hold out?
Ross, where are you going from an in-running punt angle?
I like the position of Manila Indo. My eye keeps getting drawn to Battle over Doyen, though.
What about Easy Game? Is that Easy Game?
Surely as an in-running punter, he must have been suckered by Davy Russell so many times.
Yeah, absolutely. I was yesterday in the first.
Here we go, the tricky
This race last year, probably.
Here it comes. I'll tell you what, there's still lots to play for in
still
this
loads.
RSA. I'll be very happy with Rachel
Battle
Blackmore
over
now.
Doyen,
Come on, Rachel, get him into contention, girl. Come on, then.
Champ's travelling still.
Here we go.
What
Champ
an engine
will
this
really
horse
get
has.
up the hill.
What an
Knocks
engine
off
this
the
horse
bridle
has.
now.
Look at this big
Copperhead,
outside
the
around
first
the
to crack.
outside.
The big two in the
Yes, he
market.
is.
They're going around the corner. They look like they're pulling clear. Champ
Yeah,
has
Copperhead's
he's
gone.
definitely still got something in the locker, Champ.
I think he's holding
Come
the
on,
fresh
Manila.
air.
Come on then, let's get up. Paul Townend not moving. Rachel Blackmore's the one that's come off the bridle. Allaho, will he come? Coming to 2 out, this is key. Manila Indo gets up.
lovely.
Allaho not so great there. Manila Indo looks like he might just about be take the measure. Come on, son, let's get this up, Manila Indo. Come on,
Oh.
fiddle it. Allaho coming back, Manila Indo, was he too keen? Up the running, come on,
gonna
Rachel.
run it,
Let's do this. Come on now,
Come
get
on,
up there,
Davey, get Champ beat for
walking.
thirds.
This is Torring Champ.
Oh,
He's
Champ's
absolutely
wins.
steaming.
Champ
Has
wins.
he left it too late?
Champ's won! Champ's won!
He's gonna get up. Unbelievable.
Bloody hell.
Oh, I've been told off hitting the bench again, the desk and everything.
I think that was justified on that occasion.
How on earth? What have we just seen?
Well, we've seen two horses go to form too soon, haven't we?
Oh my goodness!
I told you it was a place back. I told you it was a place back.
Unbelievable. We play Slade. He has come good. The lay of the festival has come good. This is going to be some story, isn't it?
I mean, the question is, did Allaho and Manila Indo look at each other and think, it's between us, let's get racing a long way out?
You've got to say, I Wright's plodded on for 4th, I think, in the end, or maybe 5th.
Neil,
they've
tell
gone
us
too
about
soon.
the story in running. What did Champ hit?
Oh, God.
He hit 720.
Bloody hell.
But for penny,
720.
yeah, proper pounds being laid at around the 420
I mean, I
mark.
just cannot believe what I'm seeing here.
With Manila Indo matched at 1.06 in running.
If anything, for me, Manila Endo, has he thrown that away a bit?
No, he's shaped like the best horse in the race.
I think you watch. We're just watching the running here again. As Champ comes at him, I think he picks up again.
No. Allaho stops.
think
Allaho's walking. It's not the Manila Indo's
They're just
plugged
doing exactly
and
the
plodded.
same as he's been doing throughout.
So we are thinking potentially at the moment this is a race where the leaders, we've seen them come clear in races. Honestly, 2 out. I thought I had the money there on Manila Indo. Oh,
Here's one for an in-running punter like Ross. What if you've got a horse that's matched 7:20 in running and won? What proportion of time have they made an arse of it up front, and what proportion of time has that horse, just decided to take off? Is it usually pace burn-ups that cause horses to go that?
It's from my experience. It is always the vast majority of the time it is people getting locked and focused onto two horses. The brain going right. It's only between these two, and not taking that second to look again at the rest of the field and go, is there anything to worry about? And then people again taking an opinion, because people, if they've got a negative opinion of Champ and you're seeing him there, people are probably laying 2-3 times the price they would normally because they don't like the horse and they think he's a quirky animal.
I genuinely can't believe what I've just seen. This is madness.
The horse with the most talent has won the RSA, so I don't know what you're...
No, listen, you said he could run in a champion hurdle.
Yeah,
He's just outstayed.
You were place laying him.
I was, but he's...
I thought you should be as shocked as anyone else, Keith Melrose. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what, betting editor in waiting here, never mind this chap. Listen, what I'm going to say, the reason why I'm saying this is because we didn't like his jumping. We thought he was pulling hard. We thought he'd gone too wide. He hit the flat spot. He wasn't finding anything.
Oh, he jumped like... Yeah, he jumped like a table, didn't he, all the way around there as well? He's a really, really capable horse.
No, well, indeed, there's no doubt in that.
I mean, he's probably run to what, 155, 160 there. There's £10 in that.
I mean, is this the first time that Nicky Henderson's had a really quirky, talented 8-year-old win the RSA in a surprising fashion? I don't know.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't do was come over Stan's side.
Yeah, exactly.
2023 cross country for Champ.
We've got the cross country for Champ coming up. Yeah, that's right, quite right. Okay, let's get this insane results up on the screen. Oh, this is going to be painful for me. This is Shishkin all over again. Champ 9-2 takes the scalp of Manila Indo. I can't believe I've just said that. And Alaho, who we'll dissect the form in a minute, guys. But we'll go to Neil before we do that. Back in third, the three have come well clear of battle over Doyen, who just didn't quite get home. I mean, the more you look at that coming between Barry Garrity's having a sizzler, isn't he? He's delivered him between horses. he's kind of sitting up and almost... He is punching the air, Barry Garrity, as he goes past it.
Can't believe his luck, can he?
So, Neil, let's come to you. In the first race, we being the three wise monkeys, thought that Envoi Allen had hit a flat spot. The market told us that would be the case. We've seen how high Champ went, 720. My congratulations if you nicked any of that. Oh, red letter day. How short did Ahalaho and Manila Indo go?
So it was Manila Indo that was the one that went really short. He went 1.06 in running for a decent amount of money, for around £4,500 there. Alaho, not so much, even money. But still short enough, but he didn't go odds on.
A bit of intellect being used there.
That reflects surely that Manila Indo was thought the more likely to keep it up.
And interestingly, Battle over Doyen, who obviously travelled quite well, I guess when they turned for home, or when they were coming down to turn for home, he actually hit 3.5 in running.
Wow. How much was matched on the market in total?
In total, there was, have a look, there was a couple of million matched on it. Yeah, 4.8 million was matched in total.
Just a casual 4.8 million matched on that. And how much has gone to the green ups, I don't know.
I was just going to say, the key thing for me here is that the three horses in the RSA who had excellent novice hurdle form from last year's festival have finished 1, 2, 3 in the RSA there. And every single year you sit there and you go, festival form, festival form, festival form. Brierley, great shout. And Keith, I want to bring you in here as the betting editor. Is this an RSA that we are now looking at 3 genuine Gold Cup horses for next year?
Well, you can't say, because of the way that results panned out between the three of them. Now, we've already sort of alluded to it, but Champ will either win a Gold Cup or end up in the cross country. That's the sort of horse he is. I think he's... in a way, he's been fortunate there, but he's also shown he's the best horse.
He's not
It's a
like
hard
Scorpion, though, is he? Like Mike Bite was, who's a bit,
yeah.
lunatic.
You
This
know,
is a King's Theatre.
Sorry
we're
if you're
talking about.
Coolmore breeders, but Scorpion. If anybody sends their horse to bloody Scorpion,
Ding, 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 ding. The first
Anyway,
beep in the studio.
but he's
You've lost the job as bloodstock editor now.
yeah,
as
I
well.
have, well, I have, yeah. I'm not getting that one anytime soon. But I mean, Champ should be a better chaser in that regard. King's Theatre is a sire I like an awful lot, but he didn't look a chaser there for 3 miles,
Yeah.
not the half furlong. You know, he's got a lot of work to do to turn that into a Gold Cup.
I mean,
horse.
our place lay's basically gone badly, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think the reasons why we placed Lady were evident during the race.
What price did he go for
I didn't catch
So
Yeah, it's
we
one of
were
those that we-
right,
yeah.
but our pockets are telling
we
us
got,
we
we
are
got, we
right.
got quite a lot right there, but no.
Okay, let's talk about some other horses in the race. Chiefly Copperhead. There
Didn't
were
go a
4
yard,
for
did he?
Copperhead in here.
Didn't go a
including
yard.
Bull
It's
Keeler.
another one for Tizard that hasn't run up to scratch,
Another
isn't it?
con-
Slatehouse travelled through that race.
Yeah.
We made that bad error, didn't he, Slatehouse, and then he came back into
What
the
would we
race.
say
and
for
then-
Copperhead then on this
So-
step up in class?
Oh,
Just a
goodness
bit.
gracious me.
He wasn't going to circuit out.
Yeah.
There was something awry
He had
there.
a nice position, didn't he?
Yeah, but it was when they turned into the
couldn't
straight
hold it.
first time, Cobden had a little nudge.
Yeah.
Didn't jump those two very well, and I don't think he was
Yeah,
ever
right
entirely
on the walls.
Let's have a think about some of the stories from the race and knock-ons to the rest of the week. If you are Cheveley Park stud, there's obviously been given a lot of confidence by Team Mullins that this is the race to go for. Willie has been saying, when everyone's been, loads of strong judges out there, some of the shrews I've met have been saying, certainty in the March Chase, certainty in the March Chase. Would a performance as enthusiastic as that, Keith, have been good enough to take out tomorrow's March Chase?
Well, I really like Itchy Feet, but that notwithstanding, no. That's probably, he's shown that he's got a 160 plus performance in him there, hasn't he? Even though he's not quite got home. There's an at the Mullins yard. There's a strong element of what the trainer says goes, and I think with Faugheen running tomorrow, that's the reason Allaho is running this race.
Yeah,
Because
and
he's done nothing in this race there, has he, to dispel the idea that he should have been running over slightly short.
It's tough to say he doesn't stay 3 miles, of course, because this is, we're talking about 3.5 miles a furlong on really testing ground. That wasn't a dawdle either, was it? So we're going to get an absolute on the
Well,
on the
they
times
have
now.
sort of. I mean, there was a little bit of. It's like when cyclists get in a breakaway and work together. There was a little bit of him and Blackmore working together a little bit there. But when they have to eventually start racing, and that's what probably cost them in the end, because when they did start racing, they probably went a little bit too far out.
Let's
Is
have
it
a
a bit
little
not
think
like-
about Colin Tizard's team, if we may, panel.
There was a late drift on Copperhead as well.
What are we thinking about Lost in Translation now for the Gold Cup? My goodness gracious me, a horse that's arriving with a P next to his name.
I'm not
been seen
worried. I
since
mean-
King George.
We have this with Tizard sometimes, don't we, at the festival? We often talk about how they don't do as well as we make out. And what it might be with the Tizard horses is, unlike the Irish horses that are running in proper big field Grade 1 races all the way through, a lot of these Tizard horses are coming through in lesser races. Now, Copperhead might also have left the race at Ascot as well. That's a possibility.
It's been an awful winter, hasn't it? Weather-wise,
Yeah.
we should say.
I mean,
There's
there's a
not
lot-
been so many opportunities. They wanted to run the big breakaway again, and it looked like experience was key there for him in that first race.
They'll probably be among the less experienced horses in a lot of the fields they're racing in. Didn't really apply here so much. I mean, Slatehouse is running. Would have won a bit Victor, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some of these horses come in, and again, what you could notice with Copperhead specifically, it could be that the race was left at Ascot.
And the thing is that the Tizard runners, or decent horses at the festival often, are the ones that are a little bit surprising. Whereas, like you said, the Tizard horses so far this week have come in, Fiddler on the Roof and Copperhead in particular, looking wildly impressive in horrible ground in the middle of the winter. And they've met horses who have kept a bit back and a bit fresher and
I'd say
have got
I mean,
a bit more up their sleeve.
Copperhead's running a couple of handicaps already this year
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
The thing I would say there's a knock-on effect potentially here, not so much for the Tizard yards, but Riders on the Storm and Traffic Fluid, who runs in the Coral Cup next. That day was the same. It was Rendlesham Day at Ascot,
Yes.
Rendlesham Day at Ascot, and he might have left his race there. With the way it's. Whereas that Ascot chase that Riders on the Storm won and Traffic Fluid might have won if he hadn't have fallen. Those horses looked knackered.
Yeah.
And I thought Riders on the Storm was really impressive in how he went through that race, but the way he emptied and the way he looked, how so tired, I couldn't back him for the Ryanair tomorrow.
But it's similar. Funny you should mention that race because it felt similar to that in the
Yes.
sense that they didn't seem to go overly quick early on, and then they ground it up, and they basically there was a mid part of the race where Riders on the Storm, they were really going through gears. And there was still 2 or 3 fences to jump, but it felt similar in the RSA there, where there was 2 horses going right. We've got this between us.
What they might have done, just by eye, they've gone. The first circuit was relatively well run, and then everything
Yes.
was there at the ditch at the top of the hill. So I think maybe Blackmore and Town would have thought, right, we've got a breather in them now, lads. We can race
Kick
now.
on.
We've got
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We've got that breather in them. But in an RSA, turns out that might not be enough.
For my money, Manila Endo was coming back a little bit line. It will be borne out that, but I was expecting him to. I don't know. I need to watch that finish again. But
If I was picking a goal, if you had to say, horse to finish in the first 3-4 in the Gold Cup next year,
It's him.
It probably would be Manila.
Yeah, yeah.
He's small though, isn't he?
he's not as big as you expect. But that experience. Let's not forget, of course, that we've had the first two in the market have just had those 2 runs over fences. There were a couple of risky jumps, weren't there? Alaho made one run about 4 or 5 out.
Manelando hit the last.
2 out. Manila
yeah.
wasn't great at the last.
He jumped everything else really well.
He was always electric through the first. But then the horse that's fallen, the 8-year-old, the lay of the festival for some of us, has come and picked him up.
I hope Manella and Champ do go for the Gold Cup because they're the kind of horses you want in that race.
So we're getting a lovely theme here on Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange. After every race now, let's say what we would do with the winner. Champ, yeah, they're going to have to try and make him into a Gold Cup horse, I think. Ross?
Yeah, absolutely. But given that he's already proven himself on a flat track as well, why not do a might bite and go for a King George while you're at it?
Oh, King George has got to be in the realms of possibility, isn't it?
It must. He's not gone right-handed yet. He's a horse that you've got to. I mean, some horses I just say, "Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about that." But Champ's a horse where you'd want everything, every T crossed and I dotted before you thought he would.
Although the devil's advocate position is, does he look? Maybe you go right-handed and he goes, "This is what I've been wanting all along."
Oh, God.
I'm actually a simple
A Corby
horse.
Lord situation from the International earlier in the year,
Yeah.
when he just couldn't possibly do it, goes and wins the International at Cheltenham on his first one on the left-handed track.
Do you go to Aintree though?
Oh, I think he'll go to
Quite
A.
hard. He could do himself an injustice round there the way he jumped it.
Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the Triple Crown, isn't it?
The triple
Betfair
crown.
Chase,
Yeah.
on to the King George.
He's never
on
going to
to
win
the
a
Gold
Kentucky
Cup.
Bonus
Derby.
hunting.
No, but I mean, no, in terms of like if we think he's going to be a Gold Cup horse, then the programme sort of maps itself out in a way. So a starting point at Haydock seems to make sense, left-handed, flat track, all of that. And if he's not good enough or he needs to go further or it doesn't work out, then, nothing lost.
A bonus hunting JP McManus, Champ, Barry Geraghty and Nicky Henderson will go. Hendo's having a very nice festival of a sudden, isn't he?
Has McManus ever thought about going for the Triple Crown? He's never even had a runner of it.
What, Henderson?
No, McManus.
McManus.
I
Great
can't remember
question.
the last time he had a runner in the Betfair Chase.
What was his last RSA winner? Oh, the questions they abound. We'll get to them. Talking about bonus hunting and talking about McManus and talking about Henderson, we've got to move on to the Coral Cup. Ooh, we've had a couple of classy graded races. Now we go to the 250, the Coral Cup Handicap. Is this a case of put a pin in it and see where you go, or can we whittle it down to some strong contenders? The market, there was a big mover for this yesterday. Yes, you guessed it. It was a JP McManus horse, Nicky Henderson and Barry Geraghty. And there we are. Dame de Compagnie, right at the head of the market. A mare. Of course, 3 mares won on the first day of the festival yesterday. Could this be the 4th? Here come the girls. Canardier, Willie Mullins, still to have a winner on the board. Neil Hubbard, tell us a story about the market.
Yeah, the 2 that I sort of noted down when I was looking at it late last night was that Dame de Compagnie was 7.2, so around 6 to 1, and she's into 5 to 1 now, so decent support in a market that's as strong as this. That's pretty decent support. But on the opposite end of that, Alpha Mix was around 12, so 11 to 1 last night, and he's right out to 18s now.
Been snapped up by JP McManus. There's a theme running here, guys, isn't there?
Yeah, but he's pretty friendless in this market when you think of the money that's coming in for Dame de Compagnie.
Birchdale was the long-time anti-post favourite for us. How's he gone?
He's 20s on the machine at the minute. So
Yeah,
I
we saw
guess
him
that
up on
was
screen there. He's actually a bit more solid than I thought he was going to be. Paul Keeley said yesterday, you have to think now that Geraghty has gone to Dame de Compagnie, that Birchdale will be the big drifter.
Yeah.
Keith, I want to start with you here. I'm not going to do it too much, but there was a story about Dame de Compagnie, wasn't there? And
Yeah.
after the win last time, there was something to do with the steward. Just talk us through it.
Well, Dame de Compagnie won here in the December meeting and was then basically put away for Cheltenham. She hadn't been seen since. She beat Indefatigable, who next time out ran and won a listed race at Warwick. Yeah. Dame de Compagnie had originally been put up £8 to 140. And after Indefatigable won, she got put up another 2 for standing in her box or for going for some cliche bingo. And the connections, they appealed it with the handicap appeals panel, and they won the repeal, and she's back down to 140. Personal opinion is she should have been 142 to start with, because the way the handicapper treated that race at Cheltenham, he had only 2 horses running the race in a Cheltenham handicap, which seems a generous view of the form, to say the least. And if Dame de Compagnie had been rated 142 to begin with, I don't think the appeal would have happened.
So are we talking about, look, we've got leading connections here of the jumping world. They were pretty keen, damn keen, to get this 2 off, weren't they?
They certainly were. I mean, an appeal only costs you £400, and even if it does cost you £400, it's only if you put in a spurious claim.
It's a free shot then for McManus.
Essentially, yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. JP McManus wouldn't miss £400 if he dropped it. So
No,
it's
for
not.
sure.
So in that regard, it's not an awful lot of work. But it's pretty clear. As soon as you saw that appeal had been lodged, you knew right away this is the Coral Cup horse, lads, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which have been put away since December. They've got the hump about having her handicap mark played about with.
Having caught the eye in the Greatwood, the big
she
handicap
was
win
fifth,
fifth, she was fifth in that and caught the eye over 2 miles.
Shaped like this trip really did benefit her over 2.5 next time. I mean, she won very easily, but she powered up the hill.
Right, so let's go to selections, and then that's going to give us plenty to talk about here. So William Henry won the Coral Cup last year for Nicky Henderson. You remember what a finish that was. We're in for some fireworks in running here, I think, lads, aren't we? I think we can say that, and some new octaves certainly will be reached here, Ross. If not by me, then definitely by you.
Do you like these races from a running point of view?
It depends. It depends if my pre-race opinions are kind of being borne out on the track.
I like those races too.
Yeah. Yeah. But suddenly otherwise then you've got too much to readjust. If you've got an 8-9 runner race, you can go, well, it's not working out how I thought, I can kind of change my mind. If you've got a 20-25 runner race, you're kind of thinking, right, well, I've almost got to throw the whole thing out. Sometimes take a step back and take your finger off the button, because then you end up making poor decisions.
Well, last year, William Henry, what price did he hit in running last year, Neil?
He hit 300s in running before going on to win.
Here's our little look right
William
underneath
Henry.
your chaps.
Obviously, on the flip of that, Wicklow Brave was the horse who he ran down later on, so he hit 1.2 in
I mean, that's just been smashed off the boards by Champ, hasn't it? Yeah. The long-time anti-post favourite, a little bit Shishkin light. Wow, again, the stories abound. Nicky Henderson's 2 winners, couldn't get rid of them on the day. They do say, anti-post betting-wise, don't they? The best value now is, of course, on the day.
Well, there's so many offers going around now on the day well, if you're sort of punter that can get on, that they
get these
they
offers.
Are good.
Yeah.
Although they're probably not. I mean,
You've not got a false moustache? I'm
afraid I can't put a false moustache on my Bet365 name.
Let's not go there. Indeed, absolutely. Okay, so listen, selection time. I must admit, I am with Birchdale here, chaps. I am. I wanted the ground to dry out a little bit. I nearly jumped ship when I saw Geraghty on Monday had switched or had gone.
Does that worry you, the fact that
Geraghty
hasn't made that selection?
I think, listen, like Keith has quite succinctly said and quite rightly said, this probably was the Cold Cup horse. But I like Birchdale. The last 2 winners, William Henry and Blueberry had only had the 1 run. There's a stat now with the Coral Cup that you've got to have something like under 3 runs. Or it's the fresh horses coming in. If you remember, they tried to make him into a chaser at Ascot. It's a bit nonsense, that, isn't it? It was just the 1 run. Okay, he's had the 1 run. That's not why I'm pinning my hopes on him. He had form with Brewing Up a Storm, of course, as a novice herder who's won over the course, even though he might have been beat that day. I think the ground is probably key to him. Like the fact that Aidan Coleman's on him. Aidan's running full of confidence after his winning in the Arkle yesterday.
The thing is,
for me, Birchdale just looks very interesting.
It's too much made of the fact that something isn't the first string, especially with McManus. It's not like he's got 5 in this race, 6 maybe. It's not like only one of them's trying.
What was the Potence winner going back? Almost 20 years now. That he did have a throwaway 500 on. Do you remember? It was like the 8th string of his.
Was it the same year that Reveille won the...
Reveille, that's right.
He won
the grind that won
for Fanshawe. And then the same year...
Someone out there tell us what the horse was. But it was a John Joe horse and he came from...
There's some way to Google it.
I'm sure it was the same year as that.
But to solidify your point, it doesn't matter if it's...
Exactly. I mean, the fact that they've gone to the efforts to have a Dame de Compagnie just means that, Geraghty was always likely to choose her in a way. I've not got a... they're all here to have a go because McManus just wants Cheltenham winners.
So that's me, Birchdale. I feel a little bit happier after having a chat with the chaps about that. Ross, outright selection.
We were saying about festival form in the RSA.
Yeah.
Eglantine Du Seuil.
Very good.
Du Seuil. I told you I'd give you some vowels.
Yeah, indeed.
You've got as many as you like there.
There wasn't an octave in there. It was pretty monotone.
Yeah, so I'll save that for when it storms up the hill.
Rachel Blackmore.
Yeah, great booking. Got going, in the dying strides to beat Concertista last year in the Mares Novice, who was beaten out of sight in that Epatante. That race has thrown up winner after winner. Third to Honeysuckle in a Grade 1 next time out, that's thrown up winner after winner. Third to Reserve Tank in a Grade 1 next time out, that's thrown winner after winner. 2 quiet runs in listed Grade 3 events, and then big eye catcher rattling home in a Leopardstown handicap hurdle over 2 miles last time out.
Yeah.
This horse, this horse is a Grade 1 horse, and is this a Grade 1 horse in a handicap? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Pardon my ignorance, is it been mares races are graded form?
Yes.
Is it? Okay. She's off 149 here, isn't she?
Do you remember when she won the Mares last year? Talking about William Henry types, she came from under
nowhere.
Melrose, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
150
She came
in
from
running.
absolutely nowhere.
How many?
Got up
150. In
150.
running, no, sorry, 150 BSP. I think she maybe.
I was going to say she was 50 to 1. Yeah.
About
she was
100,
on 50s,
I think it was
yeah.
150 in running, and about 90 was at BSP.
Oh, it
something
just
like
shows you, doesn't it, what you can get if you're playing the game on the exchange and running. Keith Melrose, selection.
You could pick 6, couldn't you? But the one, if you
All the McManus horses.
all of the
Don't show the McManus one.
All of a sudden we're in France and we're coupling runners.
all through. We're not coupling any runners, but the one that. Well, there is a French bred that I'm going to go. I'm going for Franco Deport. He's just got the look of a horse that they ran in a graded race to make sure his mark was high enough to get in the Coral Cup. One of those sort of ones, and he was patently too short for in the 2 miles last time. Just looks like a horse that could be better than a handicapper. And if you're only picking one in the Coral Cup, you might as well pick one like that.
Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. So again, we're seeing some heavyweights here, aren't we? We're not going for a massive shot. He's been nibbled at, hasn't he, throughout this anti-post
Yeah, he was.
process?
I missed. I think it was about 14s or 16s going last night. I've missed all that. I got about 11s.
Okay, Dave, last 5-year-old to win the Coral Cup.
Oh, crumbs. I hate you knowing the answer to this.
I've literally just looked on the screen.
Good question. Oh, gosh, was it Edward O'Grady's?
No.
See the Sky, was that, or whatever that was called? Do you remember?
No.
That
What
was
age-
a 5-year-old.
What age was
that
Blueberry?
correct?
Someone has done that since.
No, yeah, it was 5 years ago? 5 years ago. Same ownership. They've got one today. Same connections. They've got one in the race.
It's right on the... Go on, just put me out of my
Same
misery.
ownership. Petit Swan.
Petit
Yeah,
Swan,
yeah, Protector, yeah.
Wow.
Hales horse.
That was really well planned. I mean, if you did the preview night circuit, obviously gets a
That
lot
was the
of
right
jet.
talking horse.
But
wasn't
yeah,
it?
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember Jamie Lynch, who I used to work with, was at one with, I think it was Nick Schofield, and they were out having a fag break. And so, what about this Petit Swan then, Nick? And he just muttered under his bed, "It's an effing certainty."
Oh, really? Is that
yeah,
right?
the Nichols horse, the Nichols yard really fancied that.
We'll come back to Protectorate for Team Skelton. First, though, Neil Hubbard, complete the team selections.
Yeah, so I agree sort of with Ross to an extent that Eglantine Du Seuil is on the shortlist along with Top Moon, but I'm actually going right to the bottom of the market here almost with
Love this.
Backerson, the chaser turned
Class
coming back
horse.
to hurdler. So he's got that, the back class is there to see. He ran pretty well back from a year off behind Cracking Spirit, I think it was, in the Boyne hurdle. He gets a pull in the weights with him. I mean, Mullins likes to throw some of these oldies at these big handicaps. We mentioned that Wicklow Brave was second in this last year. I think Arctic Fire in a county has probably been there or thereabouts.
won it after a year off, didn't
Yeah,
they?
and so I
Don't
just
go
think
there.
like Backerson is 50s on the machine, so I'm quite happy to have a few quid on him. But I definitely agree with Eglantine Du Seuil, and I think Top Moon's really interesting. He had his prep round Leopardstown over 2 miles last time, but Joseph O'Brien was saying in his Betfair blog that inside track at Leopardstown is really sharp for him. So now stepping back up in trip, might see a better run with him. But I'll stick with Backerson. But I have full disclosure, I have back 3.
No one going for the Fav then, it should be said, and unlike the previous race where we all had some similar selections, or certainly, there was a consensus, not much help. Can Paul Keeley help us more? Let's check out the diary room.
Nicky Henderson has won 3 of the last 10 runnings of the Coral Cup, which is quite a feat given there's around 25 runners in it each time. He won the race last year with William Henry, and I think he's got 2 good chances this year with Damned Company and Burrows Edge. Damned Company won a mare's race in December by an easy 4.5 lengths and went up £8. The handicapper then put her up another £2 after the runner-up won a mare's race at Warwick. The JP McManus camp were not having that though, and they appealed against that decision to put her up, and they won, and the £2 has come back off. The fact that they bothered to appeal over a measly £2 suggests they give her a big chance, and you've got to consider her. Burrows Edge won the Lanzarote hurdle at Kempton last time, and while some seem to think he was lucky, he did finish very, very strongly, and he may well have won anyway. Thing about him is he's got cheek pieces this time. They might sharpen him up early. There's no doubt whatsoever that he is going to finish the race very, very strongly. Those are two big, big runners for Nicky Henderson, and I think one of them is likely to prove the winner.
Paul Keeley then is having a decent festival. Perhaps unsurprisingly to some, and he's gone for almost a forecast there for the Henderson team. Burrows Edge, the headgear on for Burrows Edge is interesting. He was back over hurdles, as Kill said there. He didn't look like he was going to any stage, but he was strong at the line. Is he creeping in at the bottom of the handicap?
What I would say to you, Dave, is just he's interesting is just taking his red in the Coral Cup, isn't it? So you don't need to say he's interesting at the start because all these horses are interesting. You could put up. I mean, Fagan at the bottom is chucked in on his old form, and there's every horse.
Gordon Elliott, yeah,
every horse you pick out of here, you could, because it was the same colours as Simon Sig, wasn't it, in the old days? You could just. All these horses are interesting.
Another one who's been around in county hurdles and stuff
like
that.
He won the Scottish champion one year, possibly,
I think so, yeah.
Or the Swinton one of those.
One
of those. And Burrows Edge, obviously, he's coming in off that win at Kempton as well. He was a bit fortunate, but in most handicaps, that horse is right up there, isn't it? Because of its form last time, and the cheek pieces are the sort of thing that will help that horse, given how he went through that race. So, you could probably go through these in turn, and I could count on this hand amount. I'd say nah.
Well, I mean, there's the Cocoa Beach was second.
Nah.
There's some more vowels. You wanted some more vowels?
Nah.
We're all getting them in.
Yeah, fair enough.
Many vowels as you want, and nah as well,
Yeah, just keep going, yeah.
Especially you're from Yorkshire, so you'll know. You can make vowels last for 3 days in Yorkshire.
Yeah. Usually you just chop them off. You save them for one word.
Oh, is that right?
Just get them off the
hoarding vowels.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
a special occasion.
On the nah side of things, which is horses you just can't have. Which, I mean, we're all against
we're not doing this.
This is asking for trouble.
I'm not doing this.
Oh, yeah, right.
We
okay.
Well, traffic fluid after that
on
Ascot
camera.
run.
Well, yeah, I did say traffic fluid that. I mean, the thing is, he came to win, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he would have been flattered, but he was going to run to what's 11 stone? That's about 142. He was definitely going to run higher than 142. So yeah, he's not a nah, even though I don't fancy him.
But I guess it's less the form book, as you've sort of touched on there, and more like the physical side of that Ascot race.
And he might be a horse that suits a big field handicap because he's a bit of a free goer, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's got a bit about him like that. So even he is not a nah.
They're going down to the start of the Coral Cup, and from what we can see here in the studio, it's a pleasant day down there. Pleasant day to be on planet Earth, isn't it? Despite everything else that's going on, here we are loving the festival. 2 races down. My goodness me, Envoi Allen, the Irish banker, goes in. Champ, 4-1. That was a surprise a couple of months ago. That would have been a monster price, wouldn't it? One of the most dramatic RSAs we can remember. And here we are with the Coral Cup. Gets easier, doesn't it? Let's put it that way. But here we are to help you. Let's hope you're enjoying the show. Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange.
It's not even more dramatic than the last RSA Nicky Henderson one.
It's something about Envoi Allen. The narratives this week are really building up, aren't they? Come on, if you're Team Mullins and Team Tizard, I mean,
keep going about this. Got a young commission.
But no, listen. This is the story of the festival. I love these. One day Willie has a good day. Gordon doesn't have a good day. Top trainer. All these stories of jockeys.
Willie Mullins could have a 1, 2, 3 in this race, and you wouldn't be at all surprised.
As long as it's Backerson.
Nobody's even mentioned the Pressbury Cup yet, have they?
Well, we had Canardier.
Oh yeah,
Canardier was the big eye catcher from last year in this race. That was the one who went all the way down the inside when everything came down the outside. You fancy Franco de Port, you fancy Backerson, I fancy Defi Du Seuil. So that's 4 Willie Mullins horses. There's Black Tears, who's also got decent form as well.
So
that's Elliott.
Sorry? It is, yeah.
Sometimes it does happen when you least expect it,
Canardier has not been mentioned. I mean, this is Mullins' first time, having shaped really well in the race last year.
Yeah, are we expecting Canardier to be going short at some point? He's a strong traveller, isn't he?
Yeah, he's only going to travel stronger from Mullins, you'd have thought.
It's a strong angle, isn't it? Some of these, especially in Ireland throughout the winter, you see these horses, they've got zero form for another trainer. They go to Mullins. And his son Patrick, on What a Shout, when we had him in the studio here at Racing Post House, said that Willie prefers to plot up a 6-year-old mare for something at Tremor in a bumper in 2 years' time than he does about these graded races and the horses that he inherits. That's where he really gets his kicks these days.
It's easy to put a 160 horse in a handicap of 135 to win a race, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, let's see what you fancy out there on social. We know you're watching. Thanks very much. Racing Post Live, be it Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are. And Bob D comes into the show. I have Dame de Compagnie, but I do love a favourite most of the time. No idea what you're talking about there. No, I did get labelled a little bit for that. I will remind you that Honeysuckle was one of my backs yesterday against the hot pot of the entire festival. But yeah, okay. So a bit of love out there for Dame de Compagnie, guys. What price are we solidifying at the top of the market?
Yeah, 5-1, so 6.0 in the machine. Canardier next in, 9.6. Champagne Well, 11.5. Just lots of money for lots of horses, really. But Dame de Compagnie is really solid.
Not helping,
at the
Neil.
top of the market.
Not helping.
Well, you know one person who's backing in a ring, don't you?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
Here's an interesting horse. Two horses we haven't really talked about. We touched on Protectorat, and those days are gone. Tom Segal's put this up. Price-wise, extraordinaire. Tom also had a good day yesterday. Those days are gone, Keith. Charles Burns. He's definitely the canniest trainer I've ever come across. Charles Burns, first thing to say, and. Has this horse got any semblance of a really sort of like Charles? Would you expect him to be a bit shorter if they were on?
The thing is, I don't think people like that influence the market when you come to Cheltenham. Like Charles Burns, obviously, his people influence the markets in these smaller races. But come Cheltenham, there's no one punter. Even McManus wouldn't move a market to that extent.
Well, okay, let's go back to Xenophon then and Tony Martin, a Charles Burns-ish type character. Tony, that was one of the. I was there that day, 2003. Mickey Fitz was told just don't fall off. And it will win. Of course, Xenophon came and took the Cold Cup like it was, knife through butter. And that was one market where connections just totally told everyone. Everyone believed it was all there on paper. And this horse comes in with the one next to his name. He's fresh. He's a 7-year-old. Kevin Broder. He's got a big future ahead of him. Kevin is a rider in Ireland. I don't know. I thought he'd be a bit shorter, personally.
Yeah, probably, you're possibly right. It might be stamina with him, isn't it? It was a lot shorter last time, and he's not got all that much form over the trip. Wasn't it the race Eglinton Du Seuil?
Yes, yeah. And he did. I mean, they did. He did get going very, very late, so it was definitely one of those visual things where you think, "Oh, step that up in trip," and it'll relish it. And it has run a decent race over further, so there is.
Was that the old Pierce that you won, the Ladbroke or whatever it's called?
Was it the old Ladbroke?
It
yes.
was on that. Yeah, okay, all right. So, and again, horses that win that have got a mixed record actually at the festival.
It's the horses in behind you want to be looking at, isn't it?
Well, usually the ones that finish, Josiah de Burleys and the Potemps and things like that.
Well, that was another one last year where everybody was on, wasn't it? Everybody knew about that one.
Great shout. So listen, it can happen, but of course the way the markets have become more modern over the years.
And we're getting to near enough joint favourites now. Dame de Compagnie's on the drift out to 7.4 now, with Canardier, who's coming into 8 now. And a little bit of money, a little bit of late money for Birchdale as well, Dave.
Oh, happy days. That's my 6-year-old. Come on, Colvin, double, please.
7.2, 7.8 at the top of the market now between Dame
now,
de
lads,
Compagnie and Canardier.
through this, listen, I might, I can talk a bit. I've got a bit of volume about me. Keith actually said when we were coming in, my wife said, it's a great exercise for you this week, Dave. Listen to people. Don't jump in on top of people. Keith said, are you like this at home? And I showed my son the highlights reel for the first day, and he just thought it was a normal day at home. So, yeah, I'm a tad like this. Is not what what you see is what you get to a certain extent. But I want you all to come on. This is the Coral Cup, boys.
You want us to compete with you?
No, there's no competition going here, Ross. Usually, there's a reason why I've never been asked to write a column in the Racing Post.
I tell you, if you go in at that pitch, I'll go under, or maybe a bit higher. We can get.
I'm going to do barbershop. Do barbershop.
Yeah.
Barbershop style.
Birchdale. There you go. Be lovely.
You never thought you were going to get barbershop in it. Part of the Queen's horse, of course, Nicky Henderson. He was a hell of a horse on the old barbershop.
He just tried his short, and he'd have been an in-running punter's pal, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I love a barbershop. Maybe we can work on that.
Would have been the same era as What a Friend as well.
What a Friend was a bit then, wasn't it?
He's another name because high head carriage always looked like. Well, he's a good horse. There's nothing wrong with him either. But yeah,
he's not listening.
Let's bring it back, boys. Let's bring it back. We're talking about barbershops just before the start of the Coral Cup. It's all gone. It's all gone Pete's on. But hey, they're coming into the start now, lads.
Are we going to be your spotters?
Are we
going to be your spotters?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right. Here I am. I'm Ian Bartlett. I'm starting to call the Grand National.
Watch out for them.
I need spotters. Are we going to see a standing start here, guys?
No, surely.
No,
there he goes.
It is a standing start.
It's his big moment. It's a starter's big moment.
Well done, everyone.
Keith, a starter's big moment. Here I am,
everyone.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Oh, it's not. It's worse
There was
than
one.
that, isn't it?
What was it? Was it the Ultima yesterday that he should have let go for Defi?
We had, I think
Yeah,
it was the
it
first
was
3
that,
races,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the other two you could see, like Notebook was going loopy. But
Yeah,
come the Ultima,
not
I
so
think the
sleepy.
Ultima lazy
the
old
one,
3
yeah.
milers, they weren't going anywhere.
So we've got a standing start in the Cold Cup. Okay, so listen,
go,
who's this going to really? If you're on one now, lads, who are you worried about here? It's
Probably one that wants to
back.
Is there anyone that wants to make to
I mean,
lead?
Eglinton's
Usually
right
they
out the back for Ross. Is anyone going to make the pace? And they're all just about off.
Need to watch that because they won't go end to end in a race like this.
Chesterfield and one either Cracking Smart or
It's
Krakow
Cracking
Beach.
Smart.
Cracking Smart's not really broken with much.
Cracking Smart then. So, Neil, has that affected anyone? Are there any spikes already?
Not at the head of the market for sure. No, not really.
Top Moon and
Alpha
Mix are up there. Gavin Cromwell, Genius Trainer, Champagne Well. I should say that Paddy Brennan's not riding today. Paddy, we're hoping back
how long
on
do you spend learning
Thursday
jockey caps?
and Friday.
Yeah, it's the living nightmare, isn't it? 4 McManus horses jump in the last, and I'm trying to remember which one's the
Burrows
blue
Edge
colour.
is right up there. Good sit for Black Tears. David Jennings put this up at a massive price. I want to shout a couple of
The one
months ago, I
McManus horse we
remember.
haven't mentioned, Kilfenor, the top weights going widest of all, giving the outside to no one. Bacchuson's out the back.
Stratum's out
out the back.
We've not talked about Stratum, have we?
Well, you assume that if Tony Bloom owns it, there's a plot, don't you?
Well, yeah, but this is also can win a Cesarewitch, isn't it? You know, he's a classy animal.
Yeah.
Just whether he's not quite shown it over hurdles yet, but it's Willie Mullins. Anything can happen.
I mean, again, they don't seem to be going in
not.
a crazy pace again. We were talking about Super Sundays at Coral Cup, where the first 4 home were in the first 5 or 6 throughout, and they're setting a reasonable gallop here.
Okay, let's have a look for some of the main players then through the race. Damn to Company, I just caught the top of Barry Geraghty's head.
It's just lost about 4 or 5 positions there.
What? So Neil, Damn to Company and running, not at all.
No, still the same price. Still the same price.
All right, okay, right, come on then, lads, come on. This is where
Frank-
we go.
Franco de Port's had a bit of a pull.
Franco de Port for Keith Melrose, betting at the racing post, has had his absolutes on this, you can tell. And he's a bit keen, isn't he?
He's a bit keen, yeah. I've not had my absolutes on this.
No, you believe that?
You couldn't, I would not. It's the last race I'd have my absolutes on, I think.
Is that right? Okay, all right.
Coral Cup, yeah, absolutely. Look how hard it is. We talked about that.
I don't know. Listen,
They've definitely steadied this up, by the way.
Even if someone gave you a
people would be-
certainty in a cigarette break, you wouldn't have your absolutes on it.
I think that there are some hefty bets that have gone down on Down to Company for no doubt.
Well, you definitely have.
The bigger the field, the bigger the certainty. Ding ding, cliche bingo again.
absolutely.
Okay, so let's have a look. I'll tell you one that's catching my eye. Cocoa Beach, Gordon Elliott. First time cheap pieces. Plenty of experience. This or just a 5-year-old.
Grey horse buried in the field.
Yeah, those days are gone and buried in the middle as well. Eglinton's made a few places. Franco's down the inside. Black Tears between that. Honest Vic's quite prominent. Burrows Edge is more prominent.
Is that Birchdale widest of all?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Is he in the?
Birchdale's
He's in
yeah,
the,
it's a quarter
he's in the
cap.
tricky cap, isn't he?
Yeah, he's. I think he's going widest of all and 3 from the back, which is not where you want to be, probably.
Well, so again, this is the weird thing about the festival so far this year. The hurdles track used to be, we were talking about Paddy Brennan. He's the master of coming down this near side rail and going as wide as possible, and it hasn't necessarily worked out like that so far.
In the deep midwinter meetings at Cheltenham, on the old course especially, they often come down. The November meeting, they'll sometimes come down the hill on that far side, won't they? When the ground gets quite testing.
They're all jumping okay
be
so far, chaps, aren't they?
And they always do fresh ground for the festival as well, which is something.
You've got to think that they are very conscious, the jocks here, lads, of the ground, because they're just. I mean, we mentioned it briefly on the show. They don't always go hell for leather in this race, but they're tightly bunched, aren't they?
Well, I mean, the horses are going to come home absolutely legless if they do go hell for leather in the conditions. Cracking Smart, that was one of the great jump by Burrows Edge either.
Canardi's mid-division there wasn't...
Damn de Compion's got a perfect sit there, surrounded by horses
She's
in a
like
bubble.
the standout on the exchange as well at the minute in terms of
those days are gone.
favouritism.
If I'd have followed Tom Segal in at the moment, I'd be very happy with his position on the Kevin Broder. Good jump from him there as well. They're all jumping okay. A couple are starting to fit it now, but they're rags, I think, from what we can see. Where would you want to be now at the minute, Keith, having looked at the run of race?
Well, I'd probably want to be where Dame de Compagnie is, or maybe slightly forward of it. She's
Eglinton's
about
got nice.
7th, 8th. just towards the head of the main pack, because you've got the two McManus horses out front, and Dickie's lifting it on his Vic. Dickie's decided he wants a bit of this pace, and has
They're
gone.
starting to rev it up now, guys. We're coming to this tricky third last in the Coral Cup.
Load still travelling down the
Protectorat's
company.
coming wide as well. Where's Canardier's buried away? I mean, there's loads in with a chance here. This is
Bashason's come near side with Franco Deport and Stratham.
We are potentially going to break the microphones here, lads. This is going to be a serious finish. Protectorate is absolutely cruising on the wide outside for Harry
Birchdale
Skelton
is as well. Your
and Dan
Birchdale's
Skelton.
Gone.
Let's have a look where Barry
well.
Geraghty is.
Basically
He's
pulled up,
holding
innit?
double
Yeah.
again. This is all. Here we come to the second last.
Black tears in
The pacemakers are
Yes,
still
it
there.
is.
Who's going to lead? It's just about Alpha
Davey.
Mix. There's a bit of carnage in behind. We've
Chesterfield.
lost a couple.
Chesterfield's
Chesterfield's
edge.
gone.
Dame de Compiègne is absolutely
Burrow's edge
swinging
coming off
it.
the bridle. Dame de Compagnie. Could this be McManus? And could it be favourites again? Barry Geraghty doing exactly what he did on Epatante yesterday. Who's
Davey,
going to pick
Black
up in front?
Tears.
Black
You'll be
Tears
surprised
is
if- you'll be
cruising.
surprised
Those
if
days
Russell's
are gone, going
confident.
for the inside. Come on, boys, call it.
Well, Dame de Compiègne's got
She
the best
finds.
position.
Yeah,
This
she
near
finds,
side
she
is the
wins.
best
Favourite
position.
takes it up at the last. Will she get up the
Canadia's
hill?
down.
Black Tears
Canadia's
is there.
down.
Those days are gone. Swooping to the inside. Oh, is it going to be
Down the
McManus?
cup.
Let's have a look.
It's one
McManus
of-
is going to
she's
put it
got up,
out
she's getting
again.
up. She's getting up.
I don't believe it. The fancy post favourite has gone. Barry Geraghty, take a bow. Dame de Compagnie beats Black Tears. Those days are gone in third. It looked like Honest Vic, to my eyes, might just have got fourth. We thought we were going to see 100 in with a chance 2 out. The cream rose to the top there. Gamble landed. £2. Would it have made the difference?
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I don't think it would. I think she'd have won regardless. But it'd have been tighter, certainly. But there's no question that horse is miles better than 140.
Wow.
But don't worry, it was very harsh 142.
Yes, it was.
You really shouldn't have raised that 2 more pounds.
She went
Naughty
through that
that,
race
absolutely.
like a
That was-
graded performer, didn't she?
That was very naughty, Mr. Mueller, don't you
Absolutely,
think?
that little bag of sugar would have made all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
But can we, I mean, regardless of the fact that this is a 5-1 favourite, the gamble, the weights and everything, we said that of all the things, Barry had the perfect position. You can be on whatever you like, but if you're in a poor position, you're going to struggle. And he had that bubble in between the front runners. and he got
Absolutely. See, about
the
5
sunshine.
years ago,
He is
Geraghty was-
mustard, isn't he?
when he was at his very, very best, just before he got the McManus job, he was absolutely brilliant at finding that position.
Yeah, yeah.
When he won the stairs on More of That, that was
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
He was,
Genius ride.
and there was another ride that same festival. He's just great at being in the right position all the way through these big races. He was really, really good at it, and he's done it again there.
Let's talk about also the first 2 home, both mares. Here come the girls. It's remarkable on the flat and over jumps as well.
It's a news story, that. It doesn't matter to us, does it?
But it's 2 mares winning the races. They're absolutely cleaning up. Everyone's suggesting that we shouldn't have these mares racing at the festival. They're going into the handicaps. They're going into the Arkle. It's all over the place. I mean, okay, how many races have we had so far? And what, 5 have now been won? 4 but won by mares?
I was saying, how is Cracking Smart finished fourth?
That's a massive run.
That's a big run.
Shout.
So is that Tiger Rolls form, Frank? Or are we not going to stretch it to that?
Of course, my goodness gracious me, champion chase to come. But that was, I think...
But the mares race, because now there's a bigger programme, people are sending better horses for it because there's more cash and more races to be won. Therefore, the actual quality of the mares races are going to get better.
I think either of those would struggle to have landed a blow against Honeysuckle and Benny de Jure. Well, certainly Black Tears, but I mean, a Dame de Compagnie's actually getting £4 from her. So listen, I think that's a massive story there. I think that the BHA appeal with the £2.
Yeah, that is a big. I mean, it probably wouldn't have mattered if she'd won by a short head. You'd be saying, "Oh, well, that's the big deal." But
Now, there's a story of the race as well with the pace because I think Honest Vic was 4th. Let's have a look on the screen.
We've got Cracking Smart.
No, Cracking Smart was
Honest Vic was
4th.
5th.
Let's have a look. We're getting it up. Oh yeah, okay. Cracking Smart was there. I think Honest Vic ran well there.
30, like, is that a 30-1? Is that an SP now?
11-2 Dame de Compagnie. Black Tears, who we remember on What a Shout. If you remember, Dave Jennings gave that a massive shout. It came on good for him at 20-1. 11-1. Those days are gone. Tom Segal's pick has hit the frame. Loads of punters would have been on that.
But
And
you're
Cracking Smart.
Well, you're right about the pace because if you look, Black Tears, Dame de Compiègne, and Those Days Are Gone are in the bubble. They are in that space between the front runners. Honest Vic is on the heels.
In the bubble.
In the bubble. There you go. That's
Another one.
Just
another
avoided in the van there, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
What's your
what
one
gonna
for
watch
in the
down in the
van?
front?
You've got to see
in the catbird seat.
The
There you
catbird seat, the US euphemism coming in here. Ross has got them all. So look, it was a strange race to watch, wasn't it?
But what's coming down the hill here? I think the ones that go up the inside, you're just dead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we were saying
Yeah,
that
it's
last year was
watching them
exactly
because
the
you've
same.
got Franco Deport's going there, Stratham's going there, Bachston's going there, Eglantine Du Seuil's going there. Let's see how they all fare down that hill.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it was like a nest of vipers.
And you can see here, Black Tears actually was on the inside, makes a specific move to get off that
Nest
rail.
of vipers. I'll tell you what, today's show, we're pulling them out, aren't we? That's
Only
absolutely
one
fantastic.
Simpsons
First
reference. I'm
Copperhead,
disappointed.
no vipers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't like snakes.
Well, you've got to know your enemy, Neil. You've got to.
Right at the race, you've got to say some cracking smart, haven't you? How
So look,
close
Traffic
were you,
Fluid's got up the inside initially and he's floundering.
And Cracky Smart's switched to
He
the
is,
inside as
he
well.
is actually. Eglantine Du
How
Seuil,
the hell
how
has
does she
that
got
gone?
on?
We're just looking at the VT now of 2 out.
Well, Backerson sort of
Oh, no,
follows
it's cra-
Cracking Smart a little bit.
What's that against
That was
White
Coco Beach that went
gets
all
wiped
the
out.
way across runners and took a few out.
Chesterfield out.
Franco de Paul, let's talk about him quickly.
Must
Too
be
keen?
It's probably burst or something, isn't it? Look,
Jeez,
it's something's gone amiss there.
He's fallen in a hole, hasn't he?
Yeah, something's gone amiss.
Protectorate. He looked like he had a lot to offer, didn't he? Too wide?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You want to challenge wide, but if you race continuously wide, you're giving up energy.
Canardier's had every chance. Eglantine Du Seuil didn't see it out.
Probably not, no.
Bashasson, Neil.
Yeah, come 5th or 6th, I think, in the end.
He had quite a bit to do, didn't
Yeah,
he?
he
Really?
was
He's
too
he's
far
one of
back.
those horses up the inside as well, wasn't he? As was Cracking Smart.
I mean, he
Yeah,
looks
I
like,
mean-
he runs like a chaser, doesn't he?
Yeah, I just think like if you're getting involved with horses at 55, 60, 65, whatever he was, then to run on to be 6th like that, I mean, like you've got a decent enough. He was well out the back, but I mean, you can't really ask for much more.
Barry
really.
Geraghty is having some festival now, and JP McManus, it was his birthday yesterday. We know this is the week that he
Another
gets
one to have,
gets back into the country for, we should say, rather than get out of bed for. But they're having, and Henderson as well. They are the hot team at the minute.
He's past it though, Barry, and he's past it. You know,
Ah,
it's nice.
yeah, right. Okay, he always picks up an injury every year, doesn't he? Everyone's a bit like, oh, is he coming back similar? But Barry Geraghty's been riding at Cheltenham Festival since I've been writing about it. So, and he was usually top rider back there. So you've really got a doffy cap, haven't you, big time to Barry. And once again, we've seen him at McManus horse. He came. That was a typical Geraghty ride in that he waited until he asked for everything at the last. He got the right jump, presented it perfectly. Came nearest the stand side so far this week.
We haven't seen it, but that's where you want. That's always where you want to be in these races. So the fact that everyone else didn't make that decision, it's almost as if they've been looking at the races so far this week, and Barry's gone, well, I know exactly where you want to be.
Neil Hubbard. Let's talk about the market.
Yeah, I
and the
mean,
exchange.
I think we've sort of touched on it a little bit in terms of how Barry had his mount in the perfect position throughout, and he didn't go bigger than 12.5 throughout the whole race, and that was only for like £7. So he was basically single figures throughout.
Who was that?
Oh yeah, she's not doing very well. She's not travelling very well here. Pink.
Well, you say that, but 3 out. They're abreast, aren't they? Pretty much. So someone's got to come on.
Black Tears
This is
hit
gonna get some.
2.2. She hit 2.2 and Alpha Mix 6, but that was about it. But it was just interesting that, like, we were all saying during the race, we think Barry's got her in a nice position. She's nice and prominent. She's travelling okay. She's jumping fine, and that was pretty much reflected in the market with the fact that she never really got into double figures except for very small money.
What will the Coral Cup be remembered for then? The £2.
You've got to see, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been used because that handicap and appeals process thing has been sort of. It's one of these things that makes page 10 of the Racing Post sometimes, but it's now it's decided, not decided, but it's had a real impact on a Cheltenham Festival handicap now. So it might
Could there be a shake up there?
It could be. People could decide it's something to be used.
So we're going to see more of it.
I think we might do. Yeah, I mean, most of them have got through so far.
Yeah, that's the thing,
that's
isn't it? There's plenty of incentive for you to have a go because
Yeah.
of the strike rate of people who are successful.
Absolutely, there is. People are going to think that's a good way to go through it. I've only sat on one of them and it got through, although I actually argued against it going through.
Let's have a little look at social. We've got some more social media questions coming in. YouTube, Facebook live pages, Twitter, wherever you're watching. We're glad to have you on. And Carey Skates comes on. I tell you what, one of these names is going to catch me out one day. I'm pretty sure.
That's an anagram.
It's got to be, isn't it? I'm looking at Carey Skates and thinking, what am I missing here? I'm relying on you, Dan and Rob, not to stitch me up. We don't want any Suffolk and goods in this house, do we, at all? Now, those days are gone. Ran a blinder. If he'd stayed on the stand side, I assume you mean, would he have been much closer, probably without winning? He did. Kevin Broder made a precise move to duck to the inside, didn't he? How do we feel about that?
Well, it is, but you've got Barry Geraghty versus a claimer. I mean, of course, they're going to make slightly inexperienced decisions in the heat of the moment. It's muscle memory for Barry, isn't it?
The Broder brothers, we should say, there's a lot of promise for them. And Gav Broder, his brother, was on Cracking Smart. I thought it was an outstanding ride. Watch that back in defeat, considering you're talking about a £7 claimer here in a Cold Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a standing start.
Standing start. That's
on
the thing,
on a
isn't it?
horse that's beaten Tiger Roll last time. So class animal. He looks like he's back Cracking Smart. I think we can say that.
I think it's really easy to panic in that scenario. Like, you're riding for a big stable, for big owners, and you're coming into it off the back of a win, regardless of what connections actually fought the chances. And from a standing start, you're sort of a length detached off the back of a 30-runner race. It takes,
It didn't panic either.
No,
did it?
that's what I
No.
mean. It takes a lot of maturity to just sort of like take your time in that scenario.
Absolutely. What's he riding in the Martin Pipe?
That is a great shout. That's on the Friday, of course, the concluding race of the meeting. Wow, we'll get that. He's bound to have a ride in it, I'm pretty sure. And he probably for Jigginstown. Jigginstown try and snap up these leading lads.
And they often point a future 3 mile chaser at the Martin Pipe as well, don't they? So wait to work them up. Sardé Champ.
Sardé Champ is the classic, of course,
Don
on that front.
Foley did win it as well.
Don
Yeah.
Foley won it.
Didn't Delta work as well? Was it?
Bobsworth?
Yeah.
No, that was Albert Bartlett. I'm talking absolute madness.
Was it Pertemps? Was it? Yeah.
Okay, let's take a pause for a little bit of breath here, chaps.
He's on Every Breath You Take. Good time.
Every breath I take is reflecting on how today's not going my way, really, so far. I have to say that. I got the wrong McManus horse. We'll talk about the stories of our punting now, if you don't mind. Birchdale, although, Champ. Let's not go there. Manila Endo. So crossbar for me very much. And the big breakaway, one of my each way punts of the week comes fourth. So
I was going to say, it does show how badly Sporting John ran, given all the other McManus horses since then.
we'll see if we can pick up some quotes about the also rans as well, because there's going to be stories about them, aren't there? Philip Hobbs, let's just have a little mention about him. He's feeling a bit of heat potentially after Sporting John. Defi Du Seuil coming up. This is it's a big bit. Okay, that's my story of day two so far from a personal perspective. Ross Brierley, are we winning in running? Are we?
Yeah. I said that race has just tipped me in front because the horse was in such a good position.
You were with it.
I could hear the
Is that why you've not broken my scale yet? Because you're just like,
I'm too.
not
This is the thing.
saying anything.
It's impossible for me to switch my brain out of that mode, out of the laser focused on the market versus the race. So, I mean, if I had a real win, I might hit the ceiling. But
That's so far
chipping away.
you've only maggoted so
Exactly.
far.
Yeah.
Keith,
Yes, not gone terribly. Although I had backed down the company anti-post, but on the day it's not been great.
okay. Well, listen, Neil Hubbard, come on.
We were talking beforehand about that anti-post double that I found, which was
Go on, tell us.
which was down to company for the Coral Cup, so tick in that box. With put the kettle on, but for the novice handicap chase, not for the Arkle.
Listen, the perils. We're going to talk about some anti-post steps that have gone down actually coming up in the next race. Right, so are we happy to wipe our noses and move on to the Coral Cup, guys? We are, yeah? Yeah, let's move on, shall we? Graham Rodway, who we had in the studio yesterday for the Trading Post, works with Keith. He was saying it's the worst 3 races start to the festival he's ever had. By the end of the day, he was putting his arms up in the air.
You got Rodway excited. He's like Droopy the dog, isn't
So
he?
this is the first time I'm ever going to say this, but I'm really hoping I'm Rodway right now, actually, because 3 races in, it could all change, can't it? It can all change.
Not even halfway through the week, Dave.
We're not
even halfway.
nowhere near half time, Ross Brierley, absolutely. We've got so much more to go. And it's time for the Champion Chase. Let's have a little look at the markets. Oh, my goodness gracious me. We must not spend too much time talking about the story of this race. But the 3:30, the feature race of the day is the Queen Mother Champion Chase, a race that had already caught up, of course, because on Tuesday, Altior lost his race against time. He had been lame. And then the bombshell, I mean, what's stronger than a bombshell, lads? It was seismic shockwaves throughout Cheltenham. I was getting texts left, right and centre as I came out of Waterloo Station. Shaken, Bonsoir does not run. That was one of my anti-post items. I think I was on 9-2. Not quite like Paul Kidd. He's been banging the drum. What price Defi now?
Yeah, 1.41, so 2 to 5. Predictably, it's how you would think the market would be shaping up, really. Yeah, Politolog, 9.2, not a lot between him and Dynamite Dollars. So Royale 15s and Bundoran 55s. But as you've sort of touched on, a lot of the gloss has sort of been taken off this because it was billed as the race of the meeting coming in.
It's now the worst race of the meeting,
Come on,
potentially,
lads.
isn't
Well,
it?
it's now the Schlur Chase, isn't it? But,
Yeah.
but let's not... Come on, let's
Which
get out of the
Defi
funk
won.
here and let's not talk about horses that aren't running.
Are we absolutely sure that Altior's definitely not going to turn up? I'm still worried that he might.
You think that Hendo might be having something like the week he's having? If
I
he did.
genuinely waited until it came through on the BHA site before I started rewriting all the stuff.
Naughty,
Wait a
naughty,
second.
gentlemen. Naughty, naughty. Okay, so look. Okay. Defi, let's just have a quick price. What would you back Defi at? Price. 2's on would be mine.
I mean, 2's on. You'd be snapping
Two's
your
on?
hand off. Absolutely, I'd be all over it.
Okay, let's go a little bit shorter than that potentially then. What is it at the moment? About 1 3?
Yeah, 2 to 5.
2 to 5. So he's held that, hasn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would back him at 2. Yeah, I'd probably back him at 2's on. But
2's on.
It's not the sort of thing I would normally do, actually. I'm not one sort of person to back short odds, but I look at that race and I think if I run it 300 times, does Defi win at 200? And he probably does.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, and Neil.
Yeah, agreed. Like 2's on's fine, but then like we say, I mean, if he gets out to 4 to 9, we're saying 2's on, yes, 4 to 9, no. I don't know, but I don't think he'll get there.
If you're JP McManus right now, having started the day with Sporting John, not even ever getting anywhere near looking like he was going to get in the frame, you're thinking, is it going to be?
But
one
just
of
coming
those
back to your
ones?
question about Philip Hobbs there, I think with Sporting John, I think he ran like too bad to be true to just think that it's because the stable, there's an issue with the stable. You know what I mean? I just think that, like, if he ran and finished, I don't know, like 4th, and he was a bit disappointing, but seemed to run okay, you're like, oh yeah, that was a bit. But I just think that, like,
On the
he
flip
was
side of
beaten
that,
too
Neil,
early.
But when you talk about these things, about Cheltenham form and all that, nobody ever brings up how these horses run at Stratford on Monday. I was
exactly.
like, I wasn't watching Stratford on Monday. I was too busy prepping Cheltenham stuff. But
Yeah.
it's always
You could have had
Cheltenham's
two
always
winners there.
Cheltenham's like its own ecosystem when it comes to these
Well,
things.
we'll get to the
Exactly.
Boodles handicap a little bit later on, and the gamble of that race, Blacko for Alan King. Alan's 1 from 19. I made the mistake of saying as well the Sky or something like that. Anyway, I went and said Alan's looking like he's having a bit of a worrying time, and of course that day he went and had a 2-timer. There was hat-tricks.
Yeah.
It's temporary, isn't it? But on the flip side of what you're saying there, people were punting out in December after the Tingle Creek and after some of his novices were really turning up. Got Pylon, for example, who emerged out of it, Masters Legacies and others. He's got some really, really, really good novices. Sporting John. Philip Hobbs will have a great festival. That was one of the ones they would have expected to nearly get him on the score sheet. So listen, the pressure's on Philip a little bit, I would say here, more than if Altior and Shackleton were running.
Do you think so?
I do. What if this goes wrong?
I mean, this is the classic case, isn't it? If you're a punter and you've backed, or you haven't backed the Geraghty horses, whatever it is, you think it. The real logic is Geraghty's in great form, but there's always that thing in the back of your mind that goes, well, now something's gonna go wrong on the open goal.
Keith, in today's paper, you wrote a preview of this race. I read it on the way in, and you were saying that a tactical dawdle, if I'm right, would have been totally against Chac and Bonsoir. He's out now. We're expecting. Where's the pace coming? That was your angle.
Well, that's right, yeah. And I mean, I wrote in that Defi Du Seuil quickens his legs like he's chasing the Roadrunner. But this has actually turned into an episode of Stop the Pigeon, hasn't it? All these other
Never
horses.
seen that.
You never seen it?
Never seen Stop the Pigeon.
Stop the pigeon.
Oh,
You think that's the Liam Muttley
Stop
in the
the
flying
Pigeon.
machine?
It's barbershop again.
We're definitely not singing Stop the Pigeon at Barbershop. That is not happening.
Stop the Pigeon.
There's all these horses that, how are you going? You're now thinking, how do I get Defi beat?
Yeah.
Harry Skelton sitting there in the weighing room. How am I getting Defi beat? Harry Cobden. How am I getting Defi beat? And that's the way the race now looks. It's no longer, the big three. What we're going to do about them? It's just I have got one horse to beat. He's got one massive weapon. How do I get rid of it? How do I nullify it?
I'm now thinking about back episodes of Stop the Pigeon, and how did I not remember that? Stop
I was
the
thinking about his
Pigeon.
massive weapon.
Well, if he gets excited in the paddock, we might see it.
Well, okay. All right, so tactics. Bringing it firmly back to the champion chase. Tactics. Bundoran, I thought he might go on. And who was talking to me earlier about Harry Skelton and riding from...
I think I did it off air. I've just got this... Obviously, John Hales, the owner, has horses in the Skelton yard, so it's probably that why he's got Harry Skelton. But I've dreamt up this little theory in my head. Harry Skelton's best off the front. He's a really, really good rider off the front, a very aggressive rider off the front. It's how he wins all those races in the summer. And I just wonder if Politolog is a horse that's got one gear. It's a very high gear. he travels and finds and doesn't do an awful lot.
Yeah.
He was buried by Defi Du Seuil for pace in a crawl and a slur chase. Harry Skelton could go and say, right, I'm going to try and do the fractions on this and try and get that just right because it's my best chance of beating Defi Du Seuil.
He stays further as well.
Well, he does. He's won a Melling chase, hasn't he? So he's got a lot of... Because before last year's champion chase, I didn't fancy him around Cheltenham at all, Politolog, because I thought he was 2-1 paced. But he obviously ran a very, very
Can
good
I add
race
some
there.
weight to that theory?
Sure.
I was with Paul Nicholls last week, and he was really keen to impress on me that Dynamite Dollars could well shake up the top three. And a lot of people would have sort of shut that out. He ran really well on his return in the Game Spirit behind Altior, and he was strongly fancied in some quarters for the Arkle last year.
I was massive on him for the
Of course,
Arkle
he had
last
the
year.
injury. You got the feeling, having listened to Paul, it was all about this race, which makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pressure was off with Altior in the race at Newbury. Could they be trying to set this up a little bit for him?
I mean, it's possibly seen as a side effect of, if Politolog does end up going quite hard and he can't quite do it, they've always got Dynamite Dollars who'll travel off him. He was, bar so royal, he was last off the bridle at Newbury, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
And
It looked like he blew up a little bit.
It did, certainly, even though he crawled round, it looked like he blew up. And
And
with Nicholls, this
to
is
give
always the
the
race,
pace,
so.
political pace angle, Politolog pace angle, some more weight. That took some saying. If you remember, he was nutted only by Min over 2 mile 4, in the Melling a while back, wasn't he? So this
he
could be.
beat-
This
he
is
beat
also
Min, didn't he?
does not want a crawl. Did he beat Min? He beat Min, did he?
He won the Tingle
yeah,
Creek
he did,
and the
didn't he?
Melling chase that year.
It was a very good.
We got
just a
beat
very
by
good
Grace
horse,
Stanley,
wasn't
my
it?
memory.
Yeah, he got humped. He got battered out of sight. But
But we were talking about what price do you back Defi at, but there's a 3-place market now, of course,
Yeah.
with 5 runners, and Politolog is, 1.61 or something? I mean, Politolog 3
Yeah.
places?
Can we?
One from the front?
Can we also talk about the without market? Come on, loads of
Yeah.
people are probably going to be thinking, "Come on, lads, we know, is there any juice in that?" Now, Neil, you requested something on Betfair, didn't you, to come up on this, and you
Yeah.
said that Dynamite Dollars was feeling the most love in that.
Yeah, he's second favourite in it at the moment. Politolog 2.88, 2.86, Dynamite Dollars 2-1, So Royale 3.95, and Bundoran's the outsider at 11.5. There it is on the screen there.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually a really interesting one. Like if you think about the bigger picture of the National Hunt season and how, like we always talk about Nicholls, how he's very good at placing his horses and stuff. He's potentially going to pick up a nice bit of prize money here, for potentially finishing second and third here.
Are we having a team bet here?
We can do. Who do we fancy?
How do we play it though?
I like the we can do coming,
Yeah.
and I like the
As
how
a
do we
collective,
play it.
yeah.
And Ross has got a big smile on his
Well,
face.
this end of the
I think
table is
that-
very much on board with it. So yeah, come on.
Politolog 3 places. I mean, again,
Yes.
the other thing you have to mention for this is the ground. Dynamite Dollars is fairly unproven in the ground, whereas Politolog definitely stays further.
Right, Neil, we're going to zoom in on your laptop.
So
now,
what, 3 to be
magic
placed
television.
on the 1.6, so what's that, like 4 to 6 sort of price on Politolog here?
For the 3 places market.
So that's what we're going for?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
This is-
But the thing, these
Skelton would have to really go over the score to get him out the first 3. I think.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. We've got. I mean,
You're not sounding convinced, Dave. What's the
well,
matter?
listen. I'm not totally throwing Bundoran out of bed here for this.
Really?
No. I have to say, he's my son's favourite horse, Sebastian.
Well, you're compromised, aren't you?
I
This is
am
coming
a
back to
little
yesterday,
bit.
Dave, when you were saying about emotion.
I,
You have to
listen,
emotionally connect
as
to
you
it all.
might have seen this week, I'm a
Yeah.
tad emotional when the races are developing. Bundoran, a couple of years ago, if you remember, at the Open meeting, landed a proper touch.
He won it on the bet, didn't he?
Yeah, I was standing at the last with my son, and Paddy flew him over. And look, what I'm saying is, he could well get a freebie here. He's no mug. He's a proper 155 horse on his day. That's an interesting point. Defi aside, what sort of level are we expect? What sort of RPRs are we looking at here? do you think?
Well, Politolog's got a 170 in him, no question. In fact, he did it last year. I think Dynamite Dollars.
He is 9 now, I guess. So.
He is, yeah, that's true enough. Dynamite Dollars has run to about 164, and he's not run that often. He could definitely improve. He's only 7. The same age as Defi, actually.
We haven't been talking about a lot of stats to this. That's probably because the big 3 aren't in here. But let's see if that can help us. We've got a VT.
So Royale?
Yeah.
Okay, there's your stat pack. Of course, it's a race that Nichols has farmed, isn't it? Or certainly had a lot of success in, maybe not farmed. That's a bit strong. So I want to have a word about Sir Royal. Pushed out the offer a long way in the race last year. Tactical battle might suit him.
You say the race. He does it in every race, doesn't he? And Neil was saying that he's a real sort of in-running player's angle for a lot of races that he runs.
Yeah,
in.
and this could just set up, like, if we're talking about what Keith was saying about Politolog, making it a real test. If we just say, for argument's sake, that he's just going to be ridden, say, normally, and how we would expect from Politolog, well, Bundoran and Dynamite Dollars are probably the normal pace angles that you'd expect in the race. So if Politolog, we have to work on a bit of crystal ball here. If we say that Politolog is also going to go forward again, you can just see this once again setting up for So Royale to sort of travel really strongly. He's been beaten 7 times over fences, and on 7 of those on 4 of those occasions, he traded odds on in running.
Dan, our producer, one of our producers, Rob. He said to me coming in, it's not a bad thing, Shaka not being. I said, well, what do you want about? He's on anti-post each way. He's got the 3 places, still big price about Sir Royale. So
what I would say about
a lot of people will
Politolog,
be looking at Sir Royale.
what I would say about Politolog, there is one person on the exchange. Well, no, I don't know if it's one person, but he has been matched anti-post for this Politolog at 490.
Woo!
Anti-post. So now all of a sudden, with those couple of key non-runners,
He's greened up, hasn't he?
you should be greening up, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
We've got a comment on YouTube. Let's go and have a look. We've got, please don't be another anagram that I can't get. Christopher Turnbull. That's potentially one, isn't it? Chris, good to have you on. Sir Royal, I think, can pull off a shocker here. So, look, that's what I mean. There are some people here that, especially now you see, when's the last time we had 5 runners?
There is an element about.
champion
We've
chase.
had a couple of small fields in recent years, I think. From
What,
maybe
with
not as small
Sprinter?
as maybe not as small as 5, but we've certainly had small fields. So Royal is very much one of these next time lads horses, isn't he?
I reckon he
He's got
could
his
be
own
one
notebook, hasn't
he could be one that we could look to lay in running, to be honest. I mean, he's
Yeah,
trading at around
Actually, that's-
13.5 now. We could probably lay him at 3-1 or something like that.
Let's-
So we don't even have to get that greedy with it, really.
Well, let's get our team bet on it.
I've placed that on the 3 to be.
Okay, because come on, we need
placed
to get Team
Yeah.
Gamble landed here.
I'm
I
gonna-
need picking up.
Then I'm going to hit the ceiling because we're back to 1.6 winner.
Yeah.
But
Hey.
Defi Du Seuil
But it just
quickens up
comes
to
back-
get thirds. We all shout,
yeah, hold on for third.
It just comes back to what
no
you're...
one's looking at Defi. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we?
Yeah,
You know,
I
we were
did
like,
it yesterday. Yeah, I had the-
sometimes you're just watching for place horses in a race. It's horrible. Rouge Biff was Keith's
Yeah,
in the
Rouge
in the
Beef
arc.
and Hold the Note. I didn't enjoy either of those finishes because I was watching
Yeah,
off the screen.
I did the same with Sir Valentino in this race a few years ago,
yes.
just being like, please.
I had to be
please.
trading out the favourites that year as well, because he's that sort of horse, wasn't he? He was
Yeah.
like a lesser So Royal. He used to just travel into races.
I'm
Travel
telling you,
on and clean
Bundoran
run.
is a little bit shorter. Do you know what? I'm just going to have a throwaway
Bundoran.
madness, and I'm sort of doing this as we're speaking. I'm also
Nichols
going
should
to
have had
this.
that. What was that horse? Nichols that won it quite comfortably at Newbury, Golden something. At the Bundoran was second, Pear Clear, Newbury, Hennessy Day.
Golan Fortune?
No. It's a gold colours with a chevron.
Not somatic, not like those somatic
No, it's
colours.
it's not gold present because that's a Henderson horse, but it's
Ross.
those colours.
Ross, you're.
I'm when was this?
Bundoran's form, and it's there. Magic
Keith's having
Saint.
one of
Magic Saint.
Magic Saint
Golden.
is a Marmite or something.
But it's Golden Fortune's
Oh, Golden. Right. Okay. I
colours.
see,
It's
yeah.
those colours.
They're doing the parade now, guys, for the champion chase, so won't take long that, will it? So
They're going around
it's
5
going to be over
times.
before you know it. But okay, I mean, I've just had a tiny. I backed the rag. Would you believe in this? Really tell how my festival second day's going. 2 to 5, Defi Du Seuil, the SP at the moment, so around about 1.44 on the exchanges out there. Looked like Politolog was going to win the second favourite battle, Neil, is that right?
Yeah, he's just nosing ahead, so he's 9, so 8-1. Dynamite Dollars 9.6.
You wanna
So
see him-
Royale
Sorry.
13.5.
You
Sorry, yeah.
want to see how they go down at the start, don't you? You want to see, because given there's only 5, you'll probably see at the start what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And the exchange tends to react to that,
Yeah,
doesn't
they
it?
will
Tend-
do quick.
Yeah, the running guys tend to. Well, you'll know.
Yeah, absolutely. Jump on. It's not my style, but you can definitely see that people are like, this is going to lead, so I'm back into lane. But we were talking about pace overall. We've pretty much covered every possible eventuality in this, but obviously the dress rehearsal for this was yesterday in the Arkle, where the pace very much held up. Put the Kettle on was prominent, Fakir Doudouris was prominent, and everything else was kind of struggling. So you might, the lay and the So Royal travelling well off the pace might well be a good angle.
I And he's got previous as well. You
He
can
does
just
have a
see. You
lot
can
of
just see it
previous,
happening.
He
him
has
being hard.
previous.
We've all got previous.
Well,
Keith.
it's the understatement
all
of
got
that.
previous.
Soro, he's got a bit of previous, for travelling well.
Yes, indeed. So look, I think you're right. We have covered pretty much every angle here, I think. And I don't know.
you've
Once
not-
you
you've
definitely
not
go
spent-
down to the start here on our monitors, we can see this an absolute picture. I think if you're Barry, you just sit, you try and just take a lead, I guess. But it's well known, isn't it? Political. Defi Du Seuil, something else you wrote about this morning, though, I read. He does have that one burst. I think we can associate that with Triumph. He did it. Ascot, he did it recently. Tingle Creek, not so effectively. And of course, when he beat Lost in Translation in the JLT last
That's
year.
almost verbatim what I said, yes.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's not like I'm scribbling around there, but they can tell I've done my homework. But yeah, no, absolutely. But so listen, he just, what's he going to do? Is he going to do like what he's done on Epatante, like Dame de Compagnie, get them to the last and then go?
Well, he's not. If they don't, if Bundoran leads, say, if Politolog doesn't go off in front, and it's I can't imagine Bundoran's going to set a really searching gallop. So that case, Garrity's got choices. Just keep yourself out of trouble and sit off them and let your turn of foot do them. But he does have a decision to make if somebody hairs off and makes it a bit of an end-to-end gallop. He has at least got a choice to make in that case.
He'll be in the bubble. He's going for the bubble.
Let's
Yes,
also
he will
think
go for the
about what we
bubble.
said at the top of the show, make or break day for punters and bookmakers. This will be the third out of 4 favourites, is it? If Defi collects. We will also be talking about a quick fire hat trick for JP McManus and Barry Geraghty. Wow.
I mean, the RSA was also the first 3 in the betting, 1, 2, 3. So all the each ways.
The anti-post favourite won the RSA, if you like.
Yeah.
So look, the bookmakers are really, they're pretty desperate for a result here. They're probably not expecting it, aren't they? Got the Boodles to come, of course.
Tiger Roll to come.
Tiger Roll to come. We've still got Tiger, of course. And in the bump up, Appreciate It, who...
Yeah.
I've got a couple of killer stats about him, which will make you think, can he possibly be beaten? So, what price will he go? So much more to play for in the markets.
Well, the thing if Defi wins, if Tiger Roll wins, Appreciate It's going to go off
Evens?
ridiculously short. It wouldn't be out of the question, would it?
Are we talking like almost Frankie Gold Cup Day factor, isn't it? You know what I mean? With the favourites, the roll-ons and Benny de Jure, of course,
but
last
it's
year.
Willie Mullins, though, isn't it?
That's exactly.
They've got the
Mullins, don't worry
conspiracies
about
are
it.
out.
They've got the bug.
He's just
Willie
bigger than.
Mullins is going to win every race tomorrow and Friday.
Well,
He's just bigger
didn't
than
that
2
actually
to 1
happen
at
one
the
year?
minute.
The year that
Yeah,
we
Yeah,
talked
York Hill won the. And
It
then
was-
Nicholas
it just
Canyon
kicked it
won
off,
the-
yeah.
York Hill's year, we got to halfway. I remember going on Sky on the Wednesday and people were saying the bay's got a bug, there was sort of riding instructions and roll, this sort of thing. And we'd like, it's half time, isn't it? It's so far. And he was nearly, if he wasn't champion trainer, he was very, very close to it.
He even turned over, you know what I mean, Harry, in the Stayers. That was that year as well. When
It was a brilliant ride by Walsh. That he
Yeah.
absolutely nicked it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so there you go. Look,
So
okay,
four Unum Min win tomorrow. Then is that what we're saying?
well, I'm all over Min. Should say that tomorrow. Still keeping the faith with him. So listen, they're milling around at the start. Not often you say that about a champion chase or indeed a feature race at the festival, but they are literally just ambling around the 5 runners. Now we've been talking about the pace angle chaps.
Yeah, Bundoran and Politolog circling at the start together. You get the impression. In fact, it's Bundoran and Politolog at the front. Then Dynamite Dollars, Defi, and Sora at the back.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to set off, isn't it?
That's the picture you would have painted, isn't it?
Basically,
Yes.
is, yeah.
I tell you what, if Bundoran's still in front too, I might.
You didn't
just
spend
get a
long
little
enough
bit excited.
telling me why that horse is going to win a champion chase.
Sorry.
You didn't spend long enough telling us why
Right.
that's going to win a
Well, no,
champion
I
chase.
just think when he gets freewheeling, he loves Cheltenham, and I think that stranger things have happened if Defi Du Seuil doesn't turn up.
And why is he your son's favourite horse?
Because Paddy Brennan chucked the goggles to him afterwards on the way through.
Of course, yeah.
And every jockey that my son now sees is Paddy. And it's Paddy, there's Paddy. Or Bundoran. And it's
he,
great to see Bundoran running in a champion
He
chase.
was second in a Grand Am. Was he?
He was second in the Grand Am.
Yeah.
Was that last year?
Travelled all
He's
over.
been second. He's
Last
been
year.
second in a lot of races.
Tell you what, Keith, pouring scorn. He's 33-1
Well,
shot.
he's
chaps.
he was. I mean, he leads now, so it doesn't matter so much. He was a horse that when it came to a battle, he didn't always enjoy it.
To be fair, there's quite a few Tom George horses who would.
Well, a lot
We
of
can
them
all
really
shirk a
fines.
battle now and then.
But
Right, come on then, lads.
Jonathan
Here we
Burke
go.
is just
Champion
about-
chase time here on Racing Post Live. Let's see what we've got. It looks like pretty much what we were expecting. In fact, if the two take each other on up front, Bundoran and Politolog, we're off and running in the champion chase. Sir Roy a little slowly into stride, but no standing start. Thank goodness. And Bundoran.
Skelton's letting Burke lead, it looks like.
Yeah, let's go over the first fence then. Defi Du Seuil nicely sitting in around about 2 lengths off. Over we go. Everyone over fine as expected. Tell you what, Dynamite Dollars absolutely winged that. And there is a little bit of a duel up front for the lead. Bundoran nicely enthusiastic, and Keith called it quite right. Harry Skelton has been deployed to get on with it.
Yeah, depends a case of when he's going to move on with it, really, how long he'll take, whether they'll wait until they get to that one at the top of the hill or not.
Yeah.
It's
They're going a bit quicker than I was expecting them to.
Well, Dynamite Dollars is we're talking about the bubble. He's got the perfect sit in between the front runners and the.
Barry's wide
I
as
like
well,
that Gareth is just taking no chances there
Yeah.
out wide, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just absolutely none there.
I'm not going to I'm not going to shock anyone with this. He hasn't jumped all that brilliantly so far, Defi Du Seuil. Now he's moving up a little bit, having observed from the rear a little bit. Yeah, he's just, I don't know, he's just skew whiff at a couple, isn't he?
He was stuttering. He was. I mean, Gareth probably letting him pop them a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah, just find his rhythm. Or
A
He's
bit
just
like Epatont in the champion hurdle.
just let them. I mean, he's
fiddled them.
the important part of the race for Defi Du Seuil is not this one. It's the run to the 2 out.
Politolog now goes into a clear lead over Bundoran. Dynamite Dollars stablemate taking that lead. Sir Royale's been a tad sticky, isn't he?
Let's see what Skelton does down this little hill.
Daryl Jacobs just getting a little bit lower in the saddle.
They go downhill to the water, don't they? And it's a place where Walsh tells you not to kick on, because I watched that excellent feature last week.
that was really
Yeah,
good,
It was
wasn't
really
Yeah.
good, but sometimes you can imagine some jockeys might get tempted. It looks
On the
like he's-
occasion, though, and you get sort of caught up in it, don't you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so listen, I'm not over the moon with Defi's jumping yet.
1.5, so he's out.
So he's gone out to the twos on. So this is where, if I was, I should be piling in at the twos on, I suppose.
It's very reminiscent of Champ, isn't it? In the sense that you've got the best horse in the race, and you're thinking it doesn't look entirely comfortable with the way things are going. But again, he's also making a concerted effort to be as wide on the track as possible.
Unlike Daryl Jacob on So Royal, who has warmed to the task a little bit now, and he's just getting a little bit closer.
I think he's seen what Skelton's doing and is happy to track him all the way round, I think.
Yeah, and Bundoran under Johnny Burt, he's not over the moon. He's trying to put a bit of pressure on Politolog here, isn't he?
Skelton asked for one from Politolog and didn't get it. Was that the ditch? I think it was the ditch.
He's come all the way over to this rail here, whereas everyone else is clearly making a decision to.
Is he getting a bit of a
avoid it.
freebie now? Is this like what Paul Tannen's been doing in the earlier races, just getting a
We'll
little
see
bit
what
of a
happens when
breather?
they clear this one, because this is where you would go on sometimes.
That's 6 out.
Let's see what he does.
Defi's not.
Defi definitely fiddled that one. And so now Barry Garrity's
1.6.
asking him to get a bit more interested.
Yeah,
which
well,
is
you would,
1.6
you know, if you were,
1.6.
you'd be getting nervous if you were on at that sort of price.
Well, I mean, I'm currently fairly happy with the 3 places Politolog, admittedly. So, given that Dynamite Dollars hasn't jumped, So Royal's not jumped, and Defi's not had the wonderful time.
Yeah, and Bundoran, I think probably you can tell by the way he's just taken off a little bit. Here we come then. We're starting to warm up now in the champion chase. We're coming to the tricky third last. Politolog getting a bit of a freebie up front. Daryl
So
Jacob, the
Royale's
first
not.
to crack on So
Basically,
Royal on the inside.
So Royal, the first off the bridle.
Yeah.
You'd not. I wouldn't have backed that at 50s. Wouldn't have backed that at 50s.
Dynamite
lads.
Dollar jumping really well. Defi again a little bit slow there. This is where the champion elect is going to have to really dig deep.
Skelton's
He's
got
going
it
to go even
bang
money
on,
in a
isn't he?
second.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dynamite Dollar's coming off the bridle.
So Royale,
Bundoran is giving him absolutely everything he's got. Come on, Bundoran, have a little bit of a say. But at the moment, Darry Garrity, what price nearly him running?
3.6 on
3.6
on
Defi Du
Def-
Seuil hits. He's running flat. He's looking in
This
all
is a
sorts
great
of
ride
trouble
in
here.
front.
Politolog kicks
He's
off
beaten.
the bend. Nothing.
Definitely
Defi is
beaten.
in.
He's humped, didn't he?
Come on, Bundoran. Come on, Bundoran. Have a little bit of a say here. Come on, Sebastian's horse. What are we saying? Dynamite Dollars looking out in third. Politolog has got the freebie. Defi Du Seuil has run an absolute shocker. It looks like this is going to be another one for Paul Nichols.
Win or lose
Great
for me, it's a ride. What a ride.
Absolutely, brilliant.
Harry
What a brilliant
Skelton
ride.
take a bow. Dynamite Dollars is rallying for second, but this is all about Politolog. Oh, look at Keith Melrose standing up in the seat.
1.6 landed.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it's not for that,
Look
it's-
at
no,
I'm
this is a
joking,
call them
I'm
past the
joking.
post. Politolog, Harry Skelton giving it the aye. Dynamite Dollars in second. Bundoran third. Defi Du Seuil fourth. So Royale, I don't even think he's finished. And if he has, my goodness gracious me, just when you thought something was about to go to script, what has gone wrong?
Well, I mean, there's a second Hobbs horse who's run way below
Deplorably,
par
yeah,
today. That's
deplorably.
really blown out. But the key thing was what you said pre-race is that the advantage that Harry Skelton has is he's got those excellent fractions. The old clock in the head if we're throwing out cliches.
It's a one-paced horse, but it's just a really good pace.
Yeah, and he handles conditions. He stays even further. He's got lots of form at the track, and the jockey's taken full advantage of that. Harry said, "I'm having this Bundoran. You're not making the running. I'm gonna set every fraction."
Whose hand is he going to be shaking on on the way in. It's got to be Johnny Burks, isn't it?
Well,
thank you very
is
much.
There he is,
Well, there you go. They're doing it right now. There's a bit of this going on. But listen, he obviously let Bundoran do his thing, and he's finished third in a champion chase. Albeit not the sort of champion
It's
chase
really
that we are used
interesting
to.
there in the Nichols blog. He said that in the preliminaries he'd wear a hood just to try and calm him down, which then would be taken off when he went off to the track. I'm not sure if that's necessarily made any difference here,
Am I
because
right
he
in thinking,
produced the
Keith, this was the
performance that we
ulcers
saw.
as well for Politolog, wasn't it? They said about
did-
ulcers.
was that this
Ulcers
year?
is such a tricky one, isn't it? Do we?
Well, it can be one. I mean, it comes up with it a lot, doesn't Nichols? But it was why I was keen on Frodon. Remember, we did did we do the postcast together that week? Possibly not. That was Bruce was in. But he comes up with the ulcers thing, and sometimes horses just give off that vibe that there was something wrong that needs to be fixed there. But it's also a 1-2 for Nichols there, which
Prize money for the season.
lovely. He loves it. It's everything is about prize money for Nichols, isn't it?
And also the place pot is going to pay surprisingly high amounts.
Yeah.
Well,
imagine
After what we were talking
imagine if there was-
pre-race with the favourites, and now all of a sudden
You're
he's
Barry
been blown
Geraghty,
out.
you're walking on water. You're JP McManus, you're walking on water. And look how Cheltenham can bring you back down to earth. Defi Du Seuil, absolute blowouts.
Imagine if
And-
you fell asleep a week ago and you woke up just there and you went, Politolog's in the championship, is it?
yeah. What happened?
Those
Well,
people that have been self-isolating and now
Yeah, exactly.
coming out
Like
and
you
going,
self-
what's going on with the world?
Self-isolating
Yeah, quite
and out you come and Politolog's on a champion chase. I mean, he's a smashing horse. He's always had 170 ability. Before today, he probably hadn't won the races that his ability demanded, actually. He was just a horse that ended up... He is just a horse that was one pace. He'd won a Grand Annual if his mark had been low enough.
We're
So,
getting
he's
from the track that
type of the
Nichols
horse.
is saying to anyone that wants to listen to him, they were the tactics, we've pulled it off, and I cannot wait for Clan des Obeaux. I mean, it says something, doesn't it, for sitting in the pub and watching racing, because Paul, whatever you've been drinking in there, mate, send a few into the Racing Post live studio. I might start banging some more winners.
Can we get a beer sponsorship for the next show?
It's possible. Maybe we'll have to speak to Neil.
Got an
about
empty glass here.
that. Empty glass, I like mine. Okay, so listen, I want to talk about the elephant in the room in this race now. If you are Willie Mullins, you're thinking, I mean, what has been a frustrating week for him so far has just hemorrhaged into frustration, because what would Chacun Du Seuil have done in that race?
Well, the thing with Chacun Poursois is he would have... The fact that he was out this morning, there's only one person punching the air at that news, and it was Paul Nichols. Because now, if that was the plan, Politolog, you go off and you make the running like that, the one horse that was going to, I was going to say piss on your chips. I'm going to say piss on your chips. It was going to be Chacun Poursois.
I've never thought of doing that, and just if Mum's listening, I've definitely never done it.
It's just salt and vinegar for me.
Just exactly similar.
But the horse,
So I imagine it's similar.
but that was the one horse you couldn't do that to. Chacun Poursois
Yeah.
to go off and do what he did there out the front. The one horse that he wouldn't have got away with that with was Chacun Poursois. And him coming out of the race has probably made a massive difference
Yeah.
to how Skelton's gone about that.
Because, of course, you were suggesting that they might want to get on with it. If you watch Chacun racing at Leopardstown this twice, he has made attacking moves, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, Min did it for him in the Dublin chase. And Politolog would have just played them in for him had he run in the race.
Yeah, I think if you're a Min fan as well, you're looking at that race and you're thinking, I don't know, it's going to be another... The Ryanair is going to be one of the tactical battles again of the week, I think, because if you're a Min fan... Oh, goodness me. I think there's a lot of positivity for Min now after having watched that. Of course, Politolog very closely tied in with Min on form. But the tactics on the chase course at the minute, it's...
Well, that's the key thing, isn't it? You've had the Arkle, you've had the Champion Chase now, won by dominant performances from prominent runners. And, Ryanair, you're thinking, well, Frodon could just do exactly the same thing all over again. And it could, the Grand Annual, in your head you associate. Last year, Croco Bay was up there for
Yeah,
going out.
absolutely. Yeah,
So-
returning from the Grand Annual on Friday.
These are all strong indicators of front runners doing well.
Over
Fences,
fences,
Cheltenham, soft ground. These are all indicators of front
Yeah.
runners
Is that
doing well. And they've got them all.
is that sort of also even more true when you move on to the new course as well with front runners?
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It tends to be in the marsh, front runners do go well.
And
enough.
also like the Festival Plate, the handicap as well.
And
I think that's
Yes,
one
there's a lot of horses have made
yeah.
all in that.
The early handicaps in the autumn at Cheltenham, people would completely forget that, and then you'd think, this is going off way too fast.
How many
in front.
how many horses have won the Bet Victor from the front like
Yeah,
that?
Well, you think about why Pipe and McCoy used to do so well. They were never, very rarely would they hold their horses up.
The majority of races, even as we were discussing Coral Cup time, even the majority of big field handicaps aren't truly run. So there's therefore an advantage to be young on the front.
Yeah, so
Regardless of how it's run, there's if they've gone 1,000,000 miles an hour or they've crawled, if you can get that perfect position in behind the front runners,
It makes
then
Champ's performance even more.
it does.
bewildering,
Yeah,
doesn't
it does.
Well-
So I don't know. It's again that goes back to Keith's point about them going
No,
too hard.
what it does, it shows that they went too hard.
Yes, yeah.
This is what you get here on Racing Post Live, real-time analysis. This is honestly fly-on-the-wall stuff. We've all been in the offices, myself and Keith, Ross and Neil joining us. If you're in the analysis department now, for example, or even the editorial out in the big offices out there, they're all the guys out there at the moment are talking about this. They're dissecting it. If I was analysing that race now, Keith, if the two of us were sharing it, I did this with Graham yesterday. What are we saying about Defi? What's the postscript?
Oh, he's run deplorably. Something might come to light, is what I would be saying, because there was at no stage was that horse going through the race like he was comfortable. You have to look at whether, when we write analysis, I used to do it in the old job, and you currently do it obviously at race form. You wrote the analysis before these things really came out.
Yeah.
Usually these things will come out the following day or in a steward's report. We never had that.
We have to do it then and there, yeah.
I would not be surprised if Philip Hobbs came out and said, "Oh well, there was something. We've got him back, and he was making a noise or something."
I mean, it's a terrible time to be coughing, isn't it, as well? So
Well, yeah, quite right.
Self-isolating until the interview.
Ticking time bomb, indeed, at Press Park, potentially. Let's give a nod to the analysis department as well, indeed. Look, check out your spotlights, all available in the Members Club, of course, on the Racing Post website. And again, some of the stories that I got off this show last night. I was getting on the train on the way home, you're getting all your stories and reading all your quotes and everything like that. There's some fascinating narratives, aren't there?
does this mean that it might be worth looking at the Albert Bartlett, given two Hobbs horses have run massively below par?
Time Hill's got a lot of pressure on. So at the
How's
moment...
Balthazar King going to get him in the cross country?
At the age of 28.
Mike Bite's still to come. He must have shot, mustn't he? So listen, it's lots of this is again as we approach the half-time whistle at the end of the day. This is where the journalists will be thinking, right, which camps are in the happy and which camps are in the sad, if you like. So we're starting to get that now, aren't we? Let's have a look at another social question that's come in then on YouTube. Brian Weldon, Altior would have won by 20 lengths. Okay. What do I think about that?
Are we definitely sure he's not running still? Or is he? He still might turn up. Still might turn up.
Well, that's John Hill's asset
Have we
as well.
seen the connections of Politolog giving it the large? He would have been bought for a Gold Cup, of course, Politolog. So he's got his champion chase. Fair play to John Hill's, huge supporter of the game for many, many years now.
And I mean, if you're of a certain age, probably you're the right age, Dave, and maybe yourself, Russ, as
I'll
well.
be sure they've passed
One
the
man.
post.
I was going to say, big up the guy who leaned across the fence then to shake John Hales's hand, completely ignored him. We just went,
Elbow bump as Keith was doing as we got into the studio
I
today.
can't be taking risk with my wife and her condition. You know?
Well, of course you're expecting a second. Of course,
Yeah.
I said to Keith that the EU officials were the first ones to start that. Tells you everything you need to know about
if I was
that.
thinking, I'd rather do the thing they did in the Far East, where they do the feet.
Yeah.
That looks much better, I think.
Well, maybe we could start a trend here, but I don't know. I'm not the
Dave's
most
been playing
agile
footsie with
person.
me for the past hour and a half. So it's-
Maybe you just try to shake hands.
You're not getting me on camera doing that. So look, again, I've said what would Shaq and Passoir have done in that race, what would Altior have done in that. So let's think, Keith, about when he nearly got beat in the race last year. It's because of cat and mouse, wasn't
It
it?
was probably a race that would have suited Altior better than last year's, but at the same time, it's a race that's definitely suited Politolog.
Because he had a hair to...
I wouldn't like to commit in that instance, actually. All I would say is that Altior at his best would have bettered that performance by about 7 lengths.
Just before we go to a VT, sorry, Keith, tell us about the exchange quickly. How low did Defi go? Because we said he was
1.19.
What?
When did he hit
1.19?
1.19?
Yeah,
When did that happen?
£442 at 1.19.
When? Can you tell us when?
The market's closed now. I had a look at the graph. Yeah.
I want to know. I tell you what.
Because it could
I
have,
want-
it
I
could
want-
of course.
Who backed it at 1.19? I want them to write in. Because I
Something
want to
tells me they're probably not near the
And
end
then
of
the only other
keyboard
thing,
anymore.
the only other thing to give a shout out to is what we said pre-race to the person who had 490 on Politolog anti-post. So
Absolutely.
whoever landed that, I think that's just a really good example.
Maybe it's the same guy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Team bet.
was a winner.
He was a winner,
I
of
think
course,
I
yeah.
think the Politolog bet is just a really good example of how on the exchange, in terms of like the big prices that are available out there. And because in racing, like, you just don't know what's going to happen with non-runners and stuff like that. And you only need, it's like what you're saying with your bet in the, who was it, in the Coral Cup? No, when you bet 4 to be placed. Who was the horse who you bet earlier today?
Oh, Decoré.
Yeah, and you were saying like you just had a couple of quid at a big price in the win market because you never know. This is a classic example of Politolog. 490. It's like, can be fairly certain he's going to turn up in the race. and you just don't know what then's going to
I
happen.
totally
do
get.
you?
I totally
So-
get the point of view of it, because in the last 2 years, I didn't win. Apart from our team bet, I've not won a penny on this race. But in the last 2 years, I have backed Politolog at massive prices for the champion chase, because I think he's too good a horse to be
Yeah.
off 25s.
And I think, and
You've
he's
sat
also
it out and look what happens.
he's also one of the horses as well, because you know that 2.5 miles around Aintree, flat track, fine, but Cheltenham, he's not really going to stay in a Ryanair. Blah, blah, blah. He's always going to run at Cheltenham because of the owner and the trainer, and because of the quality of horses.
We
So
could
where's he
talk
going to run?
for hours about that champion chase. We need to move on. And talking about moving on, let's have a look back with Alistair Down.
So, talking of those moments that nourish the soul, are there any that really stick out to you that you'll never forget?
Oh, countless. And this is the appeal of the thing, isn't it? I mean, every year you're as excited as you were the year before. And every year it gets bigger, the meeting. Some say too big, I don't. It would be too big if it went to 5 days, and it won't happen because there'll be a dead body at the main entrance, mine. I think that would be a disaster for the meeting. It's hard to avoid the cliche memories in a sense, but for drama, spectacle, emotion, I think Dawn Run's Gold Cup would be my desert island race from the meeting. My first ever visit to Ireland a couple of years before, when Dawn Run was a novice hurdler. And I went to see Paddy Mullins, Willie's dad, and was fussed over by Maureen, who's still about age 120 and still doing the play spot and still as enthusiastic as ever and still full of beans. And I sat down with Paddy, who'd been a bit of a childhood hero. Anyway, we chatted away. I had an hour with him, but turned into 2.5 or 3. And I left convinced that Dawn Run was the best horse he'd ever trained. And this is a man who trained every winner under National Hunt rules in Ireland and trained champion stakes winners and all sorts. And so we backed Dawn Run for the novice hurdle. And the lad who was meant to ride her got injured. And Ron Barry was entrusted with the ride. And his orders were quite simple. Go off in front, and every time you think you're going too fast, go faster.
Right.
And when you think it's impossible to go any faster, go faster again, and she will do it.
Wow.
And dear Ron, to his lasting credit, in inverted commas, gave her a breather down the hill. They got to her, and she was beaten by a top-class racehorse called Saban du Roi with an unknown 50-1 shot in third place, West Tip. It was some novice hurdle.
Yes.
But I was a die-hard fan of hers from then on, and when she rallied that day from the last, to watch it in the flesh was to see wonders unfold in front of your eyes, because she was beaten for all money. She was going to finish 4th, and she won. And the post-race scenes, Charmin Hill, the owner, being carried around the paddock, and she was 70-odd and been riding the horse in races.
Right.
Oh, God.
I didn't know
In
that.
Ireland. Yes.
Yeah.
She was a strong-willed woman.
Well, you did mention earlier about the fact that you were obviously a broadcaster for a long time, and I have to say, part of my love of the festival and racing in general is owed to the Channel 4 coverage of that time. You know, you only needed to say, "Welcome back to Cheltenham, everybody," and the hairs on the back of my neck were standing up. But that really
Mine
was
were already. Yeah.
that really was a great team.
I think it was great. I think it was a great team, and it was great fun to do it. And I think Andrew Franklin, who was the genius presiding over the thing, who invented Channel 4 racing, I think his contribution to the status and the ever-increasing momentum the meeting has in the sporting calendar is not to be underestimated. I think their coverage was a huge help to the meeting. It took the tweediness out and brought the contact in.
Yes.
You know, it was, when the programme started, it was like the curtains opening. You're just saying, like, come on in, this is it. You can't be here, but we're going to bring it to you. And it was a thrill to do it. You know, I've had those days where I remember the Gold Cup long run one when Corto Star and Denman were blitzing each other down the hill. I think I said like two mad old pensioners out for the last hurrah. And just watching it talk about hair standing up the back of your neck. I just thought, let's get this program over and get me at that laptop. I just want to write down what it felt like to watch that.
Okay.
And I'm emotional right now.
Yeah.
I'm very hardwired into the meeting. You know, I've seen disasters there, tragedies there,
Yes.
to horse and to human. Yes, it's great celebration, carnival, en fête, as the French would say, but it's very hard-edged. And the tiny gap between triumph and disaster can just grow into an abyss. And you're always aware of that in the back of your mind. And you talk to people who know the place well, say from the saddle. You know, I've sat and talked endless nonsense with Ruby Walsh down the years, but to listen to him talk about how to ride it and the things you try not to do is fascinating, because it takes you out there and you suddenly get into your head something we don't do when we watch races, that jockeys, the good ones, are thinking about a dozen things a minute outside of what they're actually doing on their own horse. And Ruby has eyes, not in the back of his head, but I think he has a set all round. It's one of the reasons he's such a great judge, because he sees things in races that other people have missed.
That's right.
And it's remember, it's a battle between those individuals. For all the wonderful camaraderie of the weighing room, you know, they are out there to assassinate each other politely when it comes to, you know, this is their massive day of the year. And for a guy with, say, one important ride at the meeting and a lot of other scrubbers, or 4 or 5 other scrubbers, it has to go right. You know, people have been dreaming of this day for years.
That's it. Why is it that the Cheltenham Festival is so significant to racing people?
I think the savagery of the test is an important part. I think the racecourse presents challenges that no other course does. And also, you have to remember, it's fun. You've got 60 or 70,000 people, some of whom have saved up decent money through the years, either to get in or to get in and have a punt. It's the sheer sort of joie de vivre of the thing. All those people enjoy themselves. Where else do you get that noise when the tapes go on?
Of course.
It's here, we're off, we're going, right, hold on for dear life, and you have to. And I like the fact that money has little value. It's like something out of a board game. You go to the spoils bought on the wall and say, I want more. And it doesn't really matter. We get caught up in it, hopelessly, and it's as intoxicating every year as the previous one. Yes, there are vintage meetings and meetings, but they're never anything other than brilliant. Just sometimes they transport you to places you didn't really think you could possibly travel to. And I love the fact that you are one of tens of thousands, all hell-bent on the same piece of passion for 4 days. And there's nothing else like it. My kids never miss a day at the festival, but they wouldn't know there was a racecourse anywhere else in the country. This just happens. From their early days, you know, their house would be full of people sleeping on the floor, and strange people would take to school, and everyone would be busy about, and people would be up till 5 in the morning, people would be up all night, and the house was madness, and all their parents' sort of greatest chums would turn up, and the atmosphere caught them from the age of 4, 5, 6, and they wouldn't miss a day. But they wouldn't know where Fontball Fakenham was. And as for things without chumps, they had not a clue there. But they wouldn't miss a day, and all their mates. And what I love is that the fact that that generation in their 20s are as passionate about it as ageing loons such as myself. And I love the fact that it transmits across the generations, and that's another part of the democracy of celebration that the place offers. There is nowhere like it, and once that atmosphere has been tasted, people will go back year after year, come hell or high water.
As you have, and you will continue to do so.
Damn right.
Yeah. Alistair, thank you very, very much.
Pleasure.
That's fantastic.
Okay, Alistair down there. Great to have Alistair back, isn't it? Even greater to have him on Racing Post Live, talking with Sam Hansen, our cameraman. He'll be roving around the track, Sam. I don't know if you saw the rap with Tom Kerr yesterday that went out. Sam and Tom was giving his thoughts, so look out for that. Sam's doing a rap on Racing Post website at the end of every day. Are we expecting him to say that Tiger Roll was going to be the star of the show now with the Defi bombshell that Defi just didn't turn up? We're just digesting some quotes that are coming in about Defi, and we'll look at the BHA site and see if there's any official word for why Defi flopped. Well, because we now come to the cross country, of course, and the people's horse, as he's quite rightly acclaimed, Tiger Roll. Was there an easier winner in Cheltenham Festival memory of Tiger going over the banks last year before he won his second Grand National? I say the people's horse because the public love him, but the Racing Post betting editor, Keith Melrose, you can't have him, can you?
It's maybe a bit strong, but no, you know,
That's not how you build it to me.
There's always one guy at the party or something that says something daft like the Beatles were overrated or something, and I don't want to feel like that guy, but I will.
That's definitely you.
But I don't know, I like the Beatles actually. But no, the thing with Tiger Roll is that, you know, 170 horse running in a cross country race. The neutrals would have all wanted Pleasant Company to win that first Grand National. He was a Triumph horse who went off the rails and here's a pair of blinkers and he's a 4-mile chaser now. You know, it's like a guy who's perfectly nice, but everything he does annoys you. That's what I feel like with Tiger Roll.
What?
Honestly, horses that jump that low shouldn't win Grand Nationals, and just you know what? It's like
you're one of those.
It's like what you say about if everybody's saying something, you say up to it.
Yeah.
I'm like that, but with just being miserable.
Yeah. That's
Well,
fine. Yeah.
Well, you can go outside onto the.
No, I think,
there
but
is a roof out there.
That
to jump
said,
on, and
he'll win
goes
this.
and noses up.
He'll win this, won't he?
Well, yeah. I guess if he runs within a stone of his best, he'll be taking it out.
Yeah, I think I mean that as well today.
How highly is he rated now? 172, is it? 172.
Yeah, it's
officially 171.
His official rate is it 170? Oh, anyway, it's over 170. He's running off 170 international.
Oh, there it is.
Oh yeah, Ross is,
It's not
the
from
luxury of the
memory. It's
laptop
not from
today.
memory.
And you know he's a 170 horse. He probably should have run in the Gold Cup, but he's getting safe for the national. We know why that is. And you know the next best in this is like I think he's got about 14 or 16 pounds in hand on RPRs.
Well, look, the public love him. I love him. Ross.
But again, I'm similar to Keith in the sense that I've never warmed to him because he's consistently well backed, and he's just one of those horses. He wins races he wins a cross country, he wins a Grand National.
If you're swimming against the tide, you don't like Tiger Roll.
It's not that I'm swimming against the tide. It's just that he wins races where I don't get heavily involved,
like the Grand National.
like the Grand National.
What? Oh, Jesus, boys, come on.
I like to back horses
We're
in
lowering
races.
the tone of Racing Post Live. And Neil, Tiger Roll fan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike him. So it'd be awesome to
Look
see
at
him.
me being the nice guy. I
Yeah.
don't dislike that.
I don't really see. Unlike Keith,
Do you
I
like
don't
the
really
Beatles?
see anything. Unlike Keith, I don't really see any reason to dislike him.
All right,
I
well,
think he's
look.
great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Keels, help me out. Do you love him?
The legend who is Tiger Roll returns to Cheltenham, bidding for a 5th win at the festival. He's won a Triumph Hurdle, he's won a National Hunt Chase, and he's won 2 cross-country chases, and now goes for a 3rd. Not to mention a 3rd Grand National possibly next month. He had his hold-ups this season with a little injury, and he returned in the Boyne Hurdle where he finished 5th. That was a race he won last year, but he was nowhere near fit enough this time, and he was quite eye-catching. Hopefully he'll be a lot fitter this time, and he heads back to Cheltenham where he won a cross-country last year by an absolute mile. Can't imagine there's a horse in the race that was capable of putting up that sort of performance, and if he's at that level, he will win. He does have a young pretender coming up against him, though, in Easy's Land, who has actually won every race he's completed since November 2018. He was a very easy winner on this course last time, and the connections are quite confident that he's going to give Tiger Roll a race. I can't really see anything else getting into it. It will be fascinating to see what former Gold Cup runner-up and RSA Chase winner Mike Bite does over these fences. He certainly looked happy at Newbury last time, but he's always been a bit crazy, and I just wonder whether he'll be the first horse to run out of this race for a long while.
I'm happier. Tiger Roll fans back in. I mean, Paul's basically saying, lads, that this is all over. So the bookmakers were looking like they were heading for a black Wednesday, shall we say? They've roared back with Defi Du Seuil failing to turn up in the Champion Chase. If you've been somewhere amazingly you don't know that happened, that did in the previous race. What is he now on the exchanges, Neil?
Yeah, Tiger Roll 1.87, Easy Land 4.1, 4.2. and then 15.5 in bigger the rest. Easyland is the one that has seen some support. He was around 5.1 yesterday, so around the 4-1 mark, and he's into 3-1 now. But yeah, Tiger's predictably solid at the top of the market, really. And that's probably, I don't know, probably an okay price for him, would you say?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Well, I think on official ratings, that's the case. We'd look at
Also
some
based on
there.
last year and his prep in the Boyne.
Yeah, exactly. Last year, he
Price
won the
of Josie's orders, lads, by the way. Goodness
Well, I
gracious
thought
me.
about that. He's one I'd maybe think will outperform those odds.
But
You need
that's
specialists
interesting.
around here. And yeah, the thing with Tiger Roll is that the Boyne hurdle, he won it the year before really impressively, and he was only 5th this year. But he also needed his reappearance last year, which wasn't the Boyne hurdle.
So-
and it was this year.
Yeah,
It's just a horse.
I think they were happy with it, weren't they?
Yeah, it's-
Having spoken to Gordon last week, he said that that Davey and Keith, who ride him, the only thing they thought could have got him beat was doomsday weather. We should say it's more testing on the cross-country chase. So let's move away from Tiger, and the market suggests this could be a bit of a match. I know you've got a line on Easyland. Snapped up by JP McManus, having the Wednesday of his life potentially, or despite the deficits. Easyland.
Tiger Roll. I know official ratings are saying it's a walk in the park, but I mean, it's a cross country, so I mean, it is a walk. The whole thing's a walk in the park. Isn't
Okay,
it? Yeah.
on that front, I'm expecting Easyland to peak in this race. In that case, because his ratings might, Tiger's not quite where he is.
I mean, he won at the over the track in December. You can see he's the type of horse that you can see like dominating this for 3, 4, 5, 6 years ahead of him. Why not now? Yeah, exactly. Like spot the difference.
Why
same owner.
McManus is snapped
Yeah.
up.
One of my
Yeah.
favourite horses, Spot the Difference, loved him.
So I think he's a proper danger here to Tiger.
Okay, so let's go back to the market.
Because you have to think as well that, like, let's say things aren't going well for Tiger. Like, this isn't... Obviously, they want to win this.
Yeah.
Well, he has to
But-
qualify for the National in this, of
Yeah.
course, don't forget.
Yeah, but let's just
Does
say...
he just have to start? Or does he have
I
to
Yeah.
think he does just have to start,
yeah.
doesn't he?
But let's just say things
So
aren't
he's,
going...
he's about to qualify.
Keep him fresh.
Yeah, but
I'm
let's just...
expecting Altior to turn up here instead of...
Yeah, he might do.
But if things aren't
Never
going
suspect
well
Altior.
for whatever reason, I don't know, he makes a mistake or someone or something falls in front of him and he's detached or whatever, they're not going to flog him round to make up the ground because the main aim is the Grand National, regardless of the fact that they really want to win this. Whereas,
He's first two or nowhere, isn't he?
yeah, exactly.
First pictures of Tiger emerging, walking around now with Keith Donoghue, knows him so well, of course, on this cross-country race. He does look an absolute picture. Honeysuckle just looked beautiful yesterday when we were doing that in the studio.
I actually think the best betting angle in this race is away from the big two in the
Come on
outrights.
then, let's team bet time.
The next big name in this race after Tiger Roll is Might Bite, who's already come up this afternoon.
See, you're talking about Tiger. I love Might Bite. Absolutely love it. I love a horse like Champ. I love a horse who wins a great race whilst looking like they are 10 sandwiches short of a picnic. Absolutely, they are 100% mine.
It was absolutely, that RSA was absolutely magnificent to watch
Yeah.
because he had them stone cold 3 out.
Yeah.
And then it was a
He went,
lap
come on,
it was a victory lap.
Come on, get involved.
Victory lap until he jumped the last, and then he went right.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun.
I don't like Might Bite, but it's a personal, it's a personal thing here because I had him. I think I got 14-1, something maybe slightly bigger about the King George Gold Cup double that year. Before he ran at Sandown and obviously Native River Out Stadium, and we all know what happened there. So ever since then, I've been a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I think that was such a mother and a father of a race for him, and he put absolutely everything to that. He's not quite been the same since, has he?
Well, he hasn't. And I think that we've talked earlier about Scorpions, haven't we? And how he's just not held it together. He's just totally gone off the rails since. Only one day.
What was the match bet, by the way? Who's it with?
It's with Urgent de Gregain.
Okay.
What are we
here.
looking at there then?
Yeah, 1.8. I presume you want to take on my bites.
Right,
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Can we get
1.8.
Neil's laptop up? Is that possible? Can we switch to Neil's laptop?
So
We can.
1.83, 1.82.
I just think
something
Mike
like
Bite's
that.
the sort of horse that's just going to hate it.
Yeah.
You've got. Is it really 11 to 10 that he's going to hate this?
No.
Ruby Walsh said in a preview I was listening to, he'd rather play the Irish Lottery than ride Might Bite in this, which is, I think, sort of, you just don't know what you're going to get, do you? It's just
He could have the
it
time
be
of his
anything.
life, though, couldn't he? That's the thing you've got to.
Oh, he might.
He has
He's
schooled
one or-
over
he's
the
a-
course,
yeah.
we should say that. He has had bump in for a little pop like Tiger did.
I can.
We're
if
on.
I was offered 11 to 10, Mike Bite likes it, I would say that's a terrible price.
Are we allowed to have 2 team bets in this?
Yeah, of course
Neil?
we can.
Can
yeah.
we back Josie's orders for a place? How many places are we getting first and foremost? And I just thought that Josie's orders, it was a little bit love for him, wasn't it?
You'll
They're
get,
massive prices.
Can we have 4 team bets in this, Neil? Because I have 2 of them.
I cannot believe that the big betting race of the day is going to end up being the cross country.
And we're going to be, the Tiger's going to be 17 lengths clear, and what are we doing? We're looking for Rouge 5th.
So, Dave, are we talking 3 places, 4 places? How do you want to play it?
Well, let's have a look at the odds first and foremost. Can we go back
I think it's
to
gotta be
Neil's?
4,
Yeah,
isn't
we're
it?
still on
So
there.
to be placed, Josie's order is 8.4. That's 3 to be placed.
And the 4
8.4.
and the 4-place market. All
four-
this, of course, on the exchange. There's
Yeah,
so
so
many different
plenty
angles.
of value, plenty of angles in. 5.4, so 9 to 2
He's
to
one-
finish in the top.
I think that's a better bet than
4-place
yeah.
bet. 4 places, Ross.
Yeah, well, I think the other 2 McManus horses. Yanworth was the one that interested me.
Oh.
I was going to ask about him.
Talking about
because,
talented
this was the plan,
characters running
right?
over the fences.
This was the plan for him, right? This new discipline. And
Absolutely. Soft ground, 7 runs, 5 wins in a second.
What happened last time, and he fell on his previous visit here, that would be my big negative.
Well,
and it's Yanworth.
Well, for what happened last time was they went no pace whatsoever.
Let's get the Josie's orders on then.
So we're going 4 to be placed,
Yes,
yeah?
please.
Okay.
Look at this. Come on, you're following us in here. Come on, Josie's orders, you know what I mean? But if he's not won this, he's gone extremely close before, and he hasn't quite looked at his best this year, but you're getting massive prices about it.
Yeah, so that's on at 4 to be placed, Dave.
Boom. All right, so listen, my one winner of the day so far was up a little. I'm back. I'm doing a Rodway from yesterday. I'm steaming back into
And
the
Ross,
contention.
what were you saying about Yanworth?
Well, yeah, I've backed him 4 places. He's, like I said, soft ground, five wins in a second. Heavy ground, 3 runs, 2 wins in a third. Last time out, they went a crawl. Never Russia Khan who won it. The front 2 in that cross-country race, they basically kicked at the right time, and Yanworth got massively outpaced.
He travelled okay. He travelled okay in that last race. I know they don't go any gallop round,
but he just didn't have.
Yeah.
Once the front 2 quickened, and he went, oh god.
He's actually
Never
30
Russia Khan was 3rd to Easy Land in December, wasn't he? I think
Yes,
so.
yes,
you could say that Yanworth is probably playing for 4th place potentially. So look, okay, let's have another overview of the market, if you don't mind. As Tiger just has a little look, we can see here in the studio at one of the birch fences. There's an entry fence in this, of course, as well. It's
They're
probably
missing
bigger
out.
than the
They're
entry
missing out
fences itself.
they're missing out one or two. So they're missing out one fence that's jumped twice, I think, because of the ground. I think
Okay,
it's in
great.
there.
They
Good
did
knowledge,
jump the
Neil.
entry fence twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tiger Roll 1.85, Easy Land 4.1. So Tiger's probably just been nibbled ever so slightly. Might bite into tens, 10 to 1.
Yeah,
you know, he decides he fancies
And
it today.
Yanworth actually 34s in the win market.
Okay.
Well, again, I mean, I know it's not officially heavy ground, but it is testing. He's won twice. He's won 2 grade 2s here at Cheltenham in heavy ground. And
Yanworth.
Yeah.
He's also lost a Ballymore that it was a certainty to win, wasn't it? So
Yeah, but it's
he also looked like he did not want to go 100. Talking about horses that have gone weird, you could suppose that Yorker isn't turning up here, isn't
Well,
it?
Sandy Thompson's got him now.
Yeah.
Any
So
amount of
he's,
time,
he,
probably,
he's suggesting he's
yeah.
going to win a Borders National then, or anyway,
Yorker,
we're going
He'll win
massively
at Carlisle.
Air Gold Cup.
off the straight. But
Yeah,
okay, let's remind everyone of what we're doing here. This is Tiger Roll going for back to back.
To back.
Yeah.
To back cross countries, and Easy Land is the potential fly in the ointment here. So a lot of people would have backed Easy Land as the each way thievery like honeysuckle yesterday. What were the selections in this, just out of interest? I think I did put Tiger Roll up. I've got to
I
say
think
that
I
to win.
put Tiger
You
Roll
put Tiger as well.
Yeah, we love Phil.
Well, no, fight.
Yanworth 4 places would be. I'd back a tiny win just because he loves the ground, and I would back him 4 places about 9
Neil
to 4.
Hubbard?
I actually went for Easy Land.
Okay,
this.
so finally a little bit of love for Easy Land as well. JP Manners bidding to get back to winning ways. The
Tour Land
festival he's having. Okay, so they're just jockeying for position at the moment, what we can see on the monitors that we've got here. There's been a bit of Harry Carey in this race over the years, hasn't there? Where do you want to be?
Horses have eviscerated themselves.
Well, no, you know what I mean. No. Oh God, what I mean is there's been a bit of madness with jockeys, haven't there? Sort of.
I think you want to be on the right
Harry
horse.
Carey.
Yeah, I was
Anthony
thinking that.
Thornton, good friend of Racing Post. He had a bit of a shocker one year, didn't he?
Was it Davy Russell? Davy Russell just
Davy Russell. It
cut
was.
the corner one year.
That's where you want to be. You want to be on the course.
Yeah.
at
You'll
all
notice that
times.
Davy's not taking a chance on this
Yeah.
being a festival winner
Well,
for him.
I remember it was one of a very vivid Betfair exchange memory. The year Russell cut the corner in this race,
Yeah.
the horse jumped the last in front, and you could back a winner at 8 to 1. Because
really?
they just assumed it was going to get kicked out and they're running. And but he obviously.
Funny
got
enough, in
kicked
terms
away.
of the nature of this race, when Josie's Orders won this back in 2016, actually hit 500s in running.
Really?
So,
So if we look like
510
we're,
actually, yeah.
and that's an
Still
interesting
no
point
chance.
about the race. Obviously, this is the slowest race of the
Get a
Cheltenham
bed.
Festival.
Yeah.
You can put the kettle on and not necessarily win an Arkle, but you can come back and you're still only at halfway. They're literally about to go, and
There
the
we go.
starter has
No,
not let
whoa,
them
whoa,
go.
easy.
Come on, just let
Unbelievable.
that
Mike Bite was slightly slower than the others
only
in. That's horrendous, isn't it?
It's only the cross country.
As you suggest, it's only the
Let them
cross
let them
country.
do
go.
what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They just-
It's only Tiger Roll's time to shine.
The,
Listen,
the only reason you've said that is because you've opposed Mike Bite in a match bet and he was
Well,
dead
he
last and
was
missed
he was
it.
pulling himself up. He was almost planting himself.
It was the easiest
Which,
bet.
well, lads, it's
Are we
1.5
suggesting
now.
it's another P coming up for Mike Bite? I don't know, but look, they're coming for another standing start. Someone tally them up for us. How many have we had? Lads in the gallery can tell us that. I'm sure. I can't really think off the top of my head. I'm thinking at the start of the day, we'd almost forgotten the word standing and start, hadn't we, together? So I don't know. It's been the story of the last couple. So Mike Bite is now pretty much exactly where he was when he would have jumped off anyway. Urgent to
The only horse he's ahead of is
in our
Urgent
match
to again.
bet is actually out the back as well. So that's not too good. So out in
proper
front
race
at the
within a
moment,
race,
we are
yeah.
Josie's Orders.
Oh yeah.
Happy days. So stay there, please. Mark Walsh on the 12-year-old that absolutely loves here for Cross Country King. Ender Bolger. Ender's also got Yanworth. He's bang up there. Kingwell Theatre, winner over the course. The course of distance winner, of course. He's bang up there. Just looking for
your
Tiger Chaps. Whereabouts is he?
Outside in the
Yeah.
blinkers, you can see him
About
fifth.
seventh. Yeah. Sixth, seventh. Well, yeah.
Okay,
In
so
that, line
Tiger.
of, in that line of three between 5
So
and 7.
basically, he's being confidently ridden as expected.
where's
What about
Easy
Easy
Land?
Land?
Oh, just ahead
Where's
of him.
Easy Land?
Just ahead of him? Is
He's
that
lands on
Easy
the
Land?
outside.
New Zealand,
about
yeah.
third,
Tiger Rose probably just going to follow him, isn't he?
Yeah, it looks
So
that way.
Ergen de Gregan and Mike Bite are match bet. I mean, it's neck and neck, lads, at the minute.
It is.
Tremendous this, isn't it?
We've got another 10 hours before the race is over, but it's neck and
fighting it
neck.
out
When,
for seven.
when are we going to lose sight of them? Is it going to be around the cheese wedges? And then
So is that's
We
the
could
one
get
they're
another
not
round to
jumping.
down VT in by the time they finish this, couldn't
yeah.
we? But look, actually, while the race is off, I used to be a big fan of the cross-country races because usually the best horse genuinely wins it. Spot the difference we talked about. I didn't write off on him loads of
it
times.
used to be the case that if you weren't in the first 6, you could just forget it.
Right.
It's a
Mistake
little
by
bit.
Urgent de Gregan, by the way, there.
Oh yes, there was.
And if you remember when
he's
Nina
well ahead
Calabria
of him,
used to
yeah.
ride in these, Josie's Orders, she would have been in quite a few times. She used to give him a massive start, didn't she? And then she'd come. I mean, spot the difference. She used to come from absolutely nowhere, not quite Barracuda-like, but
Well, they've stopped. Mucking around to the extent they used to in this race. I think they now know what to expect. The jockeys for the first
Yeah.
few years were like, "Well, I don't know what's next."
It was
Now
like an
they know.
experiment, wasn't it? It was
From
like, I wonder if this
Yeah,
will work.
It's sort of come
exactly,
about
yeah.
that the race is just far more established, though, as well. I
Yeah,
think
it's
in
a
a
Proper
way.
race now.
Yeah,
I mean, there used to be a
exactly.
lot of Deadwood in this. Now you've got
Yeah.
the
It had
former
a
King
novelty.
George winner, for God's sake.
It was more of like a novelty aspect, and I know it's still got that feel to it, but it is
Jump to the
cemented
gate.
now. Easy Land.
that
Easy Land.
was
That was
that
Easy
was
Land.
Easy Land, wasn't it? Whacking the gate. What price has he now got in the market?
He's still exactly the same price.
So
on the
basically,
market.
he can belt.
Everybody's gone for a cup of tea.
Because when you said mucking about, I thought you said mucking out at first. I was like, they've got time to do it, haven't they? Get back on the horse probably. And anyway, so
It's
look,
when they go underneath the windmill, that's when you have to worry about it.
Yes.
up front at the moment, who's moved to the front now along with Kingswell Theatre? Is that
Harlequin Delier.
Harlequin Delier, another French, Derek O'Connor controlling the pace up front. That'll be interesting to see how that bears out at the
Mike Bite, if Mike Bite
business end.
is dead last, I mean, if Mike Bite wins this race from there, that is more impressive than
Well, you know it better than anyone. You're
I
his
love him
pal.
to bits, absolutely. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it in the most ridiculous fashion possible.
Probably,
Well, this is like
this
Champ,
probably
isn't it?
it's
This is-
probably
yeah.
deliberate. It's probably let's kid him into it.
Yeah.
I think that's that. You can imagine that's tactics. That just going like, how are you going to do it, Nico? Well, I'll just try and get him to pretend he's not in a race.
Mike Bite thinks he's just having a day at a National Trust property right now.
Yeah,
He's
he
like, this
does,
is
yeah.
lovely.
It's
I'm
probably
just having a
quite.
pop about.
He'd
I'll
probably
tell
be
you what,
quite
if
a
I
nice
was a
ride
National
for
Trust
Nico,
property,
'cause he
I'd
can
be
just
out the
do
door.
whatever
No,
he
yeah, there's no
likes.
expectations,
Yeah,
is there?
exactly. And you know he has got ability in there, so you can
Well,
just
yeah.
you can just try what you want on him, though, couldn't you?
Well, I think that is. I think
He's actually taking a keen hold, which means he's probably slightly more interested than we're giving him
I
credit
know
for.
he's just gone ahead of.
They're going over the Ruby's double there, which of course we the famous
They buy
jump
out Sam at the
punches
back.
down that we see. Okay, let's concentrate on our team bets. Josie's Orders, we're happy with him right up front. What's he gone, Neil?
in the 4 to be placed market.
Yeah, come on.
He is. Where is he? Yeah, 4.5. So he's come in a little bit based on what we backed
Is that
tonight.
out Sam right out the back?
Well, absolutely, yeah, it is out. Sam, another Gordon Elliott.
He's out to 1,000.
JD
He's out to
Cod though,
1,000.
the Codfather.
So
Do
this-
not totally write him out.
So you've got a row of three including
12,000,
Josie Sword, is
decent game,
including Easyland now coming through to make the run in, which is interesting given, like I said, the Easyland's love of the track, constant winning, and you're saying about Tiger Roll, if he's 10 lengths back, it's not going to be flogging him to within an inch of his life. If Easyland's going to do it might well be kicking on and grabbing the race by the scruff of the neck.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So we're expecting a pace injection from Easyland, probably as they're entering the home straight. I imagine that's what it's like.
3 out, isn't it?
Has anyone got Sudoku or something like that? We could play it through this. But, I mean, if you're on Tiger at the moment, Keith, you're just happy. He's
just bobbing away, and he's keeping him out of trouble, isn't he? That seems to be the main.
It's another wide ploy. What is he in the market now, Neil, on the exchange?
Well, 1.8, so 4 to 5. So not wonderfully different to how he was. Easyland, similar price.
Yanworth seems to have shortened a bit.
Yeah, Yanworth is into 19s, and he was around, mid-30s, something like that at the off.
Oh, might buy had a bit of a wobble at the bank there. Oh, indeed. Where's Urgent de Grand? How are we looking at our match bet?
He's not far ahead of Mike Bite, but he's having a little bit more fun, I think.
I don't know about that. I think it's a bit harsh on Mike Bite. Mike Bite's taking a bit of a keen hold. I mean, now
there was a wee shake of the reins
I
there.
say that.
Mike Bite's idea of fun is not every other horse's idea of fun, though, is it? You'll just do the complete opposite.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, okay, look, so where are we now? We're probably around about the halfway stage, aren't we, at the moment? Never Russia Con's going well, isn't he? And he arrives after winning the PP Open.
Well, as I said, he was given a perfect ride last time out. He was sat in second, he tracked the pace, and he kicked as they came round into the bend at Punchestown.
We finally lose one.
That was
and it was
Yanworth.
Thank you,
Yanworth is gone up. Yeah, he does not like this cross country. That's the second time.
Urgent de Grand moved right up there, as is Out Sam.
That's what I was saying about Out Sam.
We're
Sam
getting
was matched
into
at
some
1,000.
sort of a semblance of drama
when...
finally in the cross-country chase. Finally, we're getting there. Tiger Roll put in an absolute huge leap there. Mike Bite is now starting to pick up the bridle a little bit and is tracking his main rival, Urgent de Grand.
Josie's orders might be dropping it a little, that's the other thing. It looks like Some Kind of King hasn't fancied it. There he is. That's
Tom George
he's a bit like that, isn't he, that horse?
Yeah, okay,
bit of a thinker.
So
he's coming for a second. Mike Bite looked like he was going to drop the lot, but
this is where Easyland under Jonathan Plugo makes his move. He's gone. Tiger Roll is covering him all the way. Can we see? Is this going to develop into the match race that the market suggested? We're about to find out. I'll tell you what, Mike Bite is not out of this, lads.
Well, this thing with Easyland, isn't it? It's going to be come and catch me. A horse.
Quite like the grey horse there, Diesel Dallier, has crept into it a little bit.
Another Emmanuel Cléo horse from France, a specialist, of course, over the bank. Tell you what, lads. Look, Mike Bite. What price has he gone, Neil?
He is 8 to 1.
You bet he's been matched at a reasonably big price already.
Yeah, I think he hit about 30. If
Urgent de Grand, who we've got in our match bet, is moving up quite nicely. The race is now starting to take a big shape as we see the huge crowd
right on the inside of Felix.
all waiting for Tiger Roll to make his move. But you have to think under Keith Donoghue he's going to wait.
Outlander, who didn't get much of a mention, seems to have liked it.
Is that him in second?
It is. It's third, with upsized Tiger Roll,
So Out Sam now starting to struggle.
Is this Mike Bite? Is Mike Bite not having it?
It's going to be.
He's not panicking.
Will he take the bait? Isn't it? It's going to be. I don't know. He's just kidding him, Nico, at the moment. Lots of people have backed him each way, so they're all looking at him there. He's jumping a bit big, isn't he, as well? But the main players are in the race. Urgent de Grand, lads. We fancied him in the match bet against Mike Bite. We're happy at this stage.
We've got to be, haven't we? He'll be about 5s on.
He might win. This is the team gambles are keeping me going today. Tiger Roll now making a move, lining up to Easyland. We've got around about 6 to jump, I would wager.
Never Russia Con.
That's come up, hasn't it? Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Outlander is running well. We're talking about a horse that used to run, of course, in Irish Gold Cups and the like.
Yeah, it was a good horse. I remember, I think I backed it for the Ballymore one year, and everything else that had beat the time before won a Grade 1 that.
We are now starting to get serious in the cross country. Easyland soars over it. Tiger Roll covering the move. Urgent de Grand moves into 4th. He's starting to feel the pinch.
He doesn't fall, mate.
There. Where's Mike Bite for our team bet? The big two in the market are going clear. We should say that.
Yeah, Easyland in front for Tiger Roll.
Easyland is making Tiger Roll work a little bit here, but Keith Donoghue has not pressed the panic button.
Because there's 2 out coming up.
We're about to come into the home straight. This is where they start sprinting for home.
I think he wins.
Where's Mike Bite? Where's Mike Bite in the team bet?
He's been pulled up.
Has he?
I think he has. Well, we're in 3rd.
The team bet.
He's still going.
Unbelievable. And Urgent Giganni's just come on, keep going. Urgent Gigan.
Odds on front
Mike
two.
Bite
Both of
runs
them
down
odds
it. Yeah, he looks like he's gone. Easy Land is still on the bridle.
5 to
Tiger
6
Roll
5 to
has
6
come
each or
off
two.
it. Call it, lads. Call it.
He's beat, isn't
Easy
he?
Land.
Yeah, winner in front. He looks-
Winners in front. I
Oh
suspect.
no, they're never in front. Here comes the Tiger. He's roaring now. Come on, Tiger. Do the punters an absolute favour. Easy Land goes for it. Under Jonathan Plugo coming up to the last. Tiger Roll has not got the legs at the minute.
They're both tired. They're both
Easy
tired.
Land's going for it. He puts in a short one,
Oh,
but he's in
God,
front.
Wolf.
Tiger
Ah,
Roll
it's
looks
all
beaten
over,
there,
yeah.
lads,
Tiger
in the
Roll.
cross country.
Tiger
Urgent
Roll.
Gigan, please get over the last for the match bet. Oh, he nearly got seated.
Tiger
They're
Roll's
coming for a
knackered.
walk in the
Yeah,
cross
he is, isn't
country.
he?
Tiger Roll is
Easy Land
absolutely knackered.
absolutely spread eagle Tiger Roll. Another big
Tiger Roll's
story here
walking.
at the Cheltenham Festival. Tiger Roll walking in second. We'll get to that in a minute. Who's going to get third? Let's go for the place. I don't think Josie's orders. Unfortunately,
Out,
Sam.
Out, Sam.
We've won our
Diesel
match bet,
Deli.
lads.
Won the match bet by 2 places only in the end. That was a nice day out for Mike Bite, wasn't it?
Wow, Easy Land, JP McManus, what a day. Memories of Defi Du Seuil somewhat erased by what you have to say, the two each-way thieves of the first 2 days have stolen the prizes, haven't they? Honeysuckle in the first. In the mayor's race on the first day, steals the prize from Benny DeJerm. A lot of people's banker of the week. Certainly the British, punters were even steaming into that. And we've just seen it again, haven't we? Easy Land, 1-1-1-1-1. That's another one. 3-1. People are now going to be saying that was the each-way bet of the week.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, we said before the race that you look at a race and you go, well, this horse is rated this horse is rated that. But you can only rate a horse on what they've done, and you've also got to take into account what they might do given Easy Land's rapid rate of improvement. And like I said, there's a big difference. 4 years physically.
I think the rides make a difference there too, because even though we say that they're slightly less of a doddle sprint than they used to be, these races still suit horses that are ridden aggressively. And Plugalu's got it right. He's gone off and stretched Tiger Roll, and where he did fall down was just that little bit of finishing effort, whether he's not quite 100% fit yet or I don't know, but he's done exactly what you need to tease that out.
Let's have a look at the full result then on the screen. Confirmed. Out Sam, who didn't look like he was enjoying it.
Well, he hit
early
thousands.
stages. He's nicked so Elliott's had the second and third, not exactly what Team Elliott were expecting it, and many punters across the world who are tuning into Cheltenham
What
Festival.
price does he go off for the national?
Loads
now?
of multiples would have gone down here, lads, as
Yeah,
well.
they would have.
You know.
I mean, what price does Tiger Roll go for the national now?
I mean,
Maybe Neil can get it up.
Yeah,
is that a bad
Here's
prep?
the really interesting angle here. I can't remember who it was that said it maybe over the weekend. It might have been Kills. I'm not sure who it was. If he can't win this, he ain't winning a national. So, I mean, I don't know. He's had a fairly hard race there as well, has he?
He's tired.
He looked exhausted. I mean, to be fair, is there a horse at Cheltenham the last couple of days who hasn't had a hard race in these conditions?
Well,
He's out to 8-1 on the exchange.
It was
for the
bridal
national
job
now.
last year, wasn't it? It was absolutely as
Yeah,
easy as
exactly.
it
It wasn't a hard race at all last year.
And it was pretty testing ground. That was the one issue with him going into the race.
But again, he is 10 years old. So, last year he was at a very nice point in his career to take this race and then go to the Grand National. And that hat trick is always the difficult one.
Yeah, I'd say he was about 11-2 on the exchange-ish for the national pre that. He's out to sevens now, so he has drifted a couple of points.
But having looked like he could have gone as short as 4-1 after this, I think. So there's the national market there.
For the national?
That's the Grand
I'll tell you who's
National
going to be happy with that. Walk in the mill. We had James
If
Best in
the
the
ground
studio
was
not long
like it
ago.
is at Cheltenham for the national, walk in the mill would have a right chance.
Yeah, yeah.
Loves
James
it
Best
when it's
is
tested.
And then
really
Ramsey
happy with him for
Detey
that.
can do the classic Albert Bartlett Grand National double.
Oh yeah, who hasn't?
Ramsey's Detey, of course. Will the ground be too quick for him on the Friday? Wow. Okay, so I tell you what, that was the longest in-running reaction we've had. I think that we will ever, even slower than the national. Probably that was going to be, wasn't it? But there was a lot of stories during the race, and I guess fair play, lads. You called it. You said that at some point Easy Land would make an attacking move. And was Tiger going to have the legs to get him? The pair have come clear. The market got it pretty much spot on. Easy Land, he just stays and comes back and 6-year-old.
Well, he could win the next 2 or 3, couldn't he? Again, I mean, if Tiger Roll can come here and absolutely relish the experience, then he's 6 years old. He's got 2 or 3 years ahead of him.
And he can spend being French trained, he can spend his entire career in these races, can't he?
Yes. Yeah, there's plenty of them at Poe and Orton and the likes like that. Neil Hubbard, let's come to you for the story of the race on the exchanges.
Yeah, Tiger Roll hit 1.43 in running. You can sort of see why, I guess.
Yeah,
He was travelling fine, and that was for decent enough money. Easyland only got as big as 5.8, which again you can also see.
It's probably when he hit that static fence
or whatever.
That's probably an imperial aura from yesterday. Always in the right place. The horse is well
certainly
capable.
was.
A couple of interesting ones though. Like I guess Mike Bite hit 8-1 in running, but Out Sam was really interesting. Like during the race, when he looked like he was going to be pulled up, I guess, because he dropped out really quickly out the back, and he got matched at 1,000. So immediately thinking, well, he must have fallen. But then he came right back in and was actually matched then at a low of 36. So there would have been an in-running trade
the
there.
guy who's laid for 1,000,
Exactly,
desperate to get his money back.
And then Outlander, who was obviously up there a long way, he had a BSP of 389, and he actually touched around 40 in running there as well. But
let's talk. Let's have a think about the day so far. Okay, we're up to what race number 4 are we? Five. Sorry. So let's have a little recap. The bookmakers got an absolute pasting when the Irish banker Envoi Allen, classy performance. Champ coming from out of the clouds and one of the finishes in recent memories of the RSA, what we think will be a strong RSA, the right 3 in the market coming clear. Gamble landed Dame de Compagnie for Barry Geraghty and Nicky Henderson. They were then on, that was in the Cold Cup, of course, they were then on a quick fire hat trick in the champion chase on a 2-5 shot. Defi Du Seuil just did not turn up. Paul Nicholls back in the game, having spent the first day in the boozer, a 1-2 there with Dynamite Dollars finishing second, and then everyone thinks, normal service resumed, Tiger Roll in the cross country, bookmakers back on top. I think, Keith, we have to say it, don't we?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, no,
2 shorties.
I think the 2 shorties getting beat, especially given that people would have been playing up winnings from earlier races.
yeah, I think that's it. I mean, like if you take it that Envoi Allen, Defi Du Seuil, Tiger Roll has not come off in terms of the multis, but I wouldn't think, and I don't know this, but I wouldn't think Easyland would necessarily have been a good result in the book simply because people are looking for an alternative to Tiger.
Yeah.
You're only backing 1 or 2 horses in that race.
Exactly.
If
it would have been a very
Let's
small
talk
book,
quickly about Mike Bite. This is what you get here on Racing Post Live, real-time reaction. If it was, I mean, is this retirement time now, Keith?
Well, it's been retirement time for him. With the benefit of hindsight, we can say it's retirement time for quite a couple.
Would this be last chance saloon? I mean, the cross country.
What else do you do with him?
Fox hunters?
Well, you might try. Can you imagine putting an amateur on him?
Just pulled that out of the fire.
Can you imagine putting an amateur on that horse?
The owners, they're a syndicate, they're a partnership, the Not Again partnership. They've got a couple of other horses in training, Morning Vicar and the likes, haven't they? And, they don't have that many horses, is what I'm saying. So, and they're not going to be short of a few quid after what he's done over his career, are they? No. So, the Fox Hunt. We thought this might be retired. See, this is what you get.
Why not? Keep coming back. Have a
Ross
go.
Brierley
Have a go again. It's just
Fox Hunter 2021. Who will ride? Who rides Henderson in the? Could it be Camilla Henderson? I don't know.
I think we should do I think it should be Victoria Pendleton style charity year-long project, and Dave, you should be the man who signs up for this project.
Where do we go with that one? I would be terrified of riding in a point-to-point first and foremost, which you probably have to qualify for. I'd be the one. I don't know. Actually, this is a good point. Actually, it seems we've got a little bit of time to handball before the Boodles handicap. When was the last time anyone sat on a horse?
20 years probably.
How did it go?
We never got out of a trot. So it's
but you got into a trot.
Yeah.
Ever sat on a horse?
Yeah, I think it was Cubs or Scouts or something. Yeah,
Ooh.
Yeah, back in the day.
And a trot. It's light canter.
I'd say a light canter. Yeah.
Neil Hubbard.
Yeah, ditto. Probably when I was younger. Yeah, went to some riding lessons when I was younger.
A trot.
Broke into a canter.
How many winners have we ridden? That's the real question.
I sat on a horse for the first time and last time. I was in my pyjamas in a farm in Devon, and my father said, "You've got to get on this horse." And I think he wanted to go. It was kind of like a father-son thing. And the horse started. It wasn't. I mean, usually you give someone a schoolmaster, don't you? You know what I mean? Like Victoria Pendleton, they were never going to put on a Yamworth or anything like that, were they? It was Pasha de Boulder. Do you know what I mean? It was a remarkable horse. This thing was a lunatic, and it sort of reared a bit. And I remember screaming to get me off. And there are pictures somewhere in the family albums of me going, "Get me me off this horse. And I remember my father just walking, who was an army man, I remember him just walking away in utter shame, disbelief. And yet here I am, sitting in a studio. I was terrified of horses. I think if they stand on their back legs, they're 3 times taller than humans, they could run the world. I'm absolutely terrified of them, and I've made a career out of ambling about them and writing about them. So you lot got into trots. I didn't even get a step, I don't think.
Normally you'd have to pay someone £70 an hour to get this kind of
That is
experience. This
therapy.
interaction. Exactly, yeah. So how did that make you feel, Dave?
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not doing the Mike Bite thing.
Was your father a drill sergeant by any chance?
He was a sergeant major, actually. He was a Royal Sergeant Major.
I'm getting vibes of somebody who was raised by a drill sergeant.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay, indeed, mummy. Yes, indeed, quite right. Anyway, let's move on, shall we?
And also, it's a big day at Cheltenham, but Joseph Cornwall might well just be about to have a winner elsewhere, just in case you're
Yes, he is.
It's all going on. It's all going
Joe
on.
Cornwall's having a winner at Huntingdon
It's all going on.
on a glorious white horse.
Wonderful.
It's like I'm dreaming.
So that was just, anyway, I got a bit of that off my shoulders. Anyway, I feel a bit better now, lads. Thanks very much for that.
Yeah.
Shall we have a look at the Boodles? What's better known as the Fred Winter. Just doesn't get any easier today, does it? Because we have another wide open handicap. In fact, Keith, is this the most open betting race of the week?
Yeah, it's a really, really hard race, necessarily because it's essentially a novice handicap, but also because it is a 2-mile handicap hurdle, and those races are notoriously iffily handicapped. The handicapping 2-mile hurdlers is probably the hardest job on the BHA handicapping roster, and it looks it from how they get treated in a lot of these races. There's some horses turn up in this race, you just think, £20 worse than that.
Yes. If you're looking at Racing Post ratings, you mean?
Just generally, anybody can rate tells you these things.
On the flip side of that, there have been quite a lot of juveniles winning handicaps, haven't there, this season?
Been more when people are cottoning on to something that, myself and others have been seeing for years, that these weight allowances for age are just outdated, they're outmoded.
Cheat allowances, some people call them.
Do
The
they
mares,
really?
for example.
Well, the mares, that's a bit gambling, isn't it? But the age thing is just generally an anomaly now. The horses they've already got rid of them to an extent, haven't they? With remember Voiper Ustedes winning the Arco, getting allowances and things like that. That doesn't exist anymore.
Well, let's go for a bit of help, because last week I sat down with Paul Nicholls, a man that's won this race. He's won 2 in the Champion Chase, won this race before. Let's hear about his juveniles, what Paul thinks.
Paul Nicholls, big week for you coming up. Let's start with juveniles. Yeah. Now, let's talk about maybe the Boodles. A lot of people thinking Mick Pastor might go here. You're still, at this point, a week up, you're not totally sure.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be left in the Triumph as well. Obviously, I'll talk to the team near the time we'll weigh up the races, the ground, and see what he's ready to run. And hopefully, whatever he runs in, he'll run very well.
Time White, he definitely goes here.
Yeah, definitely. 133, I think, is a fair mark on what he's done. He's been improving rapidly. He's a young horse who's took time in, loved this race, and we've trained him just for this race for like months. And when he was second the first time at Goshen, having been very keen off the flat and just needing that first experience, I said to Harry, Copperhead coming in, I said, he'll win the Fred Winter, leave it to me. And, I just had in my mind that he'd be a great Fred Winter horse.
Okay, so Time Hill has got a lot of time for Time Hill. I think this is Time White's not Time Hill. Do you know what? Funnily enough, the boys are going to be laughing out there, the producers out there, because they are laughing out there. Because when I sat down, I had a lot on my mind just before I was about to do that Betfair preview, and I went Time Hill in the Fred Winter, and he went, "Do you want to start again?"
So you've done that.
Media consummate professional. I've just done it twice. Unbelievable. I think there's a long laughter going on out there. Okay, so we're just about to talk about the Boodles handicap and Time White. We will get to. If you're just joining us here on Racing Post Live, welcome. The Betfair Exchange. Neil Hubbard joins us from that. Keith Melrose, the betting editor from the Racing Post, and Ross Brierley, columnist, comedian, and punter. Is that in the right order? Is that how they call you?
Depends what day it is.
And myself, Dave Orton, here chairing as Gen. And we've got the puzzle of the week to solve, but we're going to try and help you do it. Let's just talk about the amount of handicap debutants in this. Excuse me for looking at my paper. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, they're all pretty much doing it, aren't they? Because they're juveniles, aren't they? So
yeah, and there's been very few juvenile handicaps up to now. We were just talking about Repetitio, who has run in open handicaps. We're seeing that Nigel Hawke It's one of the trainers that does it. David
Yeah.
Pipe's another.
Really successfully.
They run these juveniles, use the weight allowance they get because it is probably generous. Use that weight allowance to run them against older horses.
And they tend to get out from the front, don't they, and just sort of keep going there.
Because the sort of juveniles you're running these races
Nordano was another one.
Are the forward ones that can do that, you know?
Yeah, okay, so should we get a quick selection here? I've gone a little bit out the ballpark according to the market. However, I'm pretty sure that he's got a good form chance. It's Zoffy for Philip Hobbs, who needs to pick himself up the floor, and Racing Post ambassador Richard Johnson, who's thankfully back in the saddle. The main reason why I like him, guys, he's very closely tied in with Blacko, who was the first text I got this morning was from someone saying they've seen this gamble on Blacko, Alan King's horse, who did beat him readily at Taunton when they met, but I don't think Zoffy was the finished article there. If you saw Zoffy on his hurdling debut, not every hurdle out of the ground. I had a horse called Lord Lamington, who picked him up the running at Martin Raisin. Anyway, at what I saw at Doncaster last time was the real Zoffy. I liked him on the flat. He might be vulnerable if he tries to make all the running, but I think he's a big, big price. Ross Brierley?
I would have two. Main selection would be Repetitio. I think the novice form behind Nordano and All Mankind is spot on. It was a really good figure for that handicap hurdle last time out and beating the older horses. Slight concern that, I mean, obviously I realise that they've kept the horse off the track to protect its mark for this. However, you do worry about a horse coming into the Cheltenham Festival without a run in the calendar year a little bit in terms of fitness. And the other one is Night Edition, who I don't think you can quite work out how good Night Edition is. That fourth behind Blacko, very inexperienced. The second to Galahad Quest isn't a bad run either. And a narrow victory last time out at Ludlow, but I thought was a lot more comfortable than it seemed. And I get the feeling there's a bit more to come from Night Edition. 3 runs and into a handicap goes Night Edition. Keith Melrose.
Repetition was a great play spot horse. I had him in the play spot today, but it's long gone. You've stolen my thunder, Mr. Orton.
Really?
I fancy Zoffy as well. I like his flat form. I liked how he jumped at Doncaster. You see, he was inexperienced in his younger days. He winged the 3 in the straight at Doncaster, didn't he?
Yeah.
And won that very easily. Had them cold a long way out. On his flat form, a mark of 134 needn't be beyond him at all. And
Stays well.
yeah, I mean, Dickie's not daft enough to try and make all in a Fred Winter. He'll probably just sit in the first 4 and see how he goes, hopefully. And then I think he's got a right chance, certainly better than the prices. I think he's about 29.
Yeah.
Neil will get to that, but let's get your selection first, Neil, before you give us a market update.
In a similar position in the market, really my selection, which is Galahad Quest. He won the Triumph Trial at the track, and the form of that looks okay-ish. The seconds come out and won, the fourths come out and won, and the sixth come out and won, albeit a flat handicap. But of those that ran, 3 of them have since come out and won. He's 32 on the exchange. I'm quite happy to row in with him.
Nick Williams is one of these trainers as well, especially with juveniles. You think, what's he playing at? There's always a plan with Nick Williams, isn't there?
That's closely tied in with Night Edition, isn't he? Galahad Quest. I remember on his debut, he was really short price when he just looked a complete baby.
Well, he was, if I remember rightly, really heavily back behind All Mankind on that debut.
Nick Williams has won this as well, hasn't he? With
Flying Tiger?
No, that was his horse that shaped really well behind. Was
Flying Tiger.
Did he win it, or what was the horse in that race that finished 5th and should have won?
I don't know. I didn't know you asked a
I'm pretty
question.
sure Flying Tiger.
Flying Tiger won it, and then it was.
Yeah, Flying Tiger won it.
What was the horse? There was another Nick Williams horse in the race that shaped extremely well and about 5th. Diablo de Savola.
Of course, there we go.
Yeah.
Memories
Yeah, but
abound.
that's so royal. Well, surely a
Well, he's turned into that.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a Fred
yeah.
Winter, so at the time you thought,
Let's get back to the market, guys, and let's see where all our selections are currently sitting at the moment. We've kind of gone away, haven't we, from the top couple in the market? I think it's probably
that Palladium's really solid, isn't he? He would go in the play spot because he's got a lot of flat experience.
Off the picks, Repetitio, I'm a bit surprised by that. I'm certainly surprised he's shot than Zoffy, that's for sure. Night Edition sitting there for Ross, Repetitio. So, yeah, Ross is kind of closest. There we are. Zoffy, solid around about 25s, and Neil's selection, Galahad, around about 33. So some big prices out there.
There's actually been a couple of interesting market moves in that. You've already touched on Blacko. He was around 17, 16s last night, so he's into 6.8. Even Palladium was around 10, 12s last night. He's into 6.2. On the flip side of that, Aramax, who I think Dave Jennings is quite sweet on some of the
Well,
podcasts.
that was
I've
one of
listened
those
to.
class.
Oh, the
Those,
talking horse, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the Au Petit Swan kind
Yeah,
of.
well, he was
Yeah.
8.8 last night, and he's out to
The
14.5.
band of outlaws, of course,
now.
that
Yeah, well,
won
that
this
was
last year.
As soon as when David GG first mentioned Aramax to me, I thought, oh, here we go, band of outlaws again. But yeah, so it's not, the vibes have not been quite the same, have they?
I think they were hoping for slightly better ground for him, and they was looking like it was drying, wasn't it? I was surprised that he was as big as he is. Mick Paster's an interesting horse. We heard from Paul Nicholls in that VT there. Had a wind up. If you remember his first run, that was ulcers or something, wasn't it? Something just so bad to be true in the trial that where horses are trying to flex their triumph credential
He went
muscles.
off favourite behind All Mankind, I think.
He then went
that day.
yeah, that's right. And then he went to Ludlow, easy to back, and he absolutely hosed that. It was a good time that day, I think. And
Yeah, wind up, hood, tongue tie. I mean,
Get it all on.
I mean, we're talking about quirky horses. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not much more you can do. Really.
I think he's got quite a classy engine, I think. But I think Paul has always wanted to run him in here, maybe just to keep the time white. We had Harry Compton on What a Shout, and he was riding time white that day, and he came up short, didn't he, if you remember, at Kempton the first time, then won there next time.
Well, I mean, the thing to say about Nicholls is he's obviously got a very strong line with the juveniles through Sissoko and Solo, so the fact that those two have gone for the triumph, the next best down, and Mick Pastor and Time White, in theory, he's got a very strong bunch of juveniles.
This chap was miles behind Gosham, wasn't it, at Sandown? That's what I was thinking about. And then he came and won at Kempton when Harry was in with us that day. He looked actually that day at Kempton like he might be a bit vulnerable coming to the last, and he kept going on. So I wouldn't worry about the track for him. Of the market leaders, who's the most strong? What about Blacko? I mean, we shouldn't be 20, should we, with Zoffy? And if Blacko's one of the gambles of the race, surely, Keith?
No, I agree with that. I mean, Blacko, there's a little bit of the Alan King angle, isn't it, at play here. There's a lot of respect for King still with juveniles, and rightly so. He's very, very good with them. Yeah, absolutely. Zoffy has done a lot of improving since then, which doesn't just say good things for Zoffy. It says things about Blacko, and says that he's not beating a 134 horse there. He's beating a horse who's really learning, who had that flat form behind him. But was clearly, given how Zoffy jumps now, you can tell that he wasn't beating the same horse.
Well, and the Pinken won quite nicely the other day as well, to thank the Warwick form. So even that looked like he'd beaten trees, but the Pinken came and
Seamus Mullins' horse, yeah, of course. I think that if Blacko looks like a horse that's completely turned the corner on his French form, doesn't he? I think Hugh Taylor's put him up today as well on that races, so that was maybe one of the reasons why some big tipsters have gone for him. Palladium, let's go back to him. Warwick beat him first time out, didn't it, Keith? And he looked like a good thing beating that day. He gets to Sandown, albeit in slightly Mickey Mouse races. Are we worried about the Sandown-Cheltenham link-up this week now?
Yeah, there's a little bit. I mean, Palladium, I didn't mind about the ground for him because he's got a lot of flat form on reasonably quick ground. So, and he's also done it in Sandown heavy. So, what I would take from that is a horse that all ground comes alike to him.
It's just that factor of, wow, he looks a fantastic horse at Sandown in heavy ground, and you just, like you said, you wonder whether the 10 lengths is actually a bit flattering.
A tricky puzzle.
137 is quite a high mark even on his flat form.
Yeah.
For Palladium.
He was
a
like
maiden, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'd be more of a place type.
Was
for me.
Penton Hills a maiden as well? Was it Chris Wall? With both Chris Wall, weren't they?
No, he did win for Chris Wall.
Did he? Oh,
Penton Hills,
okay, all right, fair
but he
enough.
took about 15 goes to get off the mark.
He didn't like to win, did he?
No, he didn't. He did
I
it
was
reluctantly.
nearly right. Let's see what Paul Keeley, his last tip of the day, if he can be really nearly right. Diary room, Keel's taken away.
JP McManus holds a strong hand in the Boodles juvenile handicap hurdle with Aramax and Mick Parcel at the head of the betting. Mick Parcel for me is the interesting one of those two, as Aramax only won a 5-runner race last time. Mick Parcel won very easily at Ludlow, having choked on his British debut at Cheltenham the time before. But his interesting piece of form was a very easy win from Nirvana de Brierley in France, because that one is now France's top juvenile hurdler. However, there are others to consider at a price, and Gordon Elliott, who trains Aramax, also has Tronador, who was the big gossip horse of all the preview evenings, and an interesting one called Saint Deroux, who won a 14-runner maiden at Gowan last time. Now, he did that really, really easily, and I'm surprised the handicapper didn't give him a bit more. He'd be the top of my list, and of the British contenders, Repetitio is quite interesting. He trained by Nigel Hawke, so he's not going to get an awful lot of love in the betting, but he won a good handicap over the course last time in a good time, and he stayed on really stoutly up the run-in. So I think he's going to run a big race for a small trainer.
Good on you, Keels. Okay, let's have a little chat about it. So Repetitio, going with Ross Brierley on that one. He's put up 2. We'll come to actually back in 2 in this race. But Sandero, Gordon Elliott, wouldn't he? I mean, he's sort of come under the radar a bit, is he?
A little bit. I mean, his win last time was on really bad ground again, and they are the races that tend to get overrated. So I'm always a little bit.
You've seen quite a few Gorham. I mean, I still can't say his name right, but Kilos Emery was a similar impressive Gorham Park heavy ground winner who maybe wasn't as good as it looked on that day. So yeah, there is a concern for that. However, if you ignore that run entirely, the 4th to Cerberus and the 4th to Wave of the Sea still brings the horse into it anyway. So
French breds have tended to dominate this race, haven't they? I mean, and Nichols and Williams have had a lot to do with that, I suppose.
They're just more forward horses. It makes a lot of sense.
Horses that started their careers in France. Okay, Neil, how's the market looking?
Pretty much as you were, really. Palladium and Blacko still pretty strong at the top. Still not much love, if any, for Aramex. Interestingly, Mick Pastor is shorter than Time White, despite Paul Nichols saying in his blog that he rates Time White as his best chance. Just one of the, I know we talked about Gordon Elliott one there, but just another one from Gordon Elliott down the bottom of the weights, Tronador. Wasn't really any great shakes on the flat. I think he was only rated like 60. But I think over 2 miles, he looks like a really strong stayer over 2 miles. The stable won this with Venera Charm in 2017, and Elliott's quoted as saying that he thinks this guy might be his equal, if not better. Of those towards the head of the market, he's trading around 11.5. I can see him probably running okay.
Tronador. I hovered over tipping him for this, I've got to say. He was one of the eye catchers of the season. I think the whole season when he made his debut over hurdles for Elliott at Leopardstown when he was 4th. He then went and won. It was the win, that put me off him for this. I thought, right, having seen that eye-catching run, I thought, this could be his Fred Wynn's horse. It was the win that I'm not sure about. He tends to hit a flat spot. Yeah. I wonder whether I was expecting him to be a bit more travelling. Obviously, it was the 3rd run last time. Probably had this in mind. But
the interesting
this case.
I got a lovely profile of first run 27th of December, second run 10th of January, third run 18th of January. Yeah. Again, for a handicap, it's quite hard to work out
cards
when you run in
close
that.
To your
and
chest.
When we did the Betfair preview for his charity bet, Gordon Elliott put up a lucky 15. Which had your contemporary Barry Orr scratching his head at that point, but Tronador was in there.
Oh, was it?
So,
okay,
and that raised a lot of eyebrows.
I know what you mean about his win when he hit
Aramex.
his flat spot. Again, we might fall into the trap here of presuming that this will be really strongly run, but for the sake of this, trying to work it all out,
this one can be.
I think there's going to be plenty of pace in here, and I don't know. He just looked like a really strong stayer over the 2 miles who will appreciate this test.
They are down at the start now. So with the last race here on Racing Post Live for us today, the Boodles handicap, trickiest puzzle potentially of the whole entire week. We thought that maybe with the Cold Cup, favourite, and the Anti-Post Gamble goes and wins it down to Company. Could we see? I mean, JP McManus would be the story of this race, wouldn't he? If he was to get another one on board, he's got the top 2 in the weights, of course. Reminder of the selections: myself and Keith are very keen on Zoffy. Nothing to stop us there for Racing Post ambassador Richard Johnson.
Repetitio and Night Edition for me.
And closely tied in with Night Edition is Galahad Quest for
I'll
Neil.
go Galahad Quest, but with a tip of the hat to
and social. Have we
Tronador.
got anything social here? Let's see if we've got anything social coming in. Yes, we do. Alan Waltham got Time White each way at 14s the other day. Fingers crossed. Aramax could run a race as well. We've got time for a team bet here. We're a bit too late in the day.
Is there one?
Yeah, we can go.
Come on, what we got? What we got?
If
Zoffy
this
for a place? Or I don't know. What we,
Zoffy for a place.
Is there a match bet?
There is Aramax versus Tronador or Mick Pastor versus Palladium.
Ooh.
See,
Mick Pastor Palladium. I would if it was spread match bet, I would definitely take Palladium.
Yeah.
Because Mick Pastor could bomb out and Palladium's probably going to finish in the first
Probably
6,
going to run his race.
Yeah.
It's a bit short here, isn't it? I mean, we're
you
on a
fancy-
hat trick of team bets here, lads.
But you strongly fancy Tronador.
I do. Well, he's favourite against Aramax there. You can see 1.87.
Should we take a bit of the 5 to 6 Tronador to beat Aramax?
I think Tronador's very, very interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
come on then.
Okay.
So,
Why don't we
five
just
up.
swing for the fences and have a wee bit on him to win the whole lot?
Yeah.
Tronador to win.
Yeah.
What are we getting there? Yeah,
12.5.
great shout, Keith. Come on then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the last race. We'll have a swing for the fences.
Yeah.
Here
So
we go.
what
What are we getting?
What about
£12.5, £5 at 12.5, so 11 and a bit to 1.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. We signed off the
I
show
reckon
yesterday with Imperial Aura.
You might
getting
get
the
6
team bet up.
What's this? There's a 6th place market as well here. 11 to 10 Tronador 6 places.
So
Yeah.
Neil just
Are we swinging for the fence
bets
there,
on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Come on, then, we're on. Come on, Neil, press that button.
I've done it.
It's almost as if discipline starts to slide away the longer the day goes on, isn't it? We're going for the place
That's
market.
never happened before, has it?
Never,
Exactly, yeah.
never. And listen, okay, so
Palladium's
we've had
like-
2 shorties turned over here, guys. Defi Du Seuil and Tiger
Yeah.
Roll. We'll see how the punters fare here. They're just revving up for a start. We've been doing this right. Let's come on, please let them in, Mr. Starter. You've had your moments in the sun with your flag, haven't you? Who's lining up front, lads? Palladium's up there, Zoffy's up there as expected. Galahad Quest looking like he's going to be prominent as well.
I can do without that.
Yeah, Zoffy, Repetitio down the inside.
Let's get
which I
our
don't
hats of
wanna see.
McManus's as well. Mick Paster's in the white, lads, and Aramax is in the
Aramax is-
He
green.
just got the 2. Yeah,
Just the
top.
2 this time, yeah.
Where's the match bet, Tronador, as they approach the tapes?
Mid div.
Is he going to let them go this time? He's
Yes,
letting
he
them
has.
go. Happy days.
Oh, Tronador's
We're
had to be
back on
ridden.
the start.
Tronador's been pushed along already.
Zoffy just about leads into the
He's got
first.
the
In fact, he
inside,
does
please.
bit skew whiff, but he's fine. Palladium right up there as
Tronador's
well.
not at it.
Tronador's had
Galahad Quest, Neil Hubbard's fancies bang there, and they're going a fair old pace. Tronador dropped right at the back,
Yeah.
Keith.
Yeah, he did not really enjoy himself jumping off there. Is that Palladium in
That's
front?
Palladium. This is the interesting thing. We've
With
seen
Zoffy, is it?
we've seen
Is that
horses
Zoffy? Yeah,
struggle to
Zoffy.
make up the running. We talked about Palladium, the Astea, heavy ground at Sandown, and the market has shortened massively.
Yeah.
And we've also talked about Henderson messages getting out. So clearly, someone knows this horse is going to go and try
Yeah, it
and
looks like it, doesn't
make
it?
the running.
So again, pace-wise, Keith Melrose, tell me how would you describe this pace in an analysis?
I mean, I think they've started off going a fair pace here. The 2 of them, Zoffy's obviously, I think these front 2 are both pretty keen to be on the front or near as damn it. So we've got potentially quite an even pace through this. I don't know when they're going to take their foot off the gas.
So yeah, that was my concern with Zoffy going into the race. Would Richard? I have seen him do this in County Hurdles. Try and he thinks the cavalry's behind him sometimes. If you're Blacko and you've beaten Zoffy, and he's right on the inside, Blacko, isn't he?
I mean, first start, that's the classic Alan King position, isn't it?
Yes.
Hug the rail and lick the paint. But the problem is, you don't want to be there. We saw with the Coral Cup earlier.
No, absolutely not. I mean, what they must think is that the main thing is you're not going down the hill.
Yes,
In that
yeah,
position,
true.
you can swing off coming down the hill and get away with it.
But you'd imagine that over 2 miles, given that they're not going at a mad pace, there's going to be less. Space is going to be a bit more of a premium when trying to move off that rail.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. They have slowed it up a little, and you could be in a bit of trouble trying to get.
Couple are feeling the pinch here. A couple of, I think, Gilak, if that's how we describe him, out the back of one of the Gordon Elliott battalion in here. Saw a couple of. I didn't think Time White was too clever there either, but he's
Tell you,
now moved him up a
Alan
bit.
Spence is in the bubble, as is
Fraser,
Galahad Quest.
So
And Time
Nicky
White
Henderson,
as well,
Time White is
1
indeed.
and 4 at the moment.
That
Zoffy
job.
on the
Lady.
inside. Sandero, Paul Keeley's tip is moving out on the outside. Daryl Jacobs, he's a little bit keen, isn't he, in the run there?
He's used the time when the pace is slackened a bit to get himself really prominent. It's a good move, that.
Okay, so who are we really happy with at the moment? Neil Hubbard, how's the market looking?
Blacko is clear favourite at the minute at 4-1 in running. Palladium, not so much.
I mean, Repetitio as well. Look on the.
Yeah,
I know he's on the
full
inside,
fifth,
but
He's got a lovely sit.
yeah.
He's got a lovely sit. Okay, so what price Repetitio now, Neil?
27 in running.
Recent revelations. I think Barry O owns a little bit of this, doesn't he? I've got a feeling he does. He's
Yeah,
in
rings a
midfield
bell,
in the
yeah.
orange going really, really well.
Time White's in a nice posse.
Yeah,
Could
and
they-
he
they've
looks-
just
looks
slowed
like
it a bit, haven't they? 'Cause they're
typical Nichols
concentrating
chasing as
slightly.
well for next year.
Yeah.
Aramax swinging on the outside. Mick Pastor still going well. Barry
they've
Geraghty
stopped
carrying
down
the
the
leading
inside.
rider band. Call it, lads. Call it. Come on, Zoffy. We need a good one here. Come on,
Well,
Zoffy.
Time White's got a lovely run
Two
through.
JP's
throughout.
Come on,
horses are going
come on,
well.
Dickie.
Get
Still
up.
in front.
That's it. Lovely
Come
job,
on,
Zoffy.
Dickie.
Stays. Come on then, Zoffy. Sandero absolutely swinging. Galahad
Galahad
Quest
Quest
out
is
to
absolutely
Zoffy comes
tanking all of
under
them.
pressure.
Just hasn't
Tronador,
jumped
where
very
is he,
well. I think
boys?
he's
He's
gotten
been
quite
switched
tight
right
to some
outside,
of them.
slightly off the bridle. At the moment,
Time
Aramax
White's
and
going
David
well.
Jennings looks like he's going really, really well. One that's catching my eye.
Palladium's pulled up. It's going to miss.
Langadan, he's coming into it. It's anybody's race.
Tronador's gone really wide to challenge. I don't know if
Aramax.
that's going to pay off.
Night
Zoffy
edition.
has fallen in a complete hole.
Night
Summing up
edition
my
coming
punting
into it.
day.
Palladium must have got a miss.
Where's Blacko?
Tronador coming late as well.
Yeah,
Tronador's
Tronador
yeah,
around
he
the
fancies it
outside.
still, doesn't
Come on
he?
in,
Doesn't he?
Tronador, get him up the hill. Come on, he's got
He still
loads in that
fancies
here,
it.
hasn't he?
Come on,
He's
Tronador.
fancies
Fancies it.
at the moment. It's Sandero.
Come on,
Aramax
Tronador.
going
Nah,
up.
it's
Come
not
on,
gonna quite-
Tronador.
not?
Come on,
He
let's
is.
get him gone quick enough, haven't they?
Night edition.
Come on, Night Edition's in there for Ross Brierley. Come on, at the moment it's Aramax.
Come on, Night Edition
It
wins.
is- my goodness gracious
If he
me,
pulls-
here
if he
comes
pulls it
Night
out.
Edition on the Tom
Aramax.
Scudamore.
Aramax, Night Edition.
Aramax is getting out there. 2 going clear out the running. Aramax, JP McManus has another winner on the day. Night Edition, the closest we got here in the panel for Ross Brierley. Finally a little bit of in-running emotion from Ross.
Yeah, that was frustrating. I thought that was a decent price winner. I thought we'd had that.
He did look the winner for about 3 strides, didn't he?
He did. I thought he was just.
Tronador
He ran the
just-
right part of the track as well.
Tronador didn't get up the hill. Aramax was a little bit like Dame de Compagnie, wasn't it? Perfect position throughout. Stalking when they got serious, they went hard. And Mark Walsh on the score sheet, another winner for Gordon Elliott. Now, how does that make Hendo and Elliott? 3-3 apiece, is it?
At least 3 for Elliott.
It's 3 for Elliott. I know that. It must be 3 for Hendo as well, isn't it? Just watching the replay.
Recent Revelations stayed on late to grab third, and I think is it the
That was David Jennings' nap
Sandaroo
of the
for-
week. So
Or
DJ
maybe
will
3 and
now
4.
be the Keeley of the Racing Post party. People shaking his hands on the way out as they walk out. I think Elliott there would look like he could have a clean sweep of the place. It's we back the one who didn't get home, lads.
Well, he didn't get home
was that
because he had
pause.
to make the move like he did.
It was the bad start.
I think
wasn't
he
it?
shaped
Yeah.
his.
He's run a blinder.
I wouldn't say he's shaped as well as any, but he's run a really, really big race there.
Yeah, it was just the start that sort of undone him.
Yeah, he wasn't really enjoying it at the start. He had to go widest of all.
Eye catches are plenty in that race, weren't there?
Well, if we watched it 3 or 4 times, we'd find a new one each time.
But the one thing you can't underestimate, like I said, is track position. You can look at unlucky horses left, right, and centre. And to be fair, Gordon's had a couple. Cracking Smart earlier had exactly the same problems as Tronador did, and you can say unlucky this, unlucky that, but in these big races, that's what makes the difference.
I didn't see the start, I have to say that. So that's our luck, isn't it? Absolutely. We've backed the one where they've jumped off and ours still hasn't started properly. So.
But what happened was he was on the inside, he was a little bit sluggish away, and then I think the jockey thought, well, I'm going to get off the inside because I'm going to get swamped. And because he was moving out, he then jumped the first poorly and then lost even more ground. So it's one of those classic things where you make something goes wrong, you make a poor decision early on, and it costs you at the end of the race. I mean,
So-
look where Tronador is here. Aramax is
We're watching him
travelling.
coming to 2 out now, aren't we? So this is
he's-
where the race develops.
So Aramax is travelling like a dream in 7th, whereas Tronador, again, is
And
now
wide.
stuck behind.
Yeah, absolutely. He's on the inside.
What happened to Blacko, lads? He was there. Has he pulled up?
It's that inside rail again, isn't it?
Well, the
Well, look where
snake pit,
Tronador
as
is now.
Keith was calling it.
He's have to go. Look, he goes
Yeah.
right the way around the field at this point and takes the bend out wide, and it's.
Blacko and Palladium falling
Whereas
in-
all the
in a
while,
hole
what's the
there.
winner done? He's taken the straight line down the middle.
Palladium's pulled up, we should say.
And
Palladium pulled up for 2 out.
Night Edition is exactly where Aramax is at that point.
Wide,
Recent Revelation switches wide.
midfield,
Yep.
ready to swoop.
Getting cover until they turn to the bottom of the hill.
Has Tom Skoo on? He just got a little bit chopped up there, didn't he? By a horse on his outside. Not sure which one that was. Looked like Theatre War of Gavin Cromwell's. Yeah, this course cost him about half a length, doesn't it?
You look where Night Edition is relative to Tronador now. They have both gone.
Yeah.
The ground Tronador had to make up to get into that position right on Night Edition is where he's lost the race.
Langer Dan's run a cracker for the Skelton team. He caught my eye, ran about 3 out.
He's challenged down the wrong part of the track.
He's on the inside, and
Repetitio's hit a bit of a wall. He might have felt that first run in 3 months.
Gilak as well was storming up the hill for
Is that
Elliott. I mean,
running off
Elliott's
the
had the
third?
one.
Recent
so we'll get the
revelations.
full results up, but Clemencia has run really big race for Team Vaughan as well.
That's a big, because I was just looking at that, I was thinking, surely this horse drops out. It's finished 5th. It's gone all the way down the inside. It's first run for the yard. The Irish form was pretty good, but
It was, yeah.
that's a
Let's have a look at the
performance.
result now then, lads, on the screen if we can. Producers, there we are. So, oh my goodness gracious me, only splitting the pipe runner, of course.
Sandaroo?
Gordon Elliott spent his tutelage at the pipe yard, nearly spoilt the party. But Aramax beats Night Edition, Sandero third for Paul Keeley. So, Keels and DJ taking out Loving the Boodles, and Recent Revelations. So we've got a bit of a team result here because Barry Orr does own a bit of Recent Revelations. I know that.
good.
So he was 4th, so Davy Russell on that. Strength to the form. Initial.
Cheltenham Handicap, isn't it? But you've got
It's a 1-3-4 for Elliot as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Which is remarkable. And like you said, we managed to pick the one.
Pick the one that just
I think-
early on.
Yeah, but I think we have sort of picked through and said why we were perhaps a little
Absolutely.
bit unlucky
Oh,
there. But I think it's the
three
classic.
horses could do the same, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I think it's a classic race that you need to watch back half a dozen times at least just to get a view on, because there will be some hidden gems in there further down the field.
I mean, the drift on him wasn't Shishkin-like, was it? It wasn't Champ-like.
But, I mean, it wasn't fun because he was what, 5-6 to 1 at some point. So
He
he's
was a
doubled
hot
in price.
anti-post favourite. I suppose like Champier, the anti-post favourite, has ultimately won the Boodles,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he, like, if you look at the race and how it played out in running, he actually only hit 17.5, 18 in running,
it's
which
been in
isn't
that position
huge.
again,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. And it just shows the value of having a good position. Tronador hit 7 in running.
Didn't he get the short as that? Oh,
yeah.
he went off 12.5.
Yeah, Night Edition hit 1.5.
Messy finish, really. They were scattered all about. But again, they've come stand side, haven't they? So
yeah,
we should see that tomorrow as we move on to the new course as well. I think Hurdler's coming more towards the stand side.
I think that's when I show if it's a monkey or more, I'll show some emotion.
So we're talking
my
close
limit.
but no cigar there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a frustrating race.
Oh, frustrating race. Frustrating day for a lot of people out there. Before we have a recap of the day, we don't cover here on Racing Post Live the bumper. This is, I must admit, I'm not like Robert, one of our producers on at 14s. I know that somehow. I've got absolutely no idea how. But a lot of people have got juicy each way anti-posts about some of these. Especially appreciate it. Keith, what are we still no Mullins winner?
Yeah, and he's got how many representatives has he got here? He must have. He's got,
1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 3 runners, isn't he? Got Fernie Holland and 5
I
by
watched
Brian.
Appreciates races, and he looks like a real sort of stayer to me.
2 mile 4 bump pre-1, wasn't it?
He did win a 2. Did he win or was he second? in the 2 mile?
yeah.
We won 2 mile 4 one.
I
But he
think
also
he did,
won
yeah.
a 2 mile one last time. He looks a bit of a stayer to me. If they muck around and it becomes a sprint, he might be vulnerable, but he looks a really good horse.
Third to Envoi Allen in his point, of course, we should say that.
But so far, Paddy Mullins has ridden 2 very, very cold races on Sharjah.
He has indeed.
and-
He might get caught out doing that if he does it again.
Yeah.
Just going back to Patrick there, I remember when we had him in on What a Shout, and I said to him, what happened to Black Bow? It was a personal thing. I thought Black Bow was definitely the horse a couple of years ago when Relegate won the bumper, and he said just blew his brains on the way to the start. Listen, the cauldron of the preliminaries could have a lot to say here. But if you are with the favourites, something to really solidify. I looked into the RPRs historically of this, and only 2 horses. I mean, he comes in with a Racing Post rating of 138. Only 2 horses in the previous 10 years, or I think actually in the race history that I went back to, have done that. They both won. Cousin Vinny in 2000 came in with a 138. The highest was Rites of Passages bumper, where he went off favourite, won by Dungui, who came in with a 142. So historical RPR say that this is pretty much a good thing. But the pressure of the festival, the stories, we know how it goes. Same colours as carefully selected as well. We got turned over in the last race yesterday.
Well, that's the thing, is you don't want to see, watching the no longer a 4 miler yesterday, and you were just screaming, going, put the horse in the race, put the horse in the race. And
So what does he do here?
Well, he probably wants to get it in the bubble.
in the bubble, get in the
bubble.
bubble.
No, he wasn't.
In the cat, what was it?
In the catbird seat.
In the catbird seat.
In the
Neil
bumper
Hubbard
bubble.
sitting quietly over there waiting for us to come in the market.
Yeah, well, he is favourite 2.92. He's actually shortened up a little bit through the afternoon. It's not a race I generally have that much of opinion on, although I did quite like the top one. Admiral, is it?
Adramel.
Admiral, sorry. He was due to run on Betfair Hurdle Day in the Newbury bumper that Ocean Wind won, but he was a non-runner on account of the ground. The ground went good that day. He's won his 2 bumpers on soft and heavy ground, so I would still think of the ground soft here.
It looks soft in the third winter, didn't it?
Yeah, and
Couple
if
of
it
mares
is,
of interest in there. The Queensbrook, who Gordon likes. I know that.
Princess
Panic
Admiral.
Attack, getting loads of weight all round. Of course,
It
won a
is.
debut for Willie, has now gone to the pipes. Fernie Hollow,
Israel
another love
Champ,
for
I
that.
think, is really
Yeah,
interesting.
Keely
as well.
likes Israel Champ. We should say that was one of his picks. Glancing Queen's fascinating. Saw Wayne Hutchinson as I was leaving Sky Sports the other night and said, "Well, I said, where did she go? I didn't know she was declared for this." Again, another shout out when we had Wayne Hutchinson in these studios. I said if there was one horse you could ride, back in January or December, I think it might be December, that you could ride this year's Cheltenham Festival, which would it be? Which are you going to miss? He said the Glancing Queen. Made the frame in the race last year?
Possibly, yeah. She'd won. Did she win?
Fifth or
Listed,
something,
she won,
was
like, she won a listed mares race or something at Huntingdon as well, or something.
Yeah, and then she won obviously the Aintree race, and then she
Yes.
was fifth? Yeah, I think fifth, because Abracadabra was fourth, so she must have been fifth, yeah.
There we are. So look, this is a pretty good race, but selections quickly. I think the Fav will win.
Israel champ each way for me.
I would have played back to lay on Ocean Wind. Might not get home, but
You think it's gonna?
It's got its flatbreds. Go through the race well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that horse. I think he could be quite nice during the summer. But I'll take the top one, Admiral, at like 55s on the exchange.
That is a big price. We were talking about that, wasn't we?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
good
quite
luck
like
wherever
that.
you're playing in the bumper to bring the curtain down. I guess we can sort of say, we said at the top of the show, didn't we, guys? This could be the make or break day of the week for punters and bookmakers alike. Either fearing, is it going to go my way or not? Because if you played it straight and you kept it simple, or following the market leaders, I should say, it looked like it could be a tasty day. Performance of the day, Envoi Allen?
Champ,
Probably.
surely. Just in performance, in the sense that what am I going to remember? I am definitely remembering that. All of us sat in here going, my God, he's coming up the hill.
I guess the people that would disagree with that would be people looking for next year. I mean, Envoi Allen, you said straight away after the race that the classiest horse by a mile.
Oh, it was the best horse in that race by.
I don't think we've not had a horse that's decimated a race.
I thought
so
I thought maybe a bit of a human mention for Harry Skelton. Actually, I thought his ride on Political was
you stood up and applauded.
Yeah, it was a really good ride. It was basically the ride that it was the perfect Harry Skelton ride.
Yeah.
It's a ride that you should probably be remembered
Which
for.
you kind of called in your preview earlier in the day. If you get again, check out Keith's previews for the rest of the week. Neil Hubbard, highlight of the day.
I think Envoi Allen at the start of the show, I think he does rubber stamped his superstar status. But then another winner for JP, isn't it? That's 4 on the day.
Wow, that's going to be, I guess, the headline, isn't it?
4 on the day, isn't it?
And
Aramis,
not Defi Du Seuil.
Easy, Champ.
Champ as well, and Standard Company.
Yeah.
Another quote from the show that we've had today. If you were waking up after a very long snooze, and you were just waking up and going, "Hang on a minute, what's just won some of the results?" I mean, I suppose that Defi was nowhere to be seen.
I thought Altior and Shackle were running that race 3 days ago, and
It looked like being a proper, fight between three cracking 170 plus chasers, and it's turned out to be a disappointing yet very clever result.
it's proper Paul Nicholls as well, isn't it? Where there's a bit of money to be chivied and a bit of prize money to be won and a bit of something to be gained.
Okay,
Nicholls will be all over it.
I'm going to take something completely off the top of your heads, lads. We haven't discussed this. Eye catcher of the day for everyone. Eye catcher of the day. Tronador might have been one there.
It was quite high. Yeah, they've been high on my list.
I thought Bashasson ran very well in the Cold Cup. You fancied him, Neil.
Yeah,
he did one well.
I'm just praying that I did back him each way 6 places, which I'll have to wait till when I get out of the studio to find out.
Fair enough. I thought he'd gone quiet. Okay, fair enough. So Bashasson probably won just about for me. Cracking smart in the Cold Cup.
I was going to mention him. That was a really eye-catching run.
And the Tim Vaughan horse as well in the last race.
Clemencia.
Everything went wrong.
In the
First run to
Boodles.
the yard.
Yeah, okay. Team bets, not too bad. Might buy Gurgain was the one that came off.
Politolog,
at least we've had some. Bud Doran gave me a little cheer in that, but having backed the rag. Team bets aren't too bad.
No, could do better though, I think.
Could do better.
I
Let's
think
hope
so,
Imperial
yeah.
Aura on the first day wasn't the high there. Yeah. But okay, we've been having a lot of fun with the exchange, playing around with all the different angles there. Okay, so I guess, listen, at the end of the day, it has been all about Ross Brierley. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
On board. It has in certain aspects. Some of your in-running jargon has been enlightening.
Yeah.
That's the word. But you're back on Friday?
Back on Friday, yeah, for the Gold Cup. I think it's not a bad race, is it?
It's Gold Cup day then, Ross coming back. Keith Melrose, have you enjoyed yourself? No pressure, you usually tell it how it is.
No, I have enjoyed myself today. It's been great to... if you asked me to choose how to watch the festival, I'd sit in front of the telly and just sit there speaking my mind about it. And
it's new, isn't it?
Got the chance.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know what you think about Keith's and Ross's inputs all the way. And as ever, second day in a row. Are we feeling, Neil? We're half time. Can we see out the second half?
Yeah, I think so. So far, so good.
It's the festival, of course. We can see it out. Thanks to Neil Hubbard giving us all the do's and don'ts on Betfair. I've been Dave Orton in the studio. This has been Racing Post Live with the Betfair Exchange. Don't forget, of course, to leave us all your comments, feedback. We love to see it. YouTube, Facebook Live. It's all over Twitter, isn't it? Absolutely. We have reached the halfway point of the Cheltenham Festival. So many stories still to come. Don't forget to check out your members club as well later on for all the best quotes. Look at all the RPRs who indeed produced a performance of the day. Was it Champ? Was it Envoi Allen? Until tomorrow, enjoy yourselves and gamble responsibly.